Conqueror Kong led Qin Xiao and the others into his office. Once they were seated, he began recounting his story and the origins of the Time Variance Authority. It was nothing short of legendary, a scientist, wielding unparalleled technological prowess, who unified the entire universe 1,000 years into the future. His intellect surpassed even Tony Stark's. But Kang's ambition wasn't limited to conquering space. He invented a time machine and set out to unify all of time itself. In doing so, he transcended dimensions, cementing himself as a force beyond comprehension. However, his repeated time manipulations gave rise to countless parallel universes, creating an infinite number of Kangs. Each one, like the Kong before them, sought to conquer both the universe and time. This led to a war unlike any other, a battle spanning the multiverse where every Kong fought against versions of themselves in an endless cycle of conquest and betrayal. With time itself losing meaning, the war stretched on indefinitely. New universes spawned new conflicts, ensuring that no resolution could ever be reached. Over time, some Kangs grew weary and decided to put an end to the madness. They formed an alliance and devised a solution. Each allied Kong established a sacred timeline for their respective universe. They created the Time Variance Authority, TVA, to monitor and ensure that every living being adhered to a preordained destiny. Any deviation was swiftly pruned, and those responsible were exiled to the Void, a wasteland forged from ruined timelines. Within the Void, these Kangs ruled in secret, controlling reality itself. The TVA became their tool for maintaining peace, and Elioth, a powerful entity, served as the guardian of discarded timelines. Kong spoke as if he had brought order to chaos, but Qin Xiao wasn't convinced. And what about the time loop? The entire universe is stuck in an endless cycle, repeating over and over again. Is this your version of peace?
Qin Xiao asked.
Kong didn't seem surprised that Qin Xiao knew about the time loop. With his signature smirk, he replied, "To prevent anomalies and ensure I never exist in the 31st century to threaten the balance, I structured time in such a way that it always aligns with my vision. I can dictate how events unfold, but history itself must be real. And in every past iteration, I have always invented time travel." Qin Xiao's expression hardened.
And the future?
What happens to free will? Kong exhaled, his demeanor briefly shifting. The Celestials. His tone was laced with both reverence and frustration. They are cosmic entities that have existed since the birth of the universe. My science only manipulates the laws of reality, but they are the laws of reality. You understand Infinity Stones? You merely wield them, but they control them entirely. For the first time, Kang's confidence wavered. Qin Xiao smirked, but Kong didn't notice as he continued. The Celestials shaped the universe's history. They scattered their essence among various species, guiding the evolution of civilizations while ruthlessly annihilating those who opposed them. They are true gods, far beyond us guardians or beings like ego. Even humans possess fragments of their genetic blueprint. Kang's voice took on a bitter edge. They were terrifying beyond measure. But over eons they vanished. I ensured the past was severed at the moment the last celestial disappeared. There was too much information for Qin Xiao to process. What he did know was that Kong was unaware of his true potential, the fact that he could fully harness the Infinity Stones and that he himself was a time traveler. Then tell me this, why hasn't the TVA acted against me? Qin Xiao finally asked. Kong met his gaze evenly. You did not appear in the future the Ancient One foresaw. I assume you already know that.
Qin Xiao nodded.
Correct. According to the sacred timeline, you were never meant to exist. Kang's words were unsettling but not surprising. You are an anomaly. When I crafted the timeline, I ensured the Celestials' lineage was severed to prevent a resurgence. The Eternals and Deviants were never meant to merge their genetic codes to create a new breed of gods. That was my design. The Eternals agreed. We struck a bargain. Our timelines remain separate, never to interfere with one another, like two intertwined rings. I do not meddle in their affairs as long as they follow the set trajectory. Kang's gaze darkened. But then you appeared. You bridged the gap between these two isolated timelines, through your very soul. The universe is full of endless possibilities, it seems. Qin Xiao's expression remained neutral. You still haven't answered the real question.
Kang's smirk returned.
The TVA didn't intervene because technically, you don't exist within its jurisdiction. Like an antivirus program scanning a database, you are simply beyond its reach.
He leaned forward.
Of course, anomalies can be corrected.
But there's been an inconvenience. I was killed.
Qin Xiao raised an eyebrow. A female Loki killed me at a fixed point in time, Kong admitted. And that disrupted everything. Initially, the TVA was unable to act against you because of this temporal instability. He chuckled, his eyes glinting with curiosity. But then, I reconsidered. Now, I'd rather watch you reshape everything, with my own eyes. Qin Xiao locked eyes with Kong, saying nothing. But his mind was racing, recalling everything he had seen about Loki's series and countless online plot analyses. Yet, if Marvel had taught him anything, it was that their trailers were often misdirection, expertly crafted to conceal the real story. While filming Avengers 3 and 4, they had shot 7 different endings for the Hulk alone, some in which he died, others where he survived, driving Mark Ruffalo nearly insane with uncertainty. With so many possibilities, Qin Xiao quickly abandoned the idea of overanalyzing. What mattered now was that the Kong before him had no immediate hostility. His greatest secret remained undiscovered, and as long as he continued to grow stronger, he knew he could eventually unravel all mysteries, be it Conqueror Kong, the Eternals, or even the legendary Celestials. All he needed was strength.
One punch at a time.
Taking a deep breath, Qin Xiao relaxed his expression and addressed Kong directly. So, since our goals align, let's talk business. What do I offer you? Or rather, what can you offer me? Kang's lips curled into a satisfied grin. Glad we could reach an understanding. Leaning back, he continued, what I can offer is simple. I will ensure the Time Variance Authority does not interfere with you. You can build your strength in peace, follow the timeline naturally. When the time is right, I will release the timeline and end the cycle. Your task? 1,000 years from now, you eliminate me and bring closure to everything. The explanation was straightforward. Without delving into parallel universes and time paradoxes, the essence was clear. If the time loop was to end, future Kangs had to be prevented from rising. This would stop them from endlessly generating parallel realities and igniting interdimensional warfare.
Kong sighed.
I'm tired of it. Every few thousand years, I'm forced to relive these horrible events. I can't even set foot in the timeline without risking catastrophe. I'm exhausted. When this is over, I just want to live in peace, no longer trapped in this damned castle like a rat. Qin Xiao extended his right hand.
Deal.
Their hands clasped firmly. Both men carried their own secrets, unwilling to reveal their true hands, yet for now, they had an understanding. With immediate threats out of the way, Qin Xiao could retrieve little Groot whenever he pleased. As for Mandela, an ordinary man, his fate was different. Kong promised to return him to the exact moment he had disappeared, but with all memories of this place erased. Mandela didn't hesitate to agree. Qin Xiao saluted him slightly, showing his respect for a man who had dedicated his life to fighting for racial justice and had propelled South Africa forward into modern civilization. Through the portal Kong opened, Qin Xiao returned directly to the Rainbow Bridge Hall. His choice ensured his return was seamless and unnoticed. He selected a moment shortly after his disappearance in the Dark World, just when Thor had assembled the Avengers to announce his absence. Heimdall's golden eyes were still scanning the universe, searching for him, when a portal shimmered into existence in the Rainbow Bridge Hall. Qin Xiao stepped through with little Groot perched on his shoulder. To those gathered, the transition was almost instant. One moment, they were digesting the news of his disappearance, and the next, he was right there.
Hi.
Qin Xiao greeted Natasha casually, flashing a playful grin.
Little Groot mimicked him. Hi. Natasha blinked in surprise.
You actually found a talking Groot? The others, stunned by Qin Xiao's sudden return, quickly shifted their attention to the tiny being on his shoulder. Before anyone could question him further, Thor stepped forward, eyes wide with curiosity. I am Groot. The little creature immediately jumped onto Thor's shoulder, responding in his native tongue.
Oh.
You feel familiar to me too. Thor said, smiling. Where did you meet Qin Xiao? The group, now intrigued by little Groot's story, turned their attention to him, eagerly listening as he recounted his adventures. Only Heimdall kept his gaze fixed on Qin Xiao, his expression contemplative. Where exactly did you come from? That place, it doesn't belong to any known part of the universe. Qin Xiao smirked, thinking back to his time in the Void, the TVA, and everything he had witnessed. Let's just say, he replied lightly, I've been elsewhere. Back at Avengers HQ, Qin Xiao omitted details about the 2 separate timelines but revealed key aspects of his journey: the Void, the TVA, and the existence of the Time Variance Authority's manipulations. Tony, predictably, was the first to react. So you're saying our entire lives have been prescripted? Every struggle, every damn event I've been through, it's all part of some predetermined plot? You should have just wrung that bastard's neck. His words reflected the sentiments of most of the assembled heroes. Regardless of their alignment, Hero or villain, each of them had carved their own path through suffering and perseverance. To be told that their choices were mere illusions?
Unacceptable. Qin Xiao nodded. I agree.
But let's be real, right now, we don't stand a chance in that war. Whether Kong has his own agenda or not, our timeline is temporarily unchained.
That gives us time.
Time to grow, time to fight back, time to break this cycle ourselves. He didn't mention what had originally been fated for their future. Such knowledge would only make it even more unpredictable. A never-ending time loop, a secret organization pulling the strings, and a mad scientist from 1,000 years in the future, Steve muttered.
Damn.
I actually miss World War II, at least then, I was up against something tangible.
Qin Xiao grinned.
Even then, you weren't the most advanced monster in the world. Steve raised an eyebrow. At least one of the most advanced ones. Back then, I defended my country, then the world, and now? Now we're supposed to fight for the whole damn universe?
This is insane. He hesitated, then shook his head. No, it's more than that. It's shit.
Qin Xiao finished for him with a smirk. The room fell into silence, each person lost in their own thoughts. They all knew the truth, there was no going back. The battle ahead was unlike anything they had ever faced. But at least now, they had a fighting chance.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another video of FanFic Canon. Before we dive in, I want to remind you to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy our content. It really helps a lot. Also, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section below. Let's get started.
This time he accidentally wandered into the land of nothingness. In addition to gaining a little growth who absorbed the origin of the god of thunder and meeting Kong the Conqueror, Qin Xiao actually had another gain. Regarding the rule power of infinite gems, Qin Xiao remembered that in the Time Variation Management Bureau, infinite gems were all over the floor and could not play any role at all. This made Qin Xiao wonder at the beginning whether it was necessary for those who jumped out of the universe and time. These powers, the Infinity Stones, have lost their effect. Later, Qin Xiao realized that he was wrong. The Infinity Stones themselves were the physical embodiment of the rules of the universe. If they were not in that universe, the Infinity Stones would of course lose their effect. Of course, this does not mean that the Infinity Stones are useless. At the very least, if there is a war in the universe in the future, if Qin Xiao completely controls the 6 Infinity Stones, then he will be invincible in the material universe. In particular, Kong the Conqueror later revealed his fear of the ancient gods, which illustrates the power of rules, although Kong the Conqueror also used technology to master many rules in the universe. But using equipment, energy control, and utilization and complete control are two different things. Just like a person holding an extremely powerful flamethrower, it is enough to deal with others, but how can he deal with Qin Xiao who can completely turn into flames himself? Therefore, Qin Xiao was bound to get the 6 infinite gems. Although there were many in the Time Variation Administration, Qin Xiao decided to collect the remaining gems by himself. The first is that he is afraid that Kong will do something inside, and the second is that he is afraid of exposing his secret. This is one of his biggest trump cards and he must not let Kong know about it. So after coming back and explaining everything to everyone, Qin Xiao was ready to set off towards the universe. Although there are space gems that can travel through space at will, you still need spaceships and other means of transportation to go into the universe, so that you can contact as many civilizations and different species of humans in the universe as possible. Everyone expressed support for Qin Xiao's idea. The key is that Qin Xiao can travel back and forth at will. With the ability of the space gem, Qin Xiao is basically the same on the other side of the universe as he is on the Earth. Moreover, many heroes of the Avengers also want to take a look in the universe. Anyway, Qin Xiao is here and he can go and come back at any time. Doing what you say has always been the Avengers' style. Thor got several spaceships from the 9 kingdoms from Asgard and wanted to modify them into a brand new, comfortable space travel ship. After Black Panther learned the news, in the name of technological exchange, he happily took his older sister and several Wakanda scientists to join the research. By the way, some vibranium materials were also given as a gift. Using vibranium to build an entire spaceship was a bit too exaggerated. They used vibranium and titanium alloys to create some new alloys to make the outer shell of the spacecraft, and most of the vibranium was installed on the bridge. To ensure that when the spacecraft is under violent attack and cannot withstand it, the vibranium on the bridge will be combined into a small safe house to temporarily ensure the safety of the personnel inside and prevent them from falling into the void of the universe. In addition, Qin Xiao's wormhole security is definitely the best in the universe. In terms of power and communication, the original equipment of several spacecrafts has been used, but it has been modified, and the performance has not changed much. After all, whether it is Tony Stark or the scientists of Wakanda, they have theories, but no one has real experience of space travel, and there is no way to effectively improve them. However, due to the large amount of vibranium and titanium alloy used in the materials, these two extremely lightweight materials greatly reduce the weight of the spacecraft. Overall, the speed is still very good. As for the offense, Tony installed 2 Gatling machine guns under the wings on both sides of the spacecraft. Of course, they are different from those on Earth. They use energy bombs, but they use Gatling's principle to speed up the shooting. Speed. There are 4 of them in total, and they can fire 24,000 energy bombs per minute. This is a quite terrifying number, enough to tear apart a small near-Earth fleet of a cosmic civilization head-on. As for large weapons, Tony was not equipped, to use his words. This spaceship was originally used to participate in small battles. When encountering a large fleet or a mothership as big as a city, it would be better for Qin Xiao to directly open a wormhole and enter the house to attack. In fact, it is because of the size problem. There are too many problems involved in erecting large weapons. If we really want to get a Star Destroyer level weapon on this small spacecraft, this small thing cannot withstand the recoil of the energy eruption. Not to mention energy transmission issues. As for the energy of the spacecraft, this is the simplest part. With Qin Xiao's portable space and the fact that Tony has improved countless versions of the energy pile technology, the amount of energy Qin Xiao can carry with him is definitely a terrifying figure. The final product was a spaceship that was 25 meters long, with a body width of 5 meters, a height of nearly 5 meters, and a total length of more than 20 meters for the left and right wings. It looks a bit like a very futuristic super-large aircraft. At Tony's insistence, the pattern was spray-painted into the colors of Iron Man, gold and red, and a letter A representing the Avengers was printed on one side of the fuselage. The operating system is the latest artificial intelligence developed by Tony. Its original name was Karen. Yes, it was the artificial intelligence that later appeared in Spider-Man's suit. Qin Xiao didn't want to steal little Spider's artificial intelligence nanny. In order to commemorate his time travel and always remind himself how different the world is now, Qin Xiao used the name of the Black Widow actor, Scarlet. After renaming the operating system, Natasha pinched Qin Xiao's waist from behind in dissatisfaction. Scarlet sounded like a girl's name. Qin Xiao raised his hands high to express his surrender. I swear, this was the name of my puppy when I was little, a very beautiful white Pomeranian, and he was called that. Scarlet has entered all the star maps in the Asgard database and jumped into the wormhole, ensuring that she can automatically fly to any place shown on the star map as long as she enters the coordinates. Tony directly spray-painted the name of the final spaceship right, probably to commemorate the Illuminati, which they secretly had no effect on now. Everything was ready. On the day of departure, Tony specifically informed a large number of media that the Avengers already had interstellar navigation technology. The Avengers were about to leave the Earth and go to the universe. So who would protect the safety of the Earth? Or what will the Avengers bring to the Earth this time? There are various voices going on. Anyway, it hasn't officially taken off yet. The whole world knows that Avengers is leaving the Earth. This is what Qin Xiao communicated with everyone, creating news, and everyone left with him, making everyone think that the Avengers have all left the Earth. Let those clowns hiding behind come out. The Earth is the base camp and cannot be chaotic. All the messy and unstable factors must be eliminated. In fact, after the Avengers boarded the spaceship, they all sent Qin Xiao back to the sky base. Only Qin Xiao, Little Groot, and Tony Stark, who entered the universe for scientific purposes, were left on the entire spaceship. Graham. In the end, people all over the world saw on TV, in front of the public, that for the first time humans truly stepped out of space and entered the universe, and flame particles were slowly ejected from the tail of Avengers' spaceship. The spacecraft hovered in the sky, accelerated, and rushed out of the atmosphere in a few seconds and disappeared. In an instant, Ronan's mouth opened so wide that he could swallow a raw egg. What kind of firepower is this? Ronan had just finished speaking when a three-dimensional projection appeared in front of his eyes. What was projected was the entire spacecraft, with the location where the right attacked flashing in red. Warning, the first shell has been broken. Warning, the second splint has been broken, and the weapon's energy system is being damaged. Almost instantly, the steel plates on the outer shell were overturned and melted layer by layer, and an area of dozens of meters in size was reduced to a state of tatters. Immediately, I saw the speed of the small spacecraft increased sharply again, and it crashed directly into the place of attack. It smashed through the tattered shell like a rotten thing, entered the interior of the spacecraft, and then flew straight out from the other side of the spacecraft. Of course, this level of damage is nothing to the huge Ronan battleship, but for Ronan, who has been in the universe for countless years, this is a huge shame. All aim and fire? Ronan waved his hammer and gave the order. Ronan came out this time with 6 very large spaceships, which was equivalent to a fleet. Following Ronan's order, the 6 spaceships opened their hatches one after another, and countless small warships flew out like flies. Whoosh whoosh. Although there was no sound in space, everyone in Qin Xiao couldn't help but make up the sound when they looked at the dense blue energy bombs in front of them. If you switch to the perspective of space, you will find that the entire right's front, rear, left, right and top are almost completely filled with energy bombs. Unable to avoid it, Qin Xiao snorted coldly, and the blue energy light on his body faintly circulated. You don't need to take action. If you can't stop it to this extent, wouldn't you be very sorry for the materials of our spaceship? Tony stretched out his hand to stop Qin Xiao and said. From the energy bombs emitted by the opponent, Tony could probably judge the energy density and power in his mind, and he had absolute confidence in the shell of the spacecraft. In other words, even if it really couldn't be stopped, with the vibranium safety cabin on the bridge and Qin Xiao's ability, he could leave completely safely, so he was determined to try the power of the shell. The speed of the energy bomb was very fast, and as he spoke, the first wave of dense attacks had already landed on the spacecraft. Vibranium is indeed a rare top metal in the Marvel universe, even if the shell only contains a small amount of vibranium. However, combined with the high strength of the titanium alloy itself, the right successfully received the attack. Moreover, the ability of vibranium to eliminate shock waves was also fully demonstrated. Not to mention the damage to the outer shell of the right, the entire spacecraft did not even emit any shock. There were more than 1,000 small battleships coming out of the 6 spaceships. After a round of dense shooting, energy bombs fell like raindrops and splashed on the right, and then nothing happened. As for the small battleships sent by Ronan, after completing a salvo, they all quietly stayed in space and continued to surround the right, except for receiving new orders from Ronan. It wasn't that Ronan didn't give orders, it was just that he had never seen such a small spaceship with such a hard shell. It is common sense in the universe that the larger the spacecraft is, the thicker the shell is. Of course, these motherships can ignore the round of shooting just now, but this little guy in front of me, this was a bit beyond Ronan's understanding, so he forgot to give the order for a moment. He forgot to give the order, but Qin Xiao and others did not forget to fight back. The right's tail flames spurted out fiercely, and its speed increased to the extreme almost instantly. The weapons on both wings sprayed fire again. At the same time, the entire spacecraft flew towards the small battleship in the sky. The right's weapons can even tear open the shell of their mothership, let alone these small battleships that are ant-sized compared to the mothership. As long as an energy bomb hits, it will explode into pieces. The right is like a ferocious eagle flying into a group of sparrows. The spacecraft's pure vibranium nose is coupled with the wings on the edges that are specially made of polished vibranium. As long as the warships passed by, they all exploded into fireworks all over the sky. Only then did Ronan react. Damn it, what is this spaceship made of? Could it be that all the resources of the Nova Empire were used to build this small spaceship? Ronan didn't particularly care about the loss of the small battleship, and said angrily, "This ship is not a Nova Empire's spaceship. It has just received information from an undercover agent on Xandar. This ship has just approached Xandar and was initially preparing to land here. According to the data, they are from No C-53. Ronan's adjutant said in disbelief, and his voice slowly became quieter as he spoke. C-53. Ronan smacked the number, and suddenly a shining golden woman's figure flashed in his mind. Captain Marvel? This is definitely a psychological shadow in Ronan's proud career. As for the right's piercing of his mothership just now, this scene slowly overlapped with the golden figure from more than 10 years ago. The difference is that the former is a spaceship and the latter is a person. C-53? Lance Star, why do such perverted things appear so often in that damn place? Retreat, call all the battleships back, retreat. The memories of Captain Marvel panicked Ronan, who had always been too high-minded. At this moment, he no longer cared about sealing Xandar or threatening the Nova Empire. With just a few words, his own battleship took the lead and escaped directly into the subspace. The flight technology of subspace allows the spacecraft to temporarily enter subspace and thus enter the wormhole of subspace. Instantly escaping into the subspace, Qin Xiao didn't know whether the Quackly people were technologically powerful or Ronan was too timid. On the other side, on Xandar, Supreme Novan was talking to the current leader of the Kree Empire. The two sides had reached a truce agreement some time ago, and Ronan's current behavior has openly torn up the agreement between the two parties. However, the Kree said that Ronan the Accuser has separated from the Kree Empire and that all his actions have nothing to do with the Kree Empire. While the two sides were arguing, someone from the Nova Corps came over, opened a video, and placed a microcomputer in front of Nova Supreme. The scene on the screen is exactly the scene of the battle between the right and Ronan's fleet. To be precise, Ronan fled with the fleet before the right started officially. Is this, they drove Ronan away with such a small spaceship? Nova Supreme closed the communication screen and asked in disbelief. Who are they? Do you know? C-53, Lance Star, is a remote and barren small planet. According to my intelligence, the locals prefer to call their home planet Earth. Xandar, headquarters of the Nova Corps. Among the three major empires in the universe, the Skrull Empire has been completely broken up by the Kree. If it hadn't been for the appearance of Captain Marvel, even some of the remaining people would have been hunted. However, the Nova Empire, one of the three major empires, could not even deal with the power of Ronan, a small branch of the Kree people. It even did not dare to fight back immediately when it was pressed by its army. In his previous life, Qin Xiao had seen many movies or books about the fantasy of higher civilization. Many books or movies compared higher civilization to peace, nobility, and no longer based on material things. Therefore, as civilization becomes more advanced, armaments become weaker, and people are unwilling to easily start wars and eliminate armaments. This is indeed a good thing. But peace is in the hands of a powerful thread of force. Tony's father said that only those with the biggest stick in their hands are qualified to pursue peace. There is also a great man in China who once said, "Political power comes from the barrel of a gun." Although this sentence has different meanings, it can generally be understood that way. Wanting reunification and peace is largely based on force. It's a pity that the people in the Nova Empire don't seem to understand this very well. The Kree Empire was extremely militaristic, while the Nova Empire went to the other extreme. It was a huge empire that spanned the galaxy, but only had a Nova Corps to protect its safety. Even after Ronan's naked provocation, he didn't want to increase defenses or armed forces, but directly pinned his hopes on Qin Xiao and others. The mining rights of 3 mineral planets, a large amount of basic scientific and technological data that surpasses the Earth for hundreds of years, and even manpower can be dispatched to help transform the Moon and Mars within the solar system as the second breeding ground for humans on Earth. These are the prices for asking Qin Xiao and others to take action to settle Ronan and others. With all due respect, the price you paid should be enough to arm yourself and eliminate the accuser Ronan, right? He has lost the support of the Kree Empire, hasn't he? It was Natasha who spoke. She also didn't understand how a huge cosmic empire could be threatened by a fleet, and even made it panic. We signed a peace truce agreement with the Kree Empire. Both of us destroyed a large amount of armaments. The universe needs peace. Ronan betrayed the peace agreement. We cannot unilaterally engage in armaments. Even if I think it is necessary, the elders will agree. Supreme Nova shrugged his shoulders, as if he didn't think there was anything wrong with what he did. Qin Xiao and Tony looked at each other, and Tony asked, "What if we don't show up today? What will you do? Wait for them to attack?" Ronan is just blocking. He can't break through the Nova Legion's defense. He poses no threat to our planet. If it weren't for you, we would have issued a bounty to the entire universe. Although Ronan is notorious in the universe, as long as if you increase the bounty, there will still be a lot of bounty fleets and predators to deal with them. Qin Xiao rolled his eyes, wondering if Thanos in the movie would come over and destroy you all in a few moments? When there are still many hostile forces in the universe or the 3 parties are unknown and have high combat power, you believe in peace and start to reduce your armaments. If you don't perish, whoever will perish will perish. But seeing the matter-of-fact look on Nova Supreme's face, Qin Xiao wisely did not dwell on it. Instead, he began to talk nonsense seriously. Your yearning and love for peace are respectable. I heard that the Nova Corps has a battleship energy link technology that can be used as a good means of external defense. I don't know if this technology is convenient or not. Old God Qin Xiao crossed his legs. He didn't say anything clearly. The meaning couldn't be clearer. The price was not enough, plus this technology. Knowing that this is the core technology of the Nova Corps, Nova Supreme looked a little embarrassed. After saying sorry, Qin Xiao asked Qin Xiao to wait a moment, then turned around and went into the room, obviously to discuss it with others. Qin Xiao is not in a hurry. He has the space gem, and even if others don't give it to him, he has other ways to get it. Instead, he turned around and chatted with Tony and others. I really didn't expect that at our first stop in the universe, we would have a fight with a fleet and then become mercenaries of the Empire. We are country bumpkins from Earth. Tony said mockingly, with a smile that couldn't be hidden in his eyes. You know, they made a lot of money from this deal. Not to mention the value of the 3 mineral planets. Let's talk about the transformation of Mars and the Moon. I don't know how much development opportunities it has brought to the Earth. According to the current technological level of the Earth, it is possible to mobilize with all our strength and unite as one to transform the Moon. That is also the beginning of a small group, to transform Mars? Don't even think about it. I didn't expect that just by having a fight with someone, I would earn 3 planets and the transformation of Mars. Natasha also said with a smile. By the way, a large number of transport ships are needed to immigrate to Mars. Don't waste time modifying them. Add 1. We need to prepare some transport ships for Mars immigration. Tony said as he got closer. Qin Xiao rolled his eyes and gave Tony a thumbs up. You are still thoughtful, otherwise your family would be the richest man. It only took less than 10 minutes for Nova Supreme to rush out of the room. Judging from the relieved expression on her face, it seems that this matter is no longer a big problem, which also shows that Ronan's harassment has annoyed them. The elders agreed to your request, but there is one thing. We must sign an additional agreement. This technology can only be given to the Earth and your future affiliated planets. This technology cannot be transferred or handed over in any form to third parties. Don't worry, this is a technology to protect ourselves. We will definitely not leak it. When the key problems are solved, the transport ship seems very insignificant in comparison. After all, the core technology and several planets have been sent out. The transfer of the 3 planets is very fast, just register it directly here in the Nova Empire. Before Qin Xiao and others send people to take over, the Nova Legion will send people to take care of them. For the transformation of Mars and the Moon, they will immediately send people to detect the environment and implement the plan immediately. As for dealing with Ronan, Qin Xiao and others are only responsible for taking action. Ronan's information still needs to be provided by people from the Nova Empire. Although they are a bit naive when it comes to armaments, the names of the 3 great empires of the universe are not just called casually. News about Ronan came within a few days. According to our intelligence, since Ronan was defeated by you here last time, he went to find the Mad Titan Thanos, and a team under him went to a planet called Morag. We don't know their purpose yet, but our people have been watching around. As soon as Ronan leaves Thanos territory, we will arrange for you to go there and carry out your mission. Thanos, Qin Xiao was smacking the name in his mind. Tony couldn't help but speak. Mad Titan, this doesn't sound like a nickname for a good guy. Who is he? Is that Ronan's accomplice? If necessary, we can actually work together, as long as you add more things, such as more come to some planets or something. The words Tony blurted out caused the expressions of everyone in the Nova Empire present to change. Even Qin Xiao gave Tony a thumbs up in his heart. It would be okay to jump directly to the boss. Feeling that something was wrong in the atmosphere, Tony quickly continued, "Did I say something wrong? That Mad Titan is difficult to deal with. The Mad Titan Thanos is the most powerful person in the universe in recent years. After the fall of the ancient Celestials, there have been 2 recognized beings closest to the Celestials in the universe. One is the father of the gods of Asgard, Odin, the other one is the Mad Titan." Nova Supreme sighed slightly and began to explain to Tony, Qin Xiao and others. Unlike Odin, no one has ever known what Thanos' purpose is. He controls thousands of planets and has more armies than the 3 major empires combined. He will never come out easily, but as long as he goes out, half of the creatures on all the planets he passes will be randomly slaughtered. It is completely random and has no purpose. This is a very scary person. He alone is enough to destroy a powerful fleet. Therefore, no one in the universe will take the initiative to provoke that scary guy without any last resort. When Nova Supreme talks about Ronan, he feels troubled, but when he talks about Thanos, he feels deep fear and fear. The feeling of fear emanating from his heart made Tony reluctant to lobby further, so he asked directly. Since the Mad Titan cannot be messed with, then Ronan went to find him. If we go to deal with Ronan again, aren't you afraid of the revenge of Thanos? Nova Supreme shook his head slightly, as if to shake that terrible name out of his mind, and then continued. He won't. He will never seek revenge on others for the failure of his men. His massacres are always purposeless. He will just let it go when his men fail. He will never take action because of this. You can rest assured. Tony shrugged non-committally and looked at Qin Xiao. Qin Xiao winked slightly at Tony, which meant, don't take risks, there is still an Earth behind us. To be honest, when you come to this world, you cannot rely entirely on what you see in the movie. Before he is 100% sure, Qin Xiao has no intention of confronting Thanos now. At the very least, he had no intention of confronting Thanos until he fully mastered the power of 2 more Infinity Stones. Then just wait a few more days. Tony stretched lazily. To be honest, he had just arrived on Xandar and had not fully experienced the exotic customs. Tony could accept it if he stayed for a few more days. Qin Xiao takes Natasha out for fun every day, while Tony takes Little Groat everywhere to look for wine on Xandar. In just a few days, Little Groat has gotten drunk several times. Nova Supreme gave several people hundreds of thousands of universal currency each, and specially arranged for people from the Nova Corps to take care of everyone, so a group of people have been having fun here these past few days. If it weren't for the fact that the captain was taking everyone through periodic training recently, Tony would have wanted to bring everyone here to have a party. Qin, Little Groat goes out drinking with Tony every day. He is so small, is he really okay? Women basically have no resistance to this cute little tree man. Everyone in the base, led by Natasha, treats Little Groat as a child, even though they know that Little Groat is very powerful. But seeing such a little guy drinking alcohol with Tony all day long, it was inevitable to feel a little worried. Qin, let's go find Little Groat. I see that many people here on Xandar are armed. Little Groat drinks with Tony every day. Don't cause any more trouble, Natasha said worriedly. Ha ha ha. Qin Xiao laughed loudly. Don't worry, with Little Groat's ability, even if he gets into trouble, it will only be the loss of others, not to mention the Nova Legion watching secretly. It'll be okay. But Natasha was still a little worried, but before she could say anything else, Tony's voice came from a distance. Let me go, you damn it, who are you? A rabbit or a squirrel? Tony's voice was naturally very familiar to the 2 of them, and they were about to follow the voice in that direction. Another sharp voice was heard. You are the thing. Listen to me. My name is Rocket. Give me the Little Groat in your hand. He is the family member of my pet. You, a space trafficker, stole this Little Groat from nowhere. Tree people. Asshole. Groat, you'd better catch up on old times later, now it's time to fight. This is the busiest street on Xandar. When Qin Xiao and Natasha pushed through the crowd and ran over, they saw a little raccoon-like gadget holding Tony's trouser leg with one hand and holding a handful of energy in the other. The gun was pointed at Tony. Next to the 2 of them, a large tree man nearly 3 meters tall was holding Little Groat in both hands, and the 2 trees were staring at each other with big eyes. It's none other than Groat and Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm Groat. I'm Groat. The above is a conversation between 2 Groats from different universes. Well, have no idea what they are talking about. Qin Xiao asked Natasha to check on Groat, but he directly went up to pick up the rocket with one hand and pulled Tony away with the other. What happened? Qin Xiao held the rocket as far away as possible with one hand and asked Tony. Qin, you came just in time. This guy looks like a stuffed toy. As soon as he and the tree man see Groat, they want to take Groat away. This damn guy has a worse mouth than me. I swear, I will shave his head with my razor. Tony was still talking here, and Rocket saw that a companion had arrived. After calling Groat twice and there was no response, Rocket loaded the gun in midair. Bang bang. He fired 2 shots directly at Qin Xiao's face. Qin Xiao was really unprepared. One of them was talking to Tony who was concentrating on him, and the other one really didn't expect Rocket to shoot brazenly in the street. The most important thing is that Qin Xiao subconsciously regards these two people as his own. As a result, he was hit in the face twice by fierce rockets. Two balls of white energy exploded directly on Qin Xiao's face. Opening his mouth and spitting out a puff of slightly black smoke, Qin Xiao turned to Rocket with a calm face and said, "Damn it, why did you shoot as soon as you came up?" As he spoke, he couldn't help but put a little more strength into his hands. Apart from making Qin Xiao's face darker after the two shots, there was no other change. Rocket stared at Qin Xiao's face in surprise and said, "What kind of person are you? How can you be so good at beatings? Damn it, Grote, stop chatting with the little guy. Come and get a powerful one." Whizzing! As Rocket screamed, Grote's arms on one side instantly turned into long vines, and he drew his bow from left and right towards Qin Xiao. "I'm Grote." A milky voice sounded. Before the two whips could be drawn down, they were intercepted in midair by two small vines. Compared with the two vines of Big Grote, the two vines of the little guy are simply the difference between stool legs and pillars. There was such a huge difference in size, but the two stool legs easily blocked the two pillars. Zia-la! The sound of electric current sounded, lightning surrounded the little guy, and two high-voltage currents followed the vines directly to Grote. Almost instantly, the two vines stretched out by Grote were electrocuted into ashes. It seems that the little guy still held back. The current burned the vines directly and was taken back by the little guy, without causing any harm to Grote's body. It's just that the arm was burned. For the tree people, it just took a little time to grow it out, so it's not a big deal. "I'm Grote." Big Grote stared at the two bare shoulders and asked the little guy in confusion why he, as a tribe that was almost extinct in the universe, would do something to him. Rocket's expression was even more unbelievable. "Damn, why didn't I know that tree people still have this ability? Grote, I suspect your mother cheated on an ordinary tree." At this time, Rocket actually started talking to Grote. Qin Xiao snatched the firearm from Rocket's hand and crushed the energy core to pieces with one hand. With one hand, he placed the rocket on the flower bed by the roadside. In order to prevent him from making any small moves, a hand was placed on his shoulder. "Can you talk properly now?" Before he finished speaking, small warships from the Nova Corps had already come from all directions, and more than a dozen warships stopped in the sky above everyone. The battleships were all emitting a faint yellow light. "We are the Nova Corps. Your actions have violated the laws of Xandar. Now it has nothing to do with me. You are from the Nova Corps. Open your eyes and see clearly. This guy attacked me and broke my pet's arm. Come and capture them." Rocket stood on the flower bed waving his hands and said loudly. Tony rolled his eyes, took out an ID in his hand and waved it towards the sky. Everyone in the Nova Corps originally had photos of these uncles from Earth. When they saw the ID in Tony's hand, they remembered that these Earthlings were their honored guests. Then he turned the gun head, and most of the yellow light was aimed at the rocket, and some was aimed at Grote. "Hey, now we can have a nice chat." Rocket shrugged his shoulders resignedly and repeated what Qin Xiao had just said. In a suite of a luxury hotel on Xandar Star, this is the temporary residence prepared by the Nova Corps for Qin Xiao and others. Little Grote didn't lie to his people, and Qin Xiao didn't mean to hide it. He repeated what he said to everyone in the Avengers. "Time loop, conquer health, time variation authority and more. You mean, my past, being transformed by others, being scolded as a piece of trash, was all set. If I was lucky enough to escape this dim fate, I would be caught and thrown into a so-called in the garbage." The hair on Rocket's body stood on end, and he was obviously extremely angry. "Yeah, you can understand that." Qin Xiao nodded in agreement. "Then I'll join, but I have a condition. If that day comes, I will punch 100 holes in that bastard's body with my own hands, 100. Rocket said bitterly. "I'm Grote." What he means is that he will wring the neck of every Conqueror Kong with his own hands. Little Grote translated for the grown-up version of himself with a sweet voice. Rocket was a little unaccustomed to having his translation job taken away from him, so he let out an unexpected hum and then said, "Finally, someone else can understand it. It feels good not to have to translate. But don't compete with me, Grote, this is my goal in the future. I'm Grote." "What do you mean this time?" "Of course we can't give up. We've come here and we must catch that guy on Xandar. He is worth 40,000 yuan now, which is a lot of money. Besides, we are not afraid of the Nova Corps now, isn't it? Rocket and Grote are here for the same purpose as in the movie. All because Yondu issued a bounty of 40,000 yuan for Star-Lord. They did not have accurate information that Star-Lord had come to Xandar, but they knew that Star-Lord had something in his hands that others were interested in. So whether it's to sell stolen goods or to hide yourself, Xandar Star, where there are thousands of races, is definitely the best place." Sure enough, with the assistance of the Nova Corps, Star-Lord's location was directly locked through the monitoring equipment in the atmosphere. This is a small shop that specializes in selling various souvenirs from the surrounding galaxies. Secretly, it is indeed the largest seller and intermediary of stolen goods on Xandar. It's just that the business they introduced is relatively extensive and they don't abide by the law a little bit. Opposite the shop, more than 20 meters away, is a row of flower beds used for decoration on the road. Qin Xiao, Tony, and Rocket pretended to be tourists and sat on the flower bed. The two Grotes were being taken shopping by Natasha, one as a pet and the other as a coolie carrying bags. These three people received information from the Nova Corps. Star-Lord had just entered the shop not long ago, Everyone's hotel was not far away, so they walked straight over. How long has this guy been in here? Should we go in and take a look? Rocket kept pulling the safety of the new gun in his hand with his hand, and said a little impatient. Although the encounter with Qin Xiao made Rocket have new changes in his future life and goals, this guy who was used to being a bounty hunter still couldn't resist the smell of money on Star-Lord. After touching the new gun he got from Qin Xiao, the anxious Rocket was about to enter the shop directly. As a result, Qin Xiao caught him immediately. Let me go, I'm warning you, if you dare to lift me up from behind again, I will shoot you in the face. Rocket said angrily. Shut up, you tried it, but you can't do it, can you? Look at the green-skinned woman in front. I'm sure she has the same goal as you, but she has a really good figure. Tony said, pointing to the woman who appeared in front of the store. Gamera? How could it be her, the daughter of the mad titan Thanos? She is a notorious killer. Rocket looked at Gamera and said quietly, and once again habitually touched the safety of the firearm. Thanos. Coming here, Tony had heard this name several times. It seems that there must be a lot of secrets about that bastard. So many people are interested in him. What should I do? Tony looked at Qin Xiao and said. Catch two of them one by one. In the small shop, because Ronan specified that he wanted the Cosmic Spirit Ball, which contained the Power Stone, the timid boss refused the deal with Star-Lord. Star-Lord spent a long time drooling, and could only come out of the shop with a look of reluctance. Hi. Gamera's voice made Star-Lord's eyes light up. When he turned around, he saw a graceful beauty leaning against the door. The green skin perfectly matches Star-Lord's aesthetic. Hi, are you? Before Star-Lord finished his sentence, and before Gamera could take action, the conversation between the two was interrupted by Rocket. Raise your hands, that couple of bitches, that's you, the green-skinned woman and that wretched-looking man, raise your damn hands. Rocket stood about 10 meters across from the two of them. While talking, he loaded the gun in his hand with a click. Damn, me and this guy. I'm wretched, you talking rabbits, are you? Star-Lord and Gamera spoke at the same time. Unfortunately, before they could finish their words, they were punched directly by Qin Xiao who didn't want to cause any trouble. The fist went directly through two small wormholes and hit the two people on the back of the head. The two fell down in response. Joining you is definitely a wise choice. You are much easier to use than Groot. Rocket happily ran over and stepped on Star-Lord's face, rolling Star-Lord's eyelids like he was inspecting goods. He didn't forget to take advantage of Qin Xiao. No need to bother, I still have use for this guy, leave it to me. Qin Xiao stopped Rocket's hand. The guy was about to cancel the mission and notify his employer. Partners are partners, money is money, not to mention we just met. I'm warning you, thank you, boss. Rocket bared his teeth and just started to say something harsh, but his harsh words were suppressed by the pending transfer of 80,000 cosmic coins on Qin Xiao's wrist. Although you gave me double, I'm buying one and getting one free, so you won't lose, right? But what do you want this bastard for? He has the face of a loser. So many people are looking for him, which means that he or the things he has on him are worth much more than tens of thousands of dollars. You stupid raccoon, go back to the hotel first. What? 4 billion. Rocket and the tightly tied Star-Lord screamed loudly at the same time. That's right. Gamera nodded affirmatively, staring directly at Qin Xiao and said, I don't know who you are and what the purpose of arresting us is, but I think the people behind you will definitely not be able to pay this price. Ronan is searching for this thing all over the universe. Thanos also wants to get him. Only I can if you find a buyer and buy this thing, I can give you half of it. I want 70%. Rocket said impatiently from the side. Qin Xiao rolled his eyes, did you hear that? Rocket, your employer only paid 40,000. This, Mr. Quill, right, how much did your buyer pay? 100,000? 1 million? Facts have proved that, you two are just low-level gangsters who don't even have reasonable shipping channels. Shut up, I'm the famous Star-Lord. Shut up, I'm the famous Rocket. Star-Lord and Rocket said in unison. After speaking, the two looked at each other and spoke at the same time in tacit agreement. Who is Star-Lord? Who is Rocket? You have never heard of the name Star-Lord, you ignorant fox. Star-Lord turned his head angrily and looked at Qin Xiao. Qin Xiao spread his hands. Tony smiled and shook his head. Gamera rolled her eyes helplessly. Okay, you are all a bunch of ignorant country bumpkins. I can forgive you, but I took this ball with great difficulty. We can sell it together and share the money. It will be much more peaceful and friendly than what we are doing now, isn't it? After Star-Lord said this, he, Gamera and Rocket looked at Qin Xiao. Okay, Qin Xiao said with a smile. It will be divided according to the head, one for each person, but this thing must be placed with me first. Qin Xiao said as he took out the cosmic spirit ball from Star-Lord's body. In the eyes of Gamera and Star-Lord, who were horrified and others looked confused, they directly crushed the metal ball outside with their bare hands. No, no. Amidst the roars of the two people in unison, Qin Xiao shook the metal fragments in his hands to the ground and held the power gem inside with one hand. Purple light instantly lit up from Qin Xiao's hand. This power, which could destroy a planet in an instant, exploded and spread throughout Qin Xiao's body. Then he shrank back suddenly, as if the light and power just now disappeared quickly like an illusion. All the purple light retracted to Qin Xiao's hand, and then disappeared instantly. Also disappearing with it was the power gem in Qin Xiao's hand. You, where did you do it? Who the hell are you? Compared to Star-Lord, Gamera was even more rude. Star-Lord just knew that this was a very dangerous and great thing. But Gamera, who has followed Thanos since she was a child, is very familiar with the legend of the Infinite Stones. This power gem was used by the Celestials in ancient times as a weapon to destroy the planet. No one can directly use their body to master its power. Even Thanos can only use the power of a gemstone briefly, and even has to build a special weapon to control the abilities contained in these gems. Who I am. Qin Xiao smiled slightly and did not answer Gamera's question. Although Qin Xiaoun took the power gem in calmly on the surface, earth-shaking changes took place inside his body. It turns out that in Qin Xiao's body, the reality gem became a base, and the space gem was embedded on it as an energy core. It looks like a machine with missing parts. And when the third gem entered the body, the forms of the three gems changed again. The space gem that Qin Xiao had obtained for the longest time and had the deepest control quickly disintegrated in Qin Xiao's body, and finally turned into a phantom and directly integrated into Qin Xiao's heart. Qin Xiao was like an old-fashioned tractor suddenly replaced with the energy system of the spacecraft. Qin Xiao could even hear his heart making a huge, drum-like thumping sound. With every beat, you can feel a surge of energy rushing to all parts of your body. Although this energy was not exaggerated to the point of destroying the world, it was far beyond what Qin Xiao's current body could bear. Just when Qin Xiao felt that his body was about to be torn apart, the reality stone quickly dissolved and disappeared into Qin Xiao's skin, blood vessels and internal organs. The newly obtained power gem disappeared into Qin Xiao's bones and muscles. Among the 6 infinity stones, soul, time, and spirit are more inclined to the ethereal and invisible things. Space, power, and reality are all relatively material abilities. The 3 gems that Qin Xiao obtained first directly built a framework in Qin Xiao's body and transformed Qin Xiao's body. With a flash of light, Qin Xiao disappeared in the surprised eyes of everyone. The next second, Qin Xiao appeared on an uninhabited planet near Xandar. This planet is an uninhabited planet with a density and gravity almost twice that of the Earth. The place where Qin Xiao appeared was a wilderness, and the ground was covered with hard stones. The density was even worse than ordinary stones on the Earth. After Qin Xiao appeared, he felt his own strength, paused slightly, and then punched downwards. Boom! The mountains within a kilometer nearby were shaken, and Qin Xiao's casual punch directly blasted a large crater 7 or 8 meters deep and at least 20 meters in diameter on the spot. This is the biggest and easiest time for Qin Xiao to improve his physical strength. Moreover, the reality gems and power gems are still slowly transforming his body, and the effect brought by the gems is far from reaching the limit. He casually moved his hands and feet to feel his own power. With a thought in his mind, huge flames burst out from under his feet, and Qin Xiao instantly flew into the sky. An afterimage passed by, and almost instantly, Qin Xiao had flown back and forth within a few kilometers. With the space gem as the energy core, Qin Xiao's energy is theoretically endless. However, due to the limitations of the body's endurance, the energy output each time is still limited. With this comprehensive transformation of his body, the limit that Qin Xiao's body can endure has at least increased several times. With another thought in his mind, the energy of the space gem surged out, and a huge energy shield covering a kilometer range appeared with Qin Xiao as the core. Immediately, another huge flame gushes out from Qin Xiao's body. As the temperature rises, the hot flame has turned into a deep purple. Judging from the color, it is probably not close to the temperature of tens of thousands of degrees. It turned out that Qin Xiao believed that having the power gem would only greatly increase his strength, and then it would be slowly digested in the body like the reality gem. Unexpectedly, the 3 gems directly created a small cycle for his body. The strength has increased more than 10 times. It turns out that Qin Xiao still needs to open a wormhole to cross space, but now, with a thought, Qin Xiao disappeared directly from the planet. People have returned to Xandar Star again. What on earth did you do? From taking the power gem and integrating it into his body to leaving here to test his own power, the whole process only took more than 10 seconds. So as soon as Qin Xiao came back, Gamera asked the question that she was most concerned about. Qin Xiao first gave Tony a comforting look, then looked at Gamera and said, "I just hid it temporarily. Don't worry, I will take it out when I get to the transaction place." Gamera had disbelief written all over her face, while Star-Lord said with some hindsight, "I said, buddy, what kind of ability do you have? You can teleport. Did you just hide something in another place?" Seeing Qin Xiao nodded slightly, Xingju started shouting again. "You hid the thing, don't you want to keep it for yourself? I found this thing after all the hard work. I'm warning you, it's already good that I am willing to share it with you." As soon as these words were spoken, Gamera couldn't help but rolled her eyes. Rocket jumped up with excitement on his face. "Does that woman know where the buyer is? This guy is useless now. Should we kill him directly and save money?" As soon as Rocket said these words, not only Gamera, Tony, and Qin Xiao, but even little Groot couldn't help but roll his eyes. As expected, mentally retarded people live in their own world and cannot see any new changes happening outside. After absorbing the power gem, Qin Xiao's strength increased greatly. Although he had not tried it, he felt that he should be able to go head-to-head with Thanos without the gem now. Qin Xiao, who had received huge benefits, was a little unsatisfied and wanted to find the soul gem directly to see if there was any way to get it first. In this case, only one mind and time are left among the 6 infinity stones. Both of these gems are on the earth, and one of them is in the hands of Gu Yi. Sooner or later, it will belong to Qin Xiao. There is no need to worry about this. The Mind Stone is now in the hands of Hydra. According to the current timeline, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver should have been born. I believe that it will return to Qin Xiao's hands soon, so he simply took the soul gem directly, which means that all 6 infinite gems have fallen into Qin Xiao's hands. However, as soon as Qin Xiao came up with this idea, he was killed by the system. The soul gem is special. Its ability will not have any benefit to your current strength. Once you have mastered the soul gem and your mental power has reached a certain level, it will not be too late to find the soul gem. Qin Xiao really wanted to say that I can take it out first if I don't need it, but thinking that the location of the soul gem is still temporarily safe, and there are perverted removal restrictions, Qin Xiao gave up this idea for the time being. Ignoring the different thoughts of Gamera, Star-Lord, and others, Qin Xiao untied the 2 of them. With a thought, he led everyone through the wormhole and came to a unique place in the universe. The place of nothingness is the name most people in the universe give this place. Unlike the empty place where Qin Xiao met Little Groat, this place is not independent from the timeline. This is just a skull left behind by the ancient celestial god group, which is as big as a small satellite. There are a large number of robots up here collecting organic matter from the skulls. In fact, this behavior violates the laws of the universe. However, this place is located in a remote location, and the Daiphin group established by the collector has strong financial and military power. Gradually, all the major empires in the universe turned a blind eye to this behavior. The collector's hobby is well known to the universe. He has been stationed here for a long time since the skull was developed. In order to facilitate his collection of some strange-shaped items, the items he collected were quite miscellaneous. As long as they were rare enough and weird enough, he never considered the actual utility and value, and he was extremely generous. Gradually, more and more looters, thieves, bounty hunters, etc. all gathered in this place, trying to exchange money with collectors for the weird gadgets they accidentally collected in the universe. There are indeed many inconspicuous little things that are so popular among collectors that they are offered for a price that can buy half a planet. So more people swarmed in from all over the universe like vampires who smelled blood, and some teams or individuals would come here to try their luck after accidentally getting some small things. Maybe the collectors are right, and the wealth they gain will allow them to find a stable planet and spend money like water until they die. So over the past hundreds of years, more and more people have come to this place, and gradually developed it into a huge entertainment city. Various hotels, casinos, as well as various supporting shops, spaceship repairs, etc. Anyway, it has the flavor of a spaceport that doesn't care about anything. Here, day or night, almost all shops are open around the clock. Fighting, drinking and gambling are commonplace here. At the back door of a crowded casino, a drunken and unconscious drunkard was lying in an alley. He was probably another unlucky guy who had lost all his money. He was hiding here to vent his emotions with alcohol. There was a flash of light in the void, and a wormhole appeared out of thin air. Qin Xiao led everyone there. Without disturbing Natasha's interest in taking Groat shopping, Qin Xiao arrived here directly with Tony, Rocket, Gamera, and Star-Lord. Lead the way. Qin Xiao gestured to Gamera's forehead. Are you sure? That gem is still with you, or are you sure you want to sell it? Gamera still looked at Qin Xiao with suspicion. Qin Xiao smiled non-committally. You want money, don't you? Take me there, and then everyone will share the money. As for how I trade, that has nothing to do with you. Gamera took a deep look at Qin Xiao, turned around and left without talking nonsense. Wait for me, we are in the same group. Star-Lord didn't know when he started to get entangled with Gamera and followed him closely. Rocket, on the other hand, pretended to be looking after the hostages and followed the 2 of them with a gun that was almost as long as his height. Hey, what the hell are you doing? That's an infinity stone, isn't it? You've already absorbed it into your body, are you really going to pay it back? While the 3 of them were in front, Tony grabbed Qin Xiao's arm and asked softly, We need money in the universe, Tony, but I'm not planning on trading. Do you know what black eats black? Tony looked at Qin Xiao with a strange expression. I am a legitimate businessman and I would never do such a thing. What if the other person is a fucking bastard? Then we're Robin Hoods. Qin Xiao smiled mysteriously, pulled Tony and followed the 3 people in front. Damn it, you should have taken out the armor first. Tony said softly through gritted teeth. Qin Xiao ignored Tony's words and joked that with his current strength, if Tony needed to take out his armor to deal with a collector, then he shouldn't come to this place now. After passing through an extremely bustling market full of thieves, everyone arrived in front of the collector's house. Before Gamera could knock on the door had quietly opened. An alien woman with pink skin and a white dress stood in front of her, making a gentle gesture to everyone to come in. You came a little faster than we thought, Miss Gamera. The master is waiting for you inside. We used a very advanced means of transportation. Gamera glanced at Qin Xiao and made a little joke. Follow the pink girl through the door. Due to the special nature of this place, all its buildings are enclosed. To put it bluntly, they are pieced together using various modified spaceships. The collector's house is definitely the largest one here. Once you enter, you will see a building with a ceiling of at least 100 meters, and it is covered with many movable square transparent boxes. Not only above, but also near the passage where everyone walks. There are various appearances and races inside, but they are all extremely rare creatures. Which Russian space dog is this? Tony said, pointing to an Earth dog wearing a spacesuit and a transparent hood. That's right. It is an experimental product from Turlan Star. We have collected living and non-living things from all races in the universe. Each collection has a unique meaning or is a nearly extinct life form in the universe. The pink girl walked with a bounce and spoke with her head held high, which seemed to express the pride of the owner of these collections. You just put people in this cage and call them collections. Tony pointed at a silver-colored humanoid that looked like metal, although he didn't know what race he was. But it can be seen from his eyes that this is an intelligent creature. That's right, everything here is my collection, whether it's living or dead. A middle-aged man who was dressed exaggeratedly and looked like a fashion designer on Earth turned around. Please welcome, Collector, Tanlia Dyphon. The pink girl stopped, turned around, made an exaggerated gesture towards Qin Xiao and others, and welcomed her master with an operatic aria, which was called the Collector's Tanli. Yadafan. I suddenly feel that being Robin Hood is quite good. Now I want to shoot this stinky guy in the head. Tony said, leaning next to Qin Xiao. The collector's demeanor, the way he turns around, combined with his makeup, clothes, and eyes, make him look even more Jujueza than in the movie. Qin Xiao even felt that if this guy appeared on the Earth where he lived in his previous life, then the so-called high-quality human men would be nothing in front of him. He turned around slowly, with his chin slightly raised, and his artificial eyes that were waiting for everyone to come up and say hello first. Gamera seemed to know the collector's temper. She sighed slightly and was about to step forward to greet him. Suddenly an arm stretched out from behind and pulled Gamera back alive. What are you doing? Gamera looked at Qin Xiao puzzled. Qin Xiao smiled and gave Gamera a calm gesture, and walked straight to the collector regardless of whether she understood it or not. He just stared at the collector with a hint of amusement. I don't know what you want to do, but I don't like the look in your eyes, Gamera. You'd better take out the transaction items quickly, collect the money and take your friends away from here, before your friends are fully irritates me. The collector looked past Qin Xiao and looked at Gamera behind him and said. As he finished speaking, the surrounding walls and metal plates on the ground separated one after another, revealing gun barrels as thick as forearms. After automatically identifying the target, he avoided the collector and Pink Lady and aimed at Qin Xiao and others. Hey, we are here to discuss business. What are we doing? Qin, come back first. Xingjia's anxious voice sounded behind Qin Xiao. I think you should listen to your friend's advice. The collector stretched out his hand to straighten the sunglasses on his nose, and said to Qin Xiao with a hint of threat. You threaten me. Qin Xiao's smile became even more playful. The collector has been traveling across the universe for many years, but he has never heard someone talk to him like that. After hearing Qin Xiao's words, his arrogant and pretentious eyes instantly became sharp. Just when he was about to speak, Qin Xiao slapped him with his backhand. Snapped. With a gentle slap, Qin Xiao felt that he had not used even 1% of his strength. The collector was stunned and flew 4 to 5 meters away, directly smashing into a metal table fixed to the ground behind him. Fire. The collector is not an ordinary person. Although his face was swollen after being slapped, it didn't seem to be a serious problem overall. He just yelled fire in a somewhat broken tone of anger. With an order, at least 100 guns were pointed at the crowd. Qin Xiao turned around and stretched out his hand toward everyone, and a burst of blue energy spurted out from his hand, turning into a light blue energy shield that enveloped Tony and the others. He also pushed the pink girl in easily. He stood proudly. Whoosh whoosh. The sound of firing energy firearms is definitely not as loud as that of gunpowder guns. Hundreds of firearms, or small caliber cannons, fired at once, and the sound was almost a line. More than half of the hundreds of guns were aimed at Qin Xiao. This round of shooting lasted for about 10 seconds, and it was estimated that the energy of an energy box was exhausted. Then it stopped automatically. Qin Xiao's energy shield was not damaged at all, and Qin Xiao himself resisted most of the attacks without even a red mark on his skin. Is this how you threaten me? How about I give you some time to gather the troops outside? The collector is the controller of the Dyphon group, and all the armed mining robots on the Celestial Skull belong to him. If he met someone else, the collector would resist anyway, but after seeing the energy shield used by Qin Xiao, all the collector's anger turned into panic. This is the space gem. You have mastered its full power? So Gamera, the power gem you brought. The collector murmured to Qin Xiao with a hint of panic. Yes, it's on me too, Qin Xiao said while extending his right hand to the collector. Blue, purple, and dark red, which respectively represent 3 colors of infinite gem energy, are looming on Qin Xiao's palm. This is impossible. The collector lost his voice again. No one can master the power of the Infinity Stones, let alone 3. Nothing is impossible, the facts are right in front of you, aren't they? Qin Xiao walked slowly towards the collector. Don't come here. Dear guest, whatever you want, I have everything here and I can give it to you. The collector was a little frightened, but seeing with his own eyes that a person actually had 3 Infinity Stones in his body, unscathed and able to mobilize the power of the stones, made him a little inexplicably excited. Don't worry, as long as you put away your inexplicable arrogance, I won't hurt you, but you'd better put away those damn weapons around you first, they scared my friends. Qin Xiao walked up to the collector in 2 or 3 steps and put his arm around his shoulder in a friendly manner. The collector was really frightened. Although his race's combat power was average, its lifespan was very long. Over the years, he had seen countless strong men and universe empires in the universe. But I have never seen or even heard of anyone who can directly use the power of the 3 infinity stones with his body. Tremblingly, he withdrew his weapon, and the collector who was so arrogant just now stood beside Qin Xiao honestly. Qin Xiao waved his hand and removed the energy shield. Rocket, who was not too concerned about the excitement, picked up his firearm and cheered. How about we rob this guy? That's what I wanted to do just now. His collection looks really good. No, Rocket? We are here to trade. We are not robbers, we are businessmen. Qin Xiao still put one hand on the collector's shoulder, and with the other hand, like magic, he took out a metal ball from the air to hold various energy bodies. The metal ball was open, and it was clear at first glance that it was empty. Qin Xiao casually took a small fragment from the ruins of the broken table next to it, put it in, and said to the confused collector, "Come on, make some money." Previously on Xandar, Nova Supreme had already set up cosmic accounts for him, Tony and others, and equipped them with a miniature wrist computer. Qin Xiao turned on the microcomputer on his wrist and called up his account. The three-dimensional projection of the numbers exuded a green light and shone on the collector's bloodless face, reflecting a bright green. What money? The collector asked tremblingly. 4 billion, you and Gamera agreed that we would bring you this thing and you would give us the money, remember? Qin Xiao said to the collector with a smile that coaxed a child. But it's not this thing. The collector said with a sad face. You sure? Qin Xiao asked doubtfully, and he sprayed a stream of flames at a metal chair in the distance. Under the high temperature of tens of thousands of degrees, the chair made of ordinary metal evaporated almost instantly. Gudong. The collector did something that he would never do before. He swallowed hard with a clear and audible voice. Karina, where did you die? Pay this great gentleman quickly. When his life is in the hands of others, the usually elegant and domineering collector suddenly turns into a shrew-like temperament. The pink girl who came in with Qin Xiao and others was slightly startled, glanced at the collector, then took a deep look at Qin Xiao, and finally ran all the way into a room inside. The equipment on the table outside was smashed just now. The pink girl hurried in, took out the collector's equipment and started to transfer money quickly. Collectors often collect messy things on weekdays. This pink girl named Karina seems to be quite proficient in the operation, and the transfer has been successful in a few seconds. Qin Xiao glanced at the balance displayed on the computer in his hand, nodded with satisfaction, casually took off his computer and threw it to Rocket. Rocket, you can share the money with everyone. Rocket cheered and took the small wrist computer. You know what? I like you, man, and I swear, it has nothing to do with the money. I like the way you do things, and I hate this damn old guy. In the original movie, although the members of the Guardians of the Galaxy are not bad people, they are definitely not honest and good people. Especially Rocket and Star-Lord, both of them advocate unfettered freedom. For example, the collector's method of locking intelligent creatures in cages would have been done long ago if they had not been weak. Now Qin Xiao not only taught this old bastard a lesson, but also led everyone to share such a huge sum of money. Is there anything more joyful than this? The only one who didn't look very happy was Gamera. She originally wanted to buy the Power Stone, and hid in the depths of the universe with a sum of money and the secret of the Soul Stone. He will never be found by Thanos again, and it will also prevent Thanos from gathering 6 gems to really kill half of the creatures in the universe. Although she has the money now, she doesn't know why, but Qin Xiao feels more dangerous to her than Thanos. At the very least, Thanos can't hide 3 infinity stones in his body, so she was wary of Qin Xiao. But beware, the money still has to be divided. Seeing Star-Lord finish dividing the money, Gamera hurriedly came to Rocket and showed her account number, but her eyes were fixed on Qin Xiao. 4 billion is definitely an astronomical figure for ordinary people, but for an old monster like the collector who has been operating in the universe for who knows how many years, although it is a bit unwilling, it is not a big loss. Although he was very interested in Qin Xiao's identity, the collector didn't want to provoke this kind of existence. If it weren't for this self-knowledge, he wouldn't be able to thrive in a universe full of powerful people. This great godlike gentleman, our deal has been completed. Do you have any other instructions? The collector returned to his elegant look and bent deeply towards Qin Xiao, looking like he was serving him professionally. But he was roaring crazily in his heart, go quickly, you damn monster. The deal has indeed been completed. We can't talk about the order. It's just that there are other things that haven't been resolved. Qin Xiao smiled even brighter than before. The collector's heart skipped a beat. Just now Qin Xiao showed this dim smile and used a broken metal block to blackmail him for 4 billion. Now he is smiling so happily. He was in a state of confusion in his heart, but on the outside he looked like he was willing to help. You can just ask, I will try my best to solve it for you if I can. Ha ha ha, I like your attitude. Qin Xiao laughed and said. Now let's talk about compensation. Do you see that dog? That was the one that was lost in my house when I was a child. Do you see it? Qin Xiao pointed to the space dog in the door window with a sad look on his face. For God's sake, our whole family regards it as family, but who knew that you would lock it here? You know how much my family has missed it over the years. Reaching out to wipe away 2 non-existent tears, Qin Xiao sighed deeply and asked with a sad and angry look. Tell me, how should this matter be resolved? The Daifan Group is a huge business entity that spans several galaxies. Under the Collector's management for countless years, the Daifan Group has touched almost all the known advanced civilization planets in the universe. Moreover, they also secretly controlled many lower civilized planets that were still in agricultural societies. On these planets, the people of the Daifan Group are the gods in their hearts. They control the civilization and development of these planets, exchanging their labor and resources for a few trivial benefits. Let's put it this way, if Qin Xiao controls the Daifan Group, it means that there is a force in the universe that is not weaker than the three major empires, with huge wealth, resources, and a huge intelligence network. After messing around with the Collector for a while, he threatened and frightened him, and implanted a positioning device in his body, warning him that if he left the range of the god's skull, Qin Xiao would immediately come from anywhere in the universe to kill him. Forced to willingly hand over everything in his hands, Qin Xiao, who was still a little worried, transferred a dozen experienced widows from the earth. They are required to master everything about the entire Daifan Group as soon as possible. After arranging all this in an orderly manner, he took out the spacecraft and sent those intelligent creatures who were imprisoned here for no reason back to their own place. Qin Xiao took a long breath and found Star-Lord and Gamera who had not left here yet. I know about you. You want to escape Thanos' control. I can help you, but you must stay here and help me manage this place. Although the widows are experienced, they don't know much about the universe after all. Rocket and Star-Lord are really unreliable, and Gamera is definitely the best candidate. Impossible, I have to go. No one can resist my father. I have to leave here. Although she saw Qin Xiao's strength, Thanos had a deep-rooted image of being invincible in Gamera's heart, and she didn't trust Qin Xiao at all, so she rejected him without hesitation. Facing Gamera's doubts, Qin Xiao directly opened a space wormhole. Across the wormhole was a planet that looked desolate. Qin Xiao made a gentleman's gesture of please come in. What is this place? Gamera asked, looking at the scene across the wormhole. Vormer, where the soul gem is the real reason why you escaped from Thanos, right? You want to stop his plan. Qin Xiao's words made Gamera's face uncertain. The whereabouts of the soul gem was the biggest secret in her mind. I guess this is also the reason why you don't stay. You think if I collect all 6 gems, it will bring disaster to the universe, right? Qin Xiao continued to speak slowly. Gamera's face was a little pale at this moment. No matter who you are, when you think that the secrets or trump cards that only you know are not worth mentioning in the eyes of others, you will fall into a state of self-doubt. But Qin Xiao still didn't care about her face and continued. I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. I have 3 of them, namely space, reality and power. There is a soul gem in this place. The remaining 2, time and mind, are on Earth. It can be said that they are all under my control. What? Gamera's face finally changed drastically at this moment. There are 6 Infinity Stones. Even her father Thanos has only got 1 Mind Stone in all these years, and he lost it in the last plan to invade the Earth. The Chitauri invasion of the Earth was defeated by you. Gamera obviously knew about this and asked directly. That's right, the Chitauri army is nothing. The key is your father. You see, I can come from anywhere in the universe at any time to do things for me. There is no safer place than this. As long as you contact me, I can come at any time, or take you to a safe enough place. I don't believe you. You are right. My father wants to collect 6 gems to destroy half of the creatures in the universe in order to achieve his ideal of cosmic balance. What about you? What are you doing? Unify the universe. I have no interest in unifying the universe, nor in sitting on a high throne, Qin Xiao said while calling Gamera to step into Vormer. I know you don't believe me, but time will always give you an answer. Besides, you can't stop me from doing something I want, right? Qin Xiao's words hit Gamera's heart. Apart from knowing the location of the soul gem, she has no other value to Qin Xiao. If Qin Xiao really has any evil plans, she has neither the value of helping him nor the power to stop him. Seeing Gamera silent, Qin Xiao continued to speak. You can't hide the location of the soul stone. Thanos will find you sooner or later. I won't tell him. If he knows about this, I will commit suicide in front of him. Gamera said stubbornly. Let's not talk about whether you have the opportunity to commit suicide in front of him. If he threatens you, for example, use your sister, Nebula. She is not my sister. Her biggest wish since she was a child is to kill me. Gamera shouted angrily at Qin Xiao. Your biggest wish is to not be a killer for Thanos and become real sisters, isn't it? Don't look at me like that. I said the Time Stone is on Earth, and we have someone who can fully control the Time Stone. She can see many future fragments, such as how your father got the Soul Stone. Vormer, under the mountain where the Soul Stone altar is hidden. Qin Xiao and Gamera stood opposite each other. Go up and take a look at this place where you will eventually die. The two walked all the way, and Qin Xiao simply told Gamera the fate that should have belonged to her. The reason why Qin Xiao knew so much was naturally attributed to the Ancient One who had the Time Stone. As for the Time Mutation Administration and the like, Qin Xiao did not plan to tell her too much for the time being. After all, Gamera and Thanos still had a father-daughter relationship, so as not to make some unfounded changes out of thin air. Gamera's face was pale. In fact, when she came here, she had already believed most of what Qin Xiao said. If there was really an envoy guarding the Soul Stone on the mountain as Qin Xiao said, and everyone was required to obtain it according to the regulations, according to Thanos's character, he would definitely pay all the price. In order to achieve the balance of the universe, Thanos could even sacrifice himself at any time, let alone an adopted daughter. What made Gamera a little difficult to accept was Thanos' love for her. According to Qin Xiao, only by sacrificing one of the people you love most can you get the Soul Stone. This love can be friendship, family affection, or love. But when it comes to Thanos, I'm afraid there is no one else. From childhood to adulthood, his attitude towards her and Nebula is completely different. At the beginning, it may be because she is more powerful. But later, Gamera gradually realized the fatherly love that Thanos had for her, but she didn't dare to believe it, and she didn't want to believe it, and she didn't want to show her father-daughter relationship with Thanos because of this fatherly love. Raised from childhood to adulthood, how could there be no feelings at all? But Thanos had no time to take care of it for his own great cause, and Gamera was struggling to suppress it, and didn't dare to have any feelings for this father who slaughtered her relatives and taught her to be a killer. After hearing her story, Gamera bit her lip and said nothing. Qin Xiao didn't rush her. He took out a chair and lay down directly next to her. He also took out a computer and watched the movie with gusto. Gamera took a deep look at Qin Xiao, then gritted her teeth and headed towards the top of the mountain. No matter what Qin Xiao said was true or false, she was here and she had to go up and take a look. Qin Xiao didn't have any intention of going up there. The key point was that there was no good way to get this gem now. He was just greedy when he went up there, so there was no need. For 3 whole hours, Qin Xiao had finished watching 2 movies before he saw Gamera coming down from the mountain in despair. Qin Xiao narrowed his eyes. I've said so much, but you're still half convinced. There's no reason to go to the top of the mountain for a walk, and now it's like this. What did you see on the top of the mountain? Qin Xiao took back his things, stood up and looked at Gamera and asked. Gamera still looked sluggish, and walked to Qin Xiao's side and stood there for 2 minutes, until Qin Xiao could no longer bear it any longer. Suddenly he looked up at Qin Xiao and said, I saw everything, everything, everything. As she spoke, Gamera spread out her right hand, and there was an orange gem lying in her palm. Fuck. This time it was Qin Xiao's turn to remain calm. What happened? He brought Gamera over to take a look. Was he really just taking a look? He didn't follow him up the mountain and took down the gems without paying attention? She didn't know what exactly Gamera saw. She was stunned for a long time and couldn't say a whole sentence. When Qin Xiao was anxious, flames spurted out from the soles of his feet and flew up to the top of the mountain with a roar. There was silence on the top of the mountain, without any energy fluctuations, and no red skull was seen. Huh? Where are the people? Qin Xiao walked around the top of the mountain and saw no sign of anyone. However, some traces of man-made slipping were found on the edge of the cliff. Flying down the cliff, I found the body of the red skull. I don't know if it was because of the sacrifice. The whole body had begun to fade away, and what was visible to the naked eye began to become illusory. If Qin Xiao had come a little later, he might only have a tattered grey robe left. The large altar on the ground, engraved with unknown runes, exuded a cold power, like an invisible monster, slowly swallowing up the red skull's body and soul. For the time being, Qin Xiao had not touched upon the realm of soul and spirit. He could only feel it briefly, and then soared away from here. It wasn't until she returned that Gamera slowly spoke. Those things I saw were all true, right? He pushed me from that place, got the soul stone, and threatened me with Nebula to bring him to Vormir. It's all the same as you said. Did you use some magic? Gamora became a little excited as she spoke, and showed strong murderous intent towards Qin Xiao. Well, Qin Xiao sighed. You should learn to face reality. I don't have the ability to let the soul gem cooperate with me in such a play. If all this is magic, then I won't tell you anything before and just let you watch it by yourself. In fact, I was also surprised that you went up and got the soul gem yourself. Qin Xiao spread his hands helplessly. He also knew that Gamera might not be able to accept it. From what Qin Xiao said, she could think that Qin Xiao had deceived her, but when the soul gem showed her, she believed it from the bottom of her heart. Now can you tell me what happened? Qin Xiao was silent for a while, gave Gamera some time to calm down and then asked. After I go up the mountain. Gamera explained what happened after going up. After she went up the mountain, sure enough, the guardian of the gems, the Red Skull, appeared and accurately said her father's name. You know, this name is somewhat vague in Gamera's memory. Later, the Red Skull told Gamera about the rules of obtaining the soul gem, exchanging soul for soul. If you want to get the soul gem, you have to bring someone you love, otherwise there is no other way. In response, Gamera simply told the Red Skull that she was just here to see her burial place and had no intention of taking the soul stone. Who knows, after hearing Gamera's words, Red Skull's expression changed drastically. It turns out that Red Skull has only 3 ways to leave this place. The first one is to guard this place as a gem guardian for 1,000 years, and then you can be free. This was the case with the previous guardian. The Red Skull was accidentally selected because of this, and was eventually teleported here by the Space Stone. The second is that someone violently takes it away, which is almost impossible to solve. The third way is to meet someone who is destined to become a sacrificial gem. Red Skull can push her off the altar and replace himself as the new guardian of the gem. So when Gamera said those words, Red Skull's expression suddenly changed, and he became inexplicably excited. I don't know if it was because he had new authority after learning Gamera's identity. After that, the Red Skull showed Gamera his life. From birth to being pushed off the altar by Thanos, scenes appeared in Gamera's mind like a movie. The Red Skull took advantage of Gamera's immersion in it and attacked directly from behind, trying to push Gamera down. At that time, what appeared before Gamera's eyes was the moment when Thanos pushed him off the cliff. Hearing it from others was completely different from seeing it with his own eyes. The sense of substitution was too strong. Seeing herself falling, Gamera subconsciously took a step forward and shouted, "No." At this moment, he just managed to avoid the full force of the Red Skull's push. Instead of pushing Gamera, he pushed himself in. Of course, all this about the Red Skull was learned in the soul space after he fell off the cliff and Gamera accidentally obtained the gem. I saw myself in the soul state there, which was when I was a child. She told me the rules of the Soul Guardian. In another universe, I was pushed down by him and became one of the souls in the soul gem. Gamera said calmly. Have you met your own soul from another universe? Qin Xiao couldn't help but think of what he saw on the internet in his previous life, after Tony died after snapping his fingers. I saw my grown-up daughter in the so-called soul space. So it seems that the soul gem can not only communicate with the soul, but may also have an interoperable effect with all the soul gems in the universe. However, all this is Qin Xiao's guess. The specific details will not be known until he completely digests the 6 gems. However, this trip has indeed yielded a lot. The miserable Red Skull managed to sneak in on him without being able to attack him, but he took advantage of Qin Xiao and got the soul gem without any effort. Although they are not used yet, the 6 gems are already under control. When Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are born, Qin Xiao can directly absorb the Mind Stone. As for Vision, Qin Xiao himself has been thinking about Scarlet Witch for a long time, or Jiajia Weiss is relatively innocent and cute. Then there is Gamera. Gamera, who spent a long time digesting all this, although still a little wary of Qin Xiao, initially agreed to Qin Xiao's invitation to stay and help him control the entire Daifan group. I know that in your heart, you regard Nebula as a sister. If you have a chance, you can come to her. If Thanos finds you, I can protect you. Qin Xiao solemnly assured Gamera that after all, he had helped him get an infinite gem. Drax was still in jail on Shandar. Qin Xiao had no interest in this person. However, Star-Lord unexpectedly asked him to stay with Gamera. Qin Xiao could not say he disliked this joke, nor did he like it. After all, from the audience's perspective, Star-Lord's actions in Avengers 3 made everyone hate him. During this trip, he got 2 infinite gems. Ronan was searching for the gems all over the universe. Yondu's bounty for Star-Lord was still hanging on the internet. Qin Xiao decided to find a suitable place to end it all. An uninhabited planet around the void, a planet whose resources have been completely exhausted. The entire land has become desertified, and all kinds of resources and minerals underground have long been collected. All the people on the planet have moved away. Those who can develop the planet to this extent generally have the ability to immigrate to the stars. Looking at the bare planet with no weeds on the ground, Qin Xiao suddenly felt that from a certain perspective, Thanos' approach might be correct. Regardless of human rights and deprivation of life, at least from a long-term perspective, it is indeed beneficial to the universe, or to various living planets. It's just that the approach is a bit too radical. Doesn't he know that there is a method called family planning? Being uneducated is really scary? Qin Xiao shook his head, reached out and popped a cigarette butt directly at supersonic speed. Watching the cigarette holder rub against the air and catch fire, and eventually turned into a little spark and disappeared, Qin Xiao looked up at the sky in boredom. The news was released yesterday about the Power Stone and Star-Lord. Star-Lord's Milano was parked not far away from Qin Xiao to act as a bait, while Qin Xiao was sitting on the ground across a hillside, waiting for the enemy to take the bait. An awning of the same color as the ground was built above to avoid early exposure. After waiting for several hours, Ronan was nowhere to be seen, but Yondu's spaceship was greeted first. The huge mothership did not approach the atmosphere, but directly launched several small spaceships and led several teams of people to completely surround the Milano. This is also what most people in the universe do. First, the goal is less obvious and more flexible. The second is to provide insurance for ground operations, with fire support from the sky. However, Yondu's approach was obviously because he was afraid that Star-Lord would escape from under his nose. You know, Star-Lord's skills in piloting a spaceship are among the best in the universe. Come out, my dear boy, Peter, your evasion grieves me. Yondu led several teams of people of different shapes and colors to tightly surround the Milano, and Yondu's voice sounded outside the Milano. Star-Lord's anxious voice also came from Qin Xiao's earphones. Damn it, why did he come to my door? Qin, you have to help me get rid of them, otherwise I guarantee that I will become their meal when I go back. They wanted to eat me when I was a child. In their words, they have never tasted the taste of the Talon people. Talon is their name for the earth. As a Talon man you should teach them a lesson. Qin Xiao rolled his eyes helplessly. How big of a shadow was Star-Lord when he was a child? He still remembers this incident. If Yondu hadn't sacrificed himself to save him in the end, I'm afraid this white-eyed wolf would still think Yondu I've always wanted to eat him. He will not eat you. He has raised you since you were a child and has regarded you as his own son. Believe me, if you go out, Yondu will definitely not hurt you. Qin Xiao's careless words almost made Star-Lord jump up. In fact, he had jumped up and must have hit something. Ouch! Damn it! After a cry of pain and a curse, Star-Lord gritted his teeth and said fiercely, "Are you kidding me? I swear this is the funniest joke I've ever heard." He thinks of me as his son. If I hadn't been small and thin when I was a child, and could help them enter many places they couldn't enter and steal some valuable things, I would have been roasted by them long ago, and maybe half of it would have been pickled. Come here quickly. Qin Xiao remembers that when he watched the second part of Guardians of the Galaxy, especially when Yondu sacrificed his life and played the music at the end, Qin Xiao almost couldn't help but shed tears because of it. But now listening to the sound of Star-Lord jumping up and down, Qin Xiao decided to help the father and son. Okay, let me prove it to you and see how much Yondu really cares about you. What did you say? Before Star-Lord could react, Qin Xiao had already roared, dragging two tail flames under his feet and roaring towards the Milano, who, a very ugly-looking man of unknown race, was facing the direction Qin Xiao was coming. He shouted into the sky immediately, took out his weapon and fired several shots at Qin Xiao. It was also a coincidence that Qin Xiao also knew this person. He was the one who took the lead in betraying Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I thought I had reached the pinnacle of my life and gave myself the nickname Electric Killer, but the Rockets laughed at him for breaking his defense. Although he looks silly in the movie, as a warrior he still has the strength of a warrior. Almost as soon as Qin Xiao passed through the sky, he reacted and not only shouted to keep his teammates alert, and he fired continuously at the first time, hitting more than 10 bullets in advance, directly on the path that Qin Xiao must pass. Unfortunately, when he met Qin Xiao, he completely ignored the threat of these energy bullets and rushed straight over. If someone else hit him, Qin Xiao would just forget it. After all, it was no threat to him, but he had such a killer face. You know, in the movie, this guy tortured little Groot for a long time. Although in this universe, Groot has not become smaller, and the Groot brought back by Qin Xiao from the void has not met him at all. But Qin Xiao still had no intention of letting this bastard go. After hitting several energy bombs, Qin Xiao looked back. After discovering the target, he gave up the Milano and turned around in midair to come directly behind Killer Face. This time the speed was faster than Qin Xiao's just now. Almost everyone's eyes were dazzled. Qin Xiao had already turned back behind the guy in midair. Who are you? Yondu, who was the first to react, didn't take Qin Xiao seriously at first. Whether he could fly or ignore energy bullets, the universe is so big, and Yondu has seen many capable people. But when Qin Xiao turned back, Yondu became inexplicably nervous. Yondu's nerve reaction speed is much faster than that of ordinary people, otherwise he would not choose a weapon like the whistle arrow. After all, the launch speed of energy weapons is no joke. But when Qin Xiao made a move just now, Yondu didn't react at all. In other words, if Qin Xiao is willing, he can kill everyone here before his whistle arrow is launched. Who is he? Of course he came to find the idiot in that ship. It seems that our goal is the same. However, your man attacked me. The most important thing is that this guy is too ugly. When Qin Xiao spoke, Killer Face reacted and suddenly wanted to turn around. But just as he made this action, his whole face, or should I say, his whole head exploded like a watermelon. But what exploded inside was not watermelon pulp, but a ball of violent flames. This man is so ugly. This is the reason Qin Xiao gave for killing people. Yondu twitched the corner of his mouth. If it weren't for the speed that Qin Xiao showed just now, the whistle arrow that was about to move in midair would have flown out. We are predators, are you provoking the Predator Alliance? Seeing that the fight was definitely unwinnable, Yondu took out the banner of the Predators Alliance. Qin Xiao smiled slightly, and did not expose the fact that Yondu had been removed from the list of predators long ago. Instead, he shook his right hand, and a wormhole appeared out of thin air. He stretched out his hand to grab the star who was still waiting for Qin Xiao to rescue him in the Milano. Ju was caught out. Holding Star-Lord in his right hand, the Tangdao in his left hand came out of thin air and landed directly on Star-Lord's neck. Star-Lord didn't even understand what was going on. He had been grabbed out of the spaceship by Qin Xiao, and a knife was placed directly on his neck. You, shut up? Cooperate with me? Otherwise, I will give you to them and let them take you away. As soon as Xingju opened his mouth, he was interrupted by Qin Xiao whispering in his ear. Although I didn't see what happened outside just now, looking at Qin Xiao's approach, I just need to follow the train of thought and cooperate. So before Star-Lord could wait for Yondu to speak, he started acting on his own. Yondu, it's great to see you. You saw that I was caught by this guy. I definitely didn't avoid you on purpose. In fact, I wanted to find you as soon as I got the things. Who knew that this guy suddenly came out? Then I heard that you were offering a reward for me, and for God's sake, you didn't believe me. This is really sad. After speaking, Star-Lord shrugged to express his innocence. Yondu is also a person who has seen the world. Although he is extremely anxious inside, he still does not show any nervousness. He is a traitor to my team. I can give you his reward right now. If you are interested in taking anything from him, you can take it away, but he must be left to me to deal with. I will get what I need myself. I am not interested in your reward. I have a habit of never leaving a living person alive. I came for him today and it has nothing to do with you. I was the only one who shot at me. Kill him. Now, take the remaining people out of here. If you shoot again, I guarantee that everyone here will die. Qin Xiao waved the Tangdao in his left hand towards one of Yondu's landing ships in the distance. A huge fire dragon roared out, and the entire landing ship was directly melted, evaporated, and vaporized. If there was not some viscous magma-like liquid left in place, the landing ship would have never appeared. Yondu's little eyes narrowed even smaller, surpassing the speed of his nerve reaction, breaking through space, able to fly, and possessing unparalleled external energy. This person was not something their team could keep. Before Yondu could speak, someone around him had already made a choice. Boss, let's go. Anyway, the purpose of capturing Quill is to kill him. This man looks very difficult to deal with. We can't risk the entire team for Quill. Most of Yondu's men were just outsiders, otherwise most of them wouldn't have betrayed Yondu in the end. Hearing someone speak first, everyone around them agreed. They all looked at Yondu expectantly from a distance. Although he didn't speak, the meaning in his eyes could not be more obvious. Sacrifice a team for one person? They didn't want to do this deal. This approach is definitely the most correct choice for a team, abandoning the car to keep the coach, but it is a relationship that has been cultivated for decades. Yondu gritted his teeth and opened his mouth, but in the end he didn't speak. But there was a whistle in his mouth, and the whistle arrow in the air went straight to Qin Xiao's head. In the movie, it was for people to see it clearly, but when it came time to face it, the whistle arrow was really as fast as lightning. Qin Xiao panicked, and the whistle arrow was already pointed at his head. Before he came, there was a wave of pressure between his eyebrows. Qin Xiao's reaction was also extremely fast, and he drew out the knife instinctively with his left hand, the last strike coming first. Ding! A crisp sound startled Star-Lord. The whistle arrow was knocked away by a knife, but before it flew far, it circled in midair and came back again with Yondu's whistle. This time the speed is at least 30% faster than before. I don't know what the structure of this whistle arrow is. At such a fast speed, there is only a slight sound of breaking through the air. This time Yondu was smarter and seemed to be shooting towards the center of Qin Xiao's eyebrows. However, he turned around as he approached, and the whistle arrow drew an arc around Qin Xiao's body from a distance of more than 2 meters. He stabbed Qin Xiao in the back of the heart. Yondu has tricked many powerful men in the universe with this move, but this time he miscalculated. Qin Xiao didn't move at all. In fact, it wasn't that he miscalculated, it was that Qin Xiao had no intention of guarding against this. Since he wanted to repair the relationship between father and son, he couldn't continue the fight endlessly. He had to show Yondu his strength. Daring to sneak attack with whistle arrows shows that Yondu still has a glimmer of hope, and what Qin Xiao has to do is to completely destroy this little hope. The whistle arrow turned, and Yondu felt a chill when he saw that Qin Xiao didn't draw his sword. But another look showed that Qin Xiao had no intention of wielding the knife to defend his back, and his eyes couldn't help but heat up again. A fleeting attack, in Yondu's eager anticipation, seemed to be divided into frames of super slow motion. When the sentry arrow came within half a meter of Qin Xiao's heart, Yondu smiled. He knew that no matter how fast Qin Xiao was, he would not have time to defend himself. He is dead. The thought was good, but the reality was very skinny, and the smile on his face had not had time to fully bloom. The whistle arrow did not pass through Qin Xiao's body as Yondu imagined. Instead, it seemed to have encountered some obstacle, bounced directly, and fell to the ground feebly. There was no sound, just like a not-sharp sword stabbed lightly on the rear tire and bounced out. This question appeared in the minds of Yondu and all the predators present at the same time. Yondu's whistle arrows can pass through even large space battleships. So far, they don't know anything that can block the whistle arrows. What kind of close-fitting defensive clothing was this man wearing? This was everyone's first reaction, including Yondu. The unwilling whistle sounded again, and the whistle arrows once again launched lightning-like attacks towards Qin Xiao's neck, head, and body. Qin Xiao simply let go of his defense, carried Star-Lord aside, and let the whistle arrows jingle into his body. But not even a single red mark appeared on the skin. Yondu stubbornly controlled the whistle arrow and stabbed Qin Xiao hundreds of times before helplessly stopping. Even Star-Lord was stunned at this time. I'll give you one last chance. If you don't want to die, leave now. Qin Xiao glanced at the surrounding group of Yondu's men and looked at each other. Then almost at the same time, they turned around and ran towards the landing ship. Yondu was the only naked person left at the scene. It seems you don't want to leave yet, because of your dignity as a leader, and this guy is very important to you. Star-Lord wanted to say something, but Qin Xiao pulled him back with force, grabbed his throat, and blocked his words. This action looked very violent, and Star-Lord seemed to be really hurt. He frowned and groaned. At this moment, Yondu's defense was broken, and he involuntarily took a step forward. He also subconsciously raised a hand in the direction of Star-Lord, with a look of worry and love on his face. Oh, it seems that he is very important to you? Your partner? Qin Xiao asked knowingly, and Star-Lord seemed to have noticed something. His expression suddenly became quiet, and he looked straight at Yondu in the distance, his eyes filled with disbelief and a trace of doubt. My orientation is normal. Besides, as a partner, this guy is too ugly and not my style. Yondu suddenly gave up the attack, the whistle arrow returned to his waist, and began to speak calmly. Aha! Star-Lord, who had already calmed down, heard Yondu calling him ugly again and started to argue again, but his throat was pinched by Qin Xiao and he couldn't say a complete word. Shut up and listen to him, Qin Xiao said softly. This time, Yondu didn't say much. Instead, he took out a small wine bottle from his clothes and took a sip. He let out a breath of alcohol and continued. In fact, this guy is on a mission of mine. Someone asked me to bring him back from Earth. The rule of predators is not to touch children, but the money offered by the other party was too much, and I couldn't refuse, so I accepted this task. But when I found the child, I regretted it. I didn't allow myself to hand over the child. I knew what the bastard wanted to do. I didn't complete the task, and I don't know how to treat this child, especially in front of my men. They are all a bunch of out-and-out villains. I can only tell them that this child can go to some places that we can't enter, and it will bring us a lot of benefits. In fact, I did that, just like this, dragging it on day by day. I often scare him with my men, saying that I will eat him. Haha, Peter, a fool, really believes it. Time passed day by day, the child grew up slowly, and I also had an inexplicable feeling for the child I raised. It was very warm. I didn't know what it was, until one day, I was on a planet when I saw a father protecting his child. I realized that I had long regarded him as my own child. You went out this time and didn't plan to come back. My child is leaving me. Haha, Peter, you have grown up before you know it, but you shouldn't take away the cosmic spirit ball. How many do you know? Big shots are looking for this thing, and it will bring you trouble you can't imagine. I even offered a reward to find you, but damn, you were still found. As Yondu spoke, he found a big rock closer to the two of them and sat down. He took out his wine bottle and drank sips at a time, talking about the troubles and mischief Star-Lord had caused since he was a child. The memories are filled with the happy smile of the old father. Bada. Qin Xiao's hand clasping his throat became wet, and a tear fell from the corner of Xingju's eye. The scene in front of him was a bit touching, and the background music when Yondu died appeared in Qin Xiao's mind, the song Father and Son. However, if you are moved, you will be moved and do your best to the end. The story is good and touching. I can give you a chance. Didn't you say that you are his father? Well, kill yourself and I will let him go. Qin Xiao stared at Yondu's eyes and then continued. You can put away those little tricks behind your back. Don't expect to use anything to sneak up on me and save this kid. If so, both of you will be dead. I'm not kidding. As if to confirm his words, Qin Xiao's body emitted a faint blue light, and a protective shield with a diameter of more than 2 meters appeared in front of Qin Xiao. I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. 10, 9, 8. The appearance of the protective shield completely shattered the last illusion in Yondu's heart, but it didn't matter anymore. He just carried out a sneak attack, and then dragged Qin Xiao to give Xingju a chance to survive. But now that he's said that, it doesn't matter. I hope you can remember what you said, otherwise I will die. As Qin Xiao counted down, Yondu looked at Qin Xiao and said seriously, you talk too much, don't worry, I always mean what I say, but if you keep talking nonsense, I will change my mind. 3, 2. Halfway through Qin Xiao's words, Star-Lord rolled his eyes exaggeratedly. The collector was still locked in a small glass box. He had previously said that he would let others go, so he dared to keep his word. But soon Star-Lord's attention was attracted by Yondu. As Qin Xiao counted down the words word by word, Yondu sighed, the whistle sounded again, and the whistle arrow on his waist made a ripple in the air and pierced his master fiercely. No. At this moment, Star-Lord seemed to have forgotten that Qin Xiao was acting with him, pushed Qin Xiao away with all his strength, and flew toward Yondu desperately. Of course, this was also the reason why Qin Xiao let him go. But in Yondu's eyes, Qin Xiao was indeed keeping his promise, with a fatherly smile on his face, and smiled at Star-Lord from afar. Whoosh! The whistle arrow in midair accelerated suddenly and instantly reached Yondu's eyebrows. Yondu slowly closed his eyes. A wormhole suddenly appeared in front of Yondu, and a hand stretched out and firmly grasped the whistle arrow in the air. Yondu's whistle continued. The whistle arrow was held in Qin Xiao's hand, and its tail continued to struggle and tremble. Yondu seemed to feel something. When he opened his eyes, the whistle arrow had appeared in Qin Xiao's hand in the distance. Star-Lord, with tears streaming down his face, fiercely rushed toward Yondu like a running bear. Bang! The father and son, who had completely different skin colors, rolled into a ball on the ground, kicking up dust several meters high. It's a very heartwarming scene. Star-Lord's attack is so disgusting no matter how you look at it. Qin Xiao played with the whistle arrow and said disdainfully from a distance. After being betrayed by his men, but recognizing a son, Qin Xiao felt that Yondu had made a profit. Those men were not very reliable in the first place. After Star-Lord explained everything to Yondu, Yondu immediately chose to disband the team and follow them to the Celestial Skull. They have been following me for a long time. If they are willing to come with me, I will give them a home there. If they are not willing, the ship will be left to them. Will they become great plunderers or become space junk is up to them. Yondu sighed deeply. After all, he spent his whole life on a spaceship, and a sudden farewell would indeed be a bit sad. After being sad for a long time, Yondu finally turned on the communicator and started to contact the people on the ship. Although the group of men abandoned him just now, the men he left behind on the mothership were all men who were loyal to him. He wanted to give everyone an explanation. After connecting the communicator, a simple-looking man with a beard appeared on the screen. He was one of Yondu's most loyal men. Dave, all of you, come down here. What happened just now was a misunderstanding. I have something I want to talk to you about. Seeing that it was his own people who made the connection, Yondu became more confident. Those people just returned and did not control the spacecraft. Boss Yondu, it may not be very convenient for us to find you now. The man named Dave said with a somewhat embarrassed expression. Isn't it very convenient? What do you mean? Those bastards went back and took control of the spacecraft. I left enough people behind. What happened? Dave. An accident happened, and Yondu was a little embarrassed. He glanced at Qin Xiao who was gossiping next to him, and his face became even more ugly. We should be one galaxy away from you. Let's go, boss. We all know what happened below. You abandoned us all for Quill. Do we know what happened? Fart. The blue color on Yondu's face became more intense, and he opened his mouth to curse loudly. If any one of you falls into the hands of others, I will do the same. Even if you have betrayed us, they are still members of my team. I can only handle it. Is my way wrong? Or do you have doubts about me? Okay, boss, I've been following you for many years. I know your feelings for Quill. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just that it affected our entire team at the time. You can't give up everyone just for him. We will elect a new one. The leader came out to lead everyone. I'm sorry, boss, maybe time is good for you. You don't need us anymore, right? Dave said with some frustration. Then he seemed to remember something and continued. When we left just now, we saw a battleship heading in your direction. It should be Ronan the Accuser. Quill has caused a lot of trouble. As a friend, I will give you a suggestion, leave him alone. Go away quickly, Ronan is not an ordinary character. Bearded Dave said a few words and hurriedly hung up the phone. Damn it. Yondu crushed his communicator. It seems that you don't need to explain, they have already taken your spaceship. Qin Xiao watched the excitement and was not afraid of big trouble, fanning the flames and saying, shut up, think about how to deal with Ronan. What he wants is in your hands and has nothing to do with Peter or us. As Yondu spoke, he took Star-Lord and took a step back, acting as if it had nothing to do with him. Well, Yondu, I actually forgot to tell you just now. The main thing we are waiting for here is Ronan. The main reason for letting Qin hide aside is because he is afraid that Ronan will see him running away. Star-Lord told him about the last time Qin Xiao drove a small spaceship and directly beat away Ronan's fleet. This made Yondu directly doubt that Qin Xiao was from some superpower in the universe. With such strength, he could build a spaceship that could defeat a fleet alone. Yondu pulled Star-Lord beside him and talked about Qin Xiao's details in detail. Outside the atmosphere of the sky, the outline of Ronan's spaceship was already faintly visible. This time is different from last time. This time it is not a fleet, but a huge spaceship with two huge wings. The two large wings are full of slowly rotating metal bars. This is the spaceship that landed on Xandar during Ronan's final battle in Guardians of the Galaxy. This should be the most powerful space power in Ronan's hands. Ronan is here. According to the original plan, do you need to hide first? After all, you said you met in the communication last time. Seeing the spacecraft reaching its top, Star-Lord came over and said, that's not necessary. Qin Xiao waved his hand. Last time it was a spaceship, this time it was people, and before, we were afraid of hurting Star-Lord, but now there is a more powerful Yondu, and 3 people can land and fight. He stretched out his hand to open a wormhole outside the spacecraft, and directly melted a huge hole with flames. Afterwards, he took Star-Lord and Yondu, opened a wormhole above the cave, and entered Ronan's spaceship directly. Along the way, Qin Xiao opened the way with flames in front, Yondu used sentry arrows to clear the rear, and Star-Lord was between the two of them with 2 guns to hit the target. The 3 people swaggered straight to the bridge. Along the way, the Kree troops in the spacecraft swarmed out, but they couldn't even stop the 3 people's footsteps. On the bridge, Ronan stared at the screens in front of him, where his men were killed instantly at the first sight. There was a hint of panic in his eyes, but more of a desperate hysteria. Where is that planet C-53? Our data says it is a backward and barren planet. Damn it, is this kind of monster the specialty of that planet? The specialty is a monster, the key is to keep him running into it. Master Accuser, you'd better retreat first. This man's strength is too terrifying. Our army can't stop him at all. One of Ronan's men advised him. Retreat? We have nowhere to retreat. A trace of despair flashed in Ronan's eyes. The Kree Empire had drawn a clear line with him. In order to destroy Xandar, he had made a vow in front of the Mad Titan. If he couldn't get the Power Stone this time, he would have no way out. Can be withdrawn. Thanos' huge body hangs over Ronan's head like a huge shadow, and he will die if he fails to complete the mission. Send my order and ask them all to give up the attack. This kind of death is meaningless. Go back to Planet Kree. It is me they hate. The highest wisdom will definitely accept you. Ronan looked at the soldiers dying on the screen and said with some distress. Ronan is the purest kind of Kree, militaristic, and must destroy several major empires in the universe. The people who follow him are also such tough hawks. For the glory of the Kree, they not only do not if you take the lives of other races seriously, you don't take the lives of your own race seriously either. This subordinate next to Ronan, following Ronan for hundreds of years, saw this kind of despair and weakness in Ronan's eyes for the first time. Lord Accuser, we are warriors, warriors of the Kree. After hearing what his men said, Ronan slowly turned around, looked at him with admiration and said, I know that you are all the best warriors of the Kree people, but you must take people back. At this point, Ronan's voice suddenly rose in pitch, and his whole body instantly became extremely fierce. The idiots who now control the Kree Empire are greedy for ease and peace and have forgotten the glory of the Kree people. I can die here, but you must go back. You are the fire. If you don't want to see the Kree people forever, if this silence continues, go back and blend in with them, improve your status in the Empire, and keep our fire. One day, Ronan looked at the scenery outside the window, his voice became softer again, and he almost muttered to himself. One day, the glory of the Kree will illuminate the entire universe. This is an order, execute your order immediately. Ronan stood straight and raised his hammer in a Kree military salute. Yes, Lord Accuser. Ronan's men left, taking Ronan's will with them, as well as his armor and hammer. The Kree troops on the spacecraft fled the mothership in small landing pods. Qin Xiao didn't know whether this so-called fire could set off militarism in the Kree Empire in the future. Anyway, he only knew that Ronan had no chance. When Qin Xiao blasted open the metal door of the bridge with a fireball, he saw Ronan naked to the waist and holding a Star Destroyer-level energy cannon that should have been removed from the spaceship. The black muzzle was pointed directly at it. Qin Xiao and others were outside the door. Of course, the so-called star-destroying level does not mean that one cannon can directly destroy a planet, but it refers to a weapon that is enough to cause substantial damage to the planet. But for an individual, this is as powerful as a nuclear bomb on Earth. Bang! Without any nonsense, Ronan fired immediately. The energy gathered violently, like a small sun, and the brightness produced in that instant made Yongdu, including Qin Xiao, subconsciously cover their eyes. Although his eyes were blurred, Qin Xiao's body did not move at all. A light blue light appeared and turned into a defensive shield several meters in diameter, firmly protecting the three people inside. Almost as soon as the energy shield took shape, it met Qin Xiao's energy shield. Boom! The protective shield formed by the energy of the space gem cannot be broken by ordinary conventional force. After the collision, the protective shield did not move at all, but the energy cannon exploded. Even with the strength of the Ronin people, the Star Destroyer cannon could barely be controlled. When he fired this cannon, he was shaken by the recoil and slammed into the control console in front of the bridge. Ronan fired this shot with the determination to die. Unfortunately, at the moment of the explosion, Ronan still saw the light blue and the faint smile on the face of the human on planet C-53 behind it. The energy exploded and tore the entire spacecraft into pieces. The remaining aftermath roared in all directions with the wreckage of the spacecraft, making the entire sky truly cloudless. The light dissipated, and an oval light blue light flashed through the air. Qin Xiao withdrew the energy shield, grabbed Yondu and Star-Lord one by one, and slowly landed on the ground. They die together at every turn. It seems like we should take out a protective shield before fighting with others in the future. Qin Xiao smiled helplessly. Who knew Ronan could actually fire such a level of energy cannon in the spaceship? If Qin Xiao hadn't used the energy shield, he would have been blown away on the spot. He would have been seriously injured. As for Yondu and Star-Lord, they would definitely meet again in 18 years. Yondu also sighed. As a famous leader of the plunderers in the universe, he naturally knew what the name Ronan the Accuser represented. Such a heroic figure who had been in the universe for many years finally used his life to attack others humbly, and in the end, others were unharmed, but he died without even a corpse left. Make a grave for him, bury him with anything. He was a brave warrior, and he should have a name engraved on the tombstone after his death. Yeah. Qin Xiao pushed away Star-Lord, who was still chattering about how it was a pity to blow up such a large spaceship, and nodded to Yondu. A warrior must be treated like a warrior, no matter whether his starting point is evil or just. As long as you lie down on the battlefield, you should get some respect of your own. Especially after he used his life to complete the final attack. Qin Xiao was setting up a grave for Ronan with Yongdu Star-Lord here, but something big happened over there at the Daifan group. In terms of the god's skull, the big fist is the truth. This sentence can be used anywhere. Qin Xiao went straight to Huanglong and took down the Daifan group with lightning speed. The collector was locked into a tailor-made small transparent box by Tony and Rocket. Compared with the biological collections of previous collectors, the two of them were still humane. They used an oversized box, almost 20 square meters, which was equivalent to imprisoning him in a transparent room. Due to security concerns, all of his personal belongings were confiscated. But after all, they were not professional prison guards, so no one noticed that the collector activated an emergency communicator on his shoes in the middle of the night. Just when Qin Xiao was fighting Yongdu and the others, the first enemy summoned by the collector was welcomed here. General Deathblade, one of Thanos' Black Five. Before Qin Xiao left here, he not only picked up Groot and Natasha, but also picked up some Widow agents on the Earth to infiltrate and control the entire Celestial Head and Daifan group. Thousands of small and medium-sized spaceships come and go here every day at the God's Head. The Avengers have just taken control of this place, which has also led to a certain degree of loosening of external vigilance. When the Deathblade General landed in a giant donut, they thought it was a normal space traveler who came to play or trade. But Thanos' men are accustomed to following Thanos in his arrogance and fighting in the north and south. How can they land honestly? The donut entered the head directly and brutally, and hit a metal building. Boom. There was a loud bang, and the metal passages between various buildings had become the best resonance passages at this moment. The sound of impact echoed throughout the entire place. The one that was pretended to be destroyed was a bar on the outskirts. The guests were mainly some wandering gangs of thieves in the universe. It was a place with low consumption, but it was extremely mixed. Enemy attack. Everyone in the Avengers reacted very quickly, and everyone gathered together the moment the impact occurred. Natasha, Groot, Tony in full armor, and of course Thor and Gamora. Tony quickly turned on the projection on the table. He had been occupying this place for a few days and he had complete control over the surveillance of this place. When he saw the shape of the spaceship, Tony was stunned for a moment. Did we get hit by a donut? Tony looked at everyone, but no one took it seriously. They had seen the so-called accusers and the power of the super empire before coming to the universe. To them, it was just that. Only Gamera's expression changed drastically after seeing the spaceship. Damn it, why did it come so fast? This is his spaceship and his people are here. Who? Space police. Natasha also made a joke with a relaxed look. Thanos, Mad Titan, these are my father's men. He sent people here. If it doesn't work, inform Qin immediately that this place is no longer safe. Gamera said as she prepared to turn on the communicator on the table to contact Star-Lord's spaceship. Relax, you are safe with us here, although I don't know how terrible your father is, but this is just a subordinate, isn't it? A hammer appeared in front of Gamera, and it was Thor who stopped him. Although the appearance of Qin Xiao has made the trajectory of the reunion completely different from the original. Qin Xiao also exists as a spiritual leader with top combat power, but this group of people has their own pride, and it is impossible for someone to just give up to him by just a subordinate. Qin Xiao takes action. He is General Deathblade, one of the 5 generals under Thanos. When he comes, Thanos will not be too far away. We must notify Qin Xiao. Gamera pointed at the strange-looking man stepping off the spaceship in the projection, holding a 2-edged spear in his hand and said. This time it was an armored hand that stopped her. We said we will protect you, you just need to stand behind us. But, that's... Gamera wanted to say something more, but was gently pulled aside by Black Widow. Believe us, and Thanos hasn't come yet. Even if he comes, Qin Xiao can come back in an instant, right? Gamera closed her mouth now, but there was still a little worry in her eyes, which showed how much pressure Thanos had in her heart. Come on. Let's go greet our guests, even though they look a little ugly. After the internal problems were solved, Tony said something, took the lead, and walked towards the direction of General Deathblade in his armor. Thanos' reputation is indeed well known in the universe. General Deathblade brought 4 or 5 of his men, and just ran into it, crushing more than 10 people to death, and just swaggering around in the universe and became famous in the 301 zone. It actually felt like a bandit had entered the city. All the people on the usually bustling streets disappeared in an instant. They all hid in buildings or nooks and crannies to avoid provoking these notorious killers in the universe. I'm sorry, you scared our guests. If they are here for consumption, you should compensate us for our losses first. Hey, the few people around you look familiar. Are they your bodyguards or pets? Tony took the lead and pointed at the dead Blade generals who were walking in his direction from a distance. The Death Blade general was followed by several Chidori soldiers, the same as when Loki attacked Earth last time. Huh? You captured the collector? Hand him over. I have something to ask him. The dead Blade general stopped, completely ignored Tony's question, and said with a haughty expression. In their view, the entire universe is like ants. As Thanos subordinates, they don't need to give anyone a good look, no matter what powerful person or super empire the other party is. If it were anyone else, they might have been so humble, but they met the Avengers and Tony. Is he asking me a question? He broke into our place, ignored my question, and instead asked me directly in a commanding tone? Are everyone in the universe so rude? Tony looked around, then lowered his head and asked Rocket. Rocket glanced at General Deathblade, then turned to look at Groot beside him. I don't know about this. I'm just curious. This guy's job must be very difficult. Look at his skin. It's actually rougher than Groot. Groot is a tree man. Look at his skin. His face looks like the bark of a tree has rotted. Hey, how long has it been since you washed your face? I also noticed it, you know? There is something called a facial mask on our planet, but he probably needs to use a lot of it on his face. Tony continued Rocket's words, and the two of them directly teased General Deathblade's face with each other. Since you ignore my question, I'll just ignore you too. You are looking for death. Do you know? Gamera, why are you here? Did you betray Lord Thanos? Halfway through his words, General Deathblade spotted Gamera behind the crowd. Seeing this, Gamera could only step forward in 2 steps and said to General Deathblade. It's not betrayal. He is not my father at all. He just wants to use me and train me to be a killer. Go back and tell him that I will not listen to him anymore and I want to live my own life. Gamera said loudly to General Deathblade. What responded to her was the spear thrown out by General Deathblade with all his strength. Since you betrayed my lord, you must die. Accompanying the words was the sharp sound of a war spear breaking through the air. Dang. What stands in front of the war spear is Thor's hammer. Sneak attack on a girl is not something a soldier should do. The god of thunder, who raised his hammer and smashed the spear away, said calmly. You're right, Thor, but sneak attacks on ugly monsters are fine. Tony took Thor's words and immediately put his hands together. White light surged from his palms, and the 2 energy cannons merged into one and roared towards General Deathblade. Thanos generals would definitely not be knocked down so easily. General Deathblade dodged Tony's attack in a flash. But what followed was a lightning bolt as thick as an arm. The battle started with Tony's first shot. General Deathblade only brought 4 Chidori soldiers in total. On the other hand, here, there are fully armed Iron Man, Thor, Black Widow, and half of the Guardians of the Galaxy, plus a little Groot who has the strength of the early Thor. The group of people swarmed forward and subdued the Deathblade general in a few simple blows. As for several Chidori soldiers, they were electrocuted into charcoal as early as the first wave of lightning. You are dead. Lord Thanos will not let you go. Gamera, you stupid woman. Lord Thanos is your father. General Deathblade was pressed directly on the chest by Thor with his hammer, unable to move, but he opened his mouth and kept talking. Shut your stinky mouth, or I will shoot your ugly face into. It seems difficult to make it even uglier and turn it into ashes. That's right, shut up, you ugly face. Rocket fiercely put the gun directly into the dead Blade General's mouth, blocking his endless words. Why should we keep this guy? We should just blow his head to pieces with one shot. If we let him go, he will attack us with him. Why should I let an enemy go? Rocket loaded the gun in his hand and said to everyone. I have no opinion. Tony's palm was also aimed at General Deathblade's head. Wait a minute, you can't kill him. Gamera stood up again. Why? He just wanted to kill you. This is a die-hard fan of Thanos. He won't give up and become our enemy just because of this. Tony said, looking at Gamera. He was my fighting teacher for a while when I was a kid. Gamera sighed and said with some reluctance. Although Thanos's men were all fanatics and could not talk to each other at all, after all they had been together day and night for so many years, Gamera couldn't bear to kill him directly. After listening to Gamera's words, Tony put down his hands, while Rocket turned to everyone in confusion. You don't really want to let this person go just because you think this is the case. This is our enemy. A dead enemy is the best enemy, right? Natasha reached over and held down Rocket's gun. You are right, but we are not killers. Let him go. After speaking, he said to the dead Blade General who was still unable to move on the ground, go back and tell your master that Gamera is here with us. No one can force her to do something she doesn't want to do. Of course, you broke our things. Your spaceship will stay, and we will give you a new spaceship to return to. That's pretty much it. Rocket cursed and took back his gun. Leave it to me. I will be in charge of all the spaceships here. This is what Qin promised me, isn't it? Finally, General Deathblade boarded a pitiful little one-person lifeboat. How can I call this spaceship? The small coin-operated spacecraft that sings children's songs at the entrance of the roadside supermarket is a little bigger and limited. It is difficult for the dead Blade General to sit in it, not to mention turning around and raising his head. Thanos's men have never been treated like this before, but when people are under the roof, they have to bow their heads. Thor's hammer and Tony's armor are no joke. Everyone in the Avengers knew that if they wanted to gain a foothold here, they had to compete with Thanos behind General Deathblade, but none of them expected that Thanos would arrive so quickly. In the original plot of the movie, the Guardians of the Galaxy did not sell the Power Stone to a collector, but gave it to the Nova Corps for safekeeping. The one the collector finally held was the Reality Stone sent by Asgard after destroying the Dark Elves. The reason is that two Infinity Stones cannot be placed together. In fact, according to Chinese cultural understanding, it is this kind of thing. One pill is fine, but two pills will not suppress Asgard's luck. Something will definitely happen. Who knows that in the end Asgard won't even be able to hold on to one. Just because of the space jam, the people of Asgard who managed to survive Ragnarok were intercepted and directly massacred by Thanos in space. Half done. Including the little public servant Loki and Asgard's gatekeeper Heimdall. But what everyone in the Avengers didn't know was that long before Thanos collected the Infinity Stones, he had threatened the collector. If someone came to sell the Infinity Stones to him, Thanos could pay double the price to recycle them, and promised Thanos power, lifetime protection for collectors. But in the end, the collector couldn't bear the temptation of the infinite gems, or he himself had the ambition to use the gems to unify the universe. In short, he was killed by Thanos to seize the treasure. But it is a fact that he has a connection with Thanos, and the emergency communicator hidden in his shoe is exactly what Thanos left for him. So after the Deathblade General was defeated and returned, the Chitauri army and the Mind Stone scepter were already damaged on Earth. This time, he also caught up with his most beloved daughter. After new and old hatreds, Thanos Temple 3 had already invaded the territory 2 hours after General Deathblade left. The huge Temple No. 3 spacecraft was condescendingly pressing on the top of the skull of the god. At this time, Qin Xiao and Yondo were still carving a tombstone for Ronan. Thanos's attack was indeed different. The army was really pressing down on the situation. Temple No. 3, which was even larger than the head of the god, stopped blackly in the direction of the head of the skull. There was no direct attack or communication, but a video was sent showing Thanos sitting on his high throne, with several men of different races and sizes standing underneath. The one closest to the screen is Ebony Maw, Gamera, and the rest. No matter who you are, Lord Thanos is here. I will give you 15 minutes to send the collector and everyone involved in this matter. Everyone kneels before Lord Thanos to plead guilty, otherwise, the scene ends abruptly here. This video was simultaneously transmitted to all communication equipment within the entire range. Within a minute of sending the video, dozens of spaceships roared into the sky from the skull of the god. However, these spaceships had just taken off when they were intercepted by the 3 people in the temple. The number was locked directly, and it was shot down with a few energy cannons. With these lessons learned, no one in the future dared to venture out of here again. As if to prevent someone from escaping secretly, more than a dozen donut-like battleships poured out of Temple 3, surrounding the entire skull from all directions. What should I do? I can't contact Qin. They seem to have blocked external communications here. Natasha said as she looked at the failed contact that appeared several times on the screen. It is indeed blocked. I tried to contact Xandar and the Earth just now, but the result was the same. We have to rely on ourselves. Tony also held a communicator in his hand. It seemed that he also tried to contact the outside world, but it seemed to have failed. If Thanos is really as scary as the outside world says, I mean if, we can definitely rush out in your spaceship. There is the best pilot in the universe here. Rocket pointed at himself. The spaceship he was talking about was the right ship they built from the Earth. I have been coveting that spaceship and rocket for a long time. If I really want to fly it, I can't say it will be head-on with the Temple 3. That's the final plan. We can't just give up on this place. Besides, if we really want to fight, it's not certain who needs to escape. Thor sat lazily on the sofa, stretched out his right hand, and Thor's hammer came through the air, landed on his palm, and said coldly, Temple number 3, in the bridge. Thanos' huge body sat on the throne without saying a word, while a few fingers kept tapping lightly on the armrests. Ebony Maw and others were still standing under the throne on the left and right. Except for Ebony Maw, the others did not even change their positions. There are only the last 2 minutes left. Sir, let me go for you. I will definitely bring back both Gamera and the Collector. Thanos still didn't speak, but nodded slightly and pointed at Nebula. As you command, my lord. Ebony Throat completely understood what Thanos meant and asked him to take Nebula with him. However, the time was not up yet. Thanos always spoke the truth, so Ebony Throat stood back to his position and waited for these 2 minutes. Passed. The entire bridge fell into silence again. There was only the sound of Thanos' fingers tapping the armrest. Just as everyone was listening to this voice and silently counting the passage of time in their hearts, the huge screen opposite the throne lit up. This is a communication request from Gamera. This traitor, she still has the nerve to send communications. Ignore her, let me kill her and bring back what you need, father. Star-Lord took a step towards the middle, knelt down on one knee and said. Thanos lowered his head and looked at Nebula. Just one look made Nebula, who was kneeling on the ground with his head lowered, tremble slightly. She is your sister, remember that. Get on the comm and see what my daughter wants to say to me. Thanos' voice came, and the murderous look in Nebula's eyes flashed. He had no choice but to stand up and connect the communication. The screen was connected, and what appeared on the screen was Gamera's half-body. Next to her, there was a transparent box, which contained the Collector. The Collector looked at Thanos in the video with a look of joy on his face. It's a pity that Thanos didn't look at him from beginning to end, but looked at Gamera next to him. My daughter has grown up and wants to leave her father's side. Then you should first hand over the person beside her to me. Thanos' completely different attitude towards Gamera made Nebula on the side once again have a hint of resentment in her eyes. This guy has no value to you. The Power Stone is not in his hand. If you want to get the Power Stone, come down and get it yourself. Come alone. When Gamera actually faced Thanos, she relaxed. But everything she saw on Vormir made her feelings for Thanos more complicated. Now that it was confirmed that this father loved her, the ending was indeed directly sacrificed to the Soul Gem, which gave Gamera an unspeakable feeling in her heart. My daughter wants to see me, and I won't refuse. Thanos smiled and turned off the communicator. Ebony Throat took a step forward to dissuade Thanos. Your daughter is stalling for time. Sir, they are not qualified to let you go down in person. Let me go and I will definitely bring the gem back to you. No. Thanos waved his hand, stood up from the throne, reached out and casually took the sky blade of the dead beside him and made a sword dance. Ebony Throat wanted to say something more, but was forced back by Thanos' eyes. Then we will wait here for your triumphant return. On the Avengers side, during the phone call just now, the Collector listened clearly to the conversation between Thanos and Gamera. He knew that he had lost his last value. At this moment, he was lying in the box gesticulating wildly. Unfortunately, this kind of box is unilaterally mute, and no one cares about what he wants to say. After making an appointment with Thanos, a battle was inevitable. Everyone looked at each other, sorted out their equipment, and then walked out of the Collector's building in a mighty manner. After walking through 2 streets, we arrived at a square. Thanos had been waiting for everyone here for a while. The place here is larger, and there are less restrictions in fighting. I know my daughter. You won't give the gem to me so easily, right? Thanos looked at Gamera, with that faint smile still on his face. The power gem has been handed over to someone else. You should give up. Why must you implement your plan? Isn't it good to do this now? Gamera still couldn't help but said. It seems that you have met a lot of new friends, the Earthlings, the Avengers, a group of people who think they are heroes on the indigenous small planet. I still have something left on the Earth. I will go to your small planet in person and give myself get the things back. It seems that you don't understand your situation, Mr. Dazishu. If you want to visit Earth as a guest, you must first solve the trouble in front of you. Look, you seem to be surrounded by us. Tony pointed behind Thanos. Thor, Groot, and Rocket stood in a row, blocking the road behind Thanos. In front are Tony, Natasha, Gamera and Little Groot. It's annoying to have a bunch of bugs flying around you, but it's definitely not a problem. Thanos smiled proudly, obviously not taking this group of people seriously. Boom. As soon as Thanos finished speaking, an energy cannon came from behind, but Thanos turned around and blocked it in front of his chest with the blade of the dead. Before the explanation of the situation was finished, the Rocket suddenly launched an attack. You talk so much nonsense, I'm not a hero. With a cheer in his mouth, Rocket started shooting continuously at Thanos. One person takes action, and everyone is dispatched. Although everyone is not convinced, Thanos' name is so loud that everyone can't help but act cautiously. Rocket's firearms are almost like tickling for Thanos. After receiving a few hits with the Blade of the Dead, Thanos no longer cares about Rocket's energy bombs, but directly rotates the weapon, blocking the following from Thor. Hammer's lightning attack. The Avengers had a tacit understanding of cooperation. As soon as Thor activated, Tony on the opposite side quickly closed the distance. The two palm cannons merged into one, and a white light as thick as an arm shot towards Thanos. Thanos glanced back, reached out, and pushed, and the sky blade of the dead swirled and flew towards the god of thunder while suppressing the lightning. This angle was quite tricky, not only blocking lightning and thunder god, but also blocking Groot, who was about to rush towards this side. Then he turned and dodged to avoid Tony's palm cannon, leaped high and jumped towards Tony and his group. Before the energy in Tony's palm was cancelled, Thanos was already attacking him with his bare hands. Gamora and Black Widow were on the left and right. Gamora flicked the hilt of her sword and held a long sword containing nanotechnology in her hand. Black Widow took out two short swords wrapped with red energy. Stick rushed over. The two of them stood on the left and right, trying to block Thanos' attack on Tony. Among the people present, the two people and Rocket had the lowest combat power. How could Thanos be easily entangled by these two people? Her purple palm-sized hands were not afraid of the weapons of the two people, and they punched out head-on, directly knocking them out. The man flew several meters away. Only then did Tony retract his hands. The reactor on his chest lit up, and an energy cannon was still brewing when Thanos grabbed the armor's neck. You think this thing can protect you? Thanos felt the strength of the armor and let out a contemptuous laugh. Maybe, it's better than not wearing anything at all. Tony's voice rang in the helmet, and at the same time, the energy in his chest finally gathered, and a dazzling white light flashed out of his chest. The distance was too close, and Thanos was caught off guard and had no way to avoid it. He let go of his hand and was knocked back several meters by the white light. Before his feet could stand firm, little Groot's hands turned into two long vines, wrapping around Thanos' feet. From the ankle directly to the calf, it is like a rapidly growing ivy, wrapping around it in circles. Thanos glanced at little Groot in surprise, and with a slight push of his legs, several vines outside began to make a snapping sound. It looks like it won't take much effort for Thanos to break free. Little Groot groaned, and the power of the god of thunder in his body was mobilized. Two electric snakes crackled along the vines and jumped towards Thanos. Hey! Although Thanos' skin defense is incredibly powerful, it is still not completely immune to this kind of lightning attack. The two unexpected lightnings directly made Thanos' feet unable to exert any force, and he was unable to break free from the vines. Time cannot keep its balance. Falling to the ground with a crash. Naturally, everyone would not let go of such a good opportunity. The vines on Groot's hands over there followed closely behind. Two vines that were several times thicker than the little guy directly covered two of Thanos' arms and part of them. Chest. The numbness in his feet was still there, so he raised his upper body off the ground and pulled the vine up. The two Groots increased their power in unison, trying to delay Thanos for as long as possible. Then there was a huge lightning summoned by Thor, which hit Thanos' chest directly from midair. Groot screamed and quickly withdrew the vine before the lightning fell. He is not that little guy. He has the power of the god of thunder in his body and is not afraid of lightning at all. As soon as the vines were released, Thanos was hit by Thor's lightning just as he was about to stand up. Thanos only had time to raise his hands to share the damage caused by the lightning. After the lightning, the almost seamless vines of Big Groot were entangled again, and Thor jumped high, aimed directly at Thanos' head with Thor's hammer and smashed it down. It's a pity that Thanos' body is too abnormal. The attack just made him a little numb and did not cause any substantial damage. Before Groot's vines were completely wrapped around him, Thanos roared angrily, sat up, and rolled to the side, avoiding Thor's blow. Not only did he dodge his blow, he also swept his arm across the direction, sending Thor, who had just landed and was still kneeling on one knee with his hammer on the ground, straight into the metal building next to him. There was a loud crash for a long time, and I don't know how many things were smashed. His left hand tore open the vines on little Groot's feet. He clenched his right hand forward and directly grabbed the ankle of Tony, who flew to his side and wanted to punch him. With a slight exertion, Tony flew out sideways, blocking Gamora and Natasha, who had just stood up and wanted to come over. He stood up and glanced behind him, ignoring Rocket, who was still changing his position and firing cold shots. He casually caught Groot's punch towards him, pushed hard with his foot, and kicked down. Groot's arm said goodbye to his body, and his body without an arm went straight towards the rocket. Avengers, no wonder that idiot Loki lost to you on Earth. You are indeed a little more interesting than I thought, but unfortunately, it's just the difference between a little bug and a big bug. Thanos took back his Blade of the Dead, turned it around in his hand, and walked away towards everyone while saying, looking at Thanos' expression, Gamora's heart tightened. She knew that Thanos was about to get serious. Insects? Asgard only has gods, not insects. Thor's words came out from the ruins on the side. What came out faster than the words came was Asgard's artifact, Thor's hammer. The hammer was surrounded by lightning and flew towards Thanos. Thanos picked up the Blade of the Dead and knocked it lightly, and Thor's hammer flew away in response. Following closely was Thor's fist. Thanos stood still and took Thor's punch with his chest raised. He grabbed Thor's neck with his big left hand. God? Your father is somewhat like a god, but you are far behind. Dang. As he spoke, Thanos suddenly turned around and struck out with a knife. It turned out that Thor was being choked, but his hand kept summoning his hammer. He originally thought he could hit Thanos from behind, but before he could, Thanos turned around and chopped him open again. Thor used almost all his strength. The muscles in his hands were bulging high, and the veins were exposed. He almost used up the last breath in his chest to roar. He used both hands at the same time, but he couldn't even move Thanos's fingers. The gap is really too big. Seeing that Thor was in trouble, Rocket, Big Groot, and Tony's attacks came almost at the same time. Big Groot's body spread exaggeratedly, and a vine as thick as an adult male's thigh snaked out and wrapped around Thanos. The little guy still had 2 vines spreading towards Thanos' feet. Of course, in addition to the 2 of them, there are also the energy bombs that are constantly being swallowed from the rocket gun, plus a laser cannon with full force on Tony's chest. Several people attacked at the same time, and Thanos could only throw Thor far away with one hand. He held the blade in both hands, and the 2 blades almost turned into propellers, surrounding his huge body in a circle. Not to mention blocking all the attacks, the sharp blade directly tore into pieces the 3 vines that came up and down almost at the same time. With one blow, he neutralized all the attacks from everyone, but he himself was still unscathed and walked toward Gamera and Natasha with his blade in one hand. Gamera's physique is much stronger than that of ordinary people, and Thanos is still merciful to her. Even so, her body's energy and blood are now rising, and her hands and feet are still a little numb. Natasha felt even more uncomfortable. She covered her chest with one hand and Gamera was supporting her. She was obviously seriously injured. The 2 of them stood holding each other's hands, and Thanos had already jumped up high and slashed at the 2 of them with a knife. Sometimes, you will never know how terrifying your opponent is until you face them head-on. Thanos' sword gave the 2 of them the intuitive feeling that it was like a big mountain smashed over their heads. Not to mention the injuries on their bodies, even if they were completely undamaged, the 2 of them couldn't stop it. This knife carried unparalleled power. Before the knife came, the surrounding air had been slashed back, and there was almost a vacuum between the 2 of them and Thanos. The blade went straight to the top of Natasha's head. This blow was a solid blow. Natasha was definitely dead. Even Gamera, who was standing next to her, would only be seriously injured by the aftermath of the powerful attack. Far away from them, the 2 Groots had just retracted the remaining vines, and Thor was once again thrown and smashed into a metal building. At this moment, it was not clear whether he was awake or knocked unconscious. Only Tony was present, activated his suit and flew towards this direction quickly, but it looked like he would definitely be unable to make it in time. At the critical moment, Natasha's desperate eyes suddenly lit up, because a dark blue light spot appeared out of thin air in front of her eyes. The energy of this color was too familiar to Natasha. It was this energy that Qin Xiao activated the space gem. The blue-black energy slowly expanded and turned into a wormhole more than 2 meters high. Before anyone could come out, a small and long tang knife stretched out from it. The tang dao is not big. Compared with Thanos' weapons, it is like the difference between a big truck and a small motorcycle. However, it is such a weapon that looks like it will break at the touch. It stretches out from the wormhole and blocks Thanos' attack. A powerful and heavy sword. Dang! The 2 weapons intersected with a crisp sound, and 2 huge forces struck each other. From the middle of the fight between the 2, a violent shock wave emerged out of thin air and swept out in all directions. It smashed the metal buildings on both sides to pieces. Even Tony, who was flying towards this side, was hit by the impact in midair and crashed into the buildings on both sides. In addition to the 2 fighting men present, there were also Gamera and Natasha who were blocked by the wormhole from the shock wave. The others all fell to the ground. An arm stretched out from the wormhole, and after the 2 weapons intersected, it suddenly retracted, as if it was defeated by Thanos. In fact, after Qin Xiao came back, he discovered that there was something wrong here. He hurriedly opened the portal and took action, with one hand against both hands. Even if he blocked it, he was slashed dozens of meters away by the knife. The portal closed, then opened again, and Qin Xiao stepped out of the wormhole with a knife in one hand. As soon as Qin Xiao came out, Thanos showed a rare look of caution on his face. As the 2 parties fighting each other, he knew very well how much water there was just now. He fell from a high altitude, and his weapon was still heavy. Qin Xiao on the other side of the portal raised a small weapon with one hand. The only possibility was to take advantage. Just standing with both legs on the ground has an extra point of support, but the strength is definitely not used much. As soon as Qin Xiao came out, he did not rush to attack Thanos, but walked up to Natasha. Seeing that she was obviously hurt, he said with regret, "Be obedient and sit aside and watch me avenge you. Be careful," Natasha said with concern. Gamera, on the other hand, glanced at Thanos with complicated eyes, then at Qin Xiao, and finally gave Qin Xiao a cautious look, and silently helped Natasha to the side. "The Avengers are a little more interesting than I thought. You are indeed qualified to be mine." Thanos just stood there, watching Qin Xiao and Natasha finish speaking. After Qin Xiao turned around, he spoke to Qin Xiao, who knew that only halfway through his words, Qin Xiao actually said nothing. When he looked up, a fierce flame swept over him. Thanos' next words were directly interrupted by flames. They were born out of the power of the Asgardian Vulcan, but the core was the eternal fire. The tens of thousands of degrees of heat made Thanos' face suddenly change. The heavenly blade of the dead turned again, forcibly scattering the flames. But what followed immediately was Qin Xiao's angry blow. Holding the knife in both hands, Qin Xiao jumped up high with his legs off the ground, and slashed diagonally from Thanos' shoulder from top to bottom. Thanos' move just now was from top to bottom, and Qin Xiao's move was also from top to bottom. As for Thanos, the flame that had just dispelled Qin Xiao was now hastily fighting. It was exactly the same as the first time the two of them fought, except that the roles of the two people were changed one by one. A crisp sound of clang rang again. Compared with Qin Xiao's flying more than 10 meters just now, Thanos only took 2 steps back. Qin Xiao didn't care. While Thanos was not standing firmly, he rushed forward in 2 steps and chopped down again. Thanos raised his sword to meet him again, but this time Qin Xiao just made a feint. When the sword was about to chop, Qin Xiao pushed his palm and the Tang sword suddenly fell down. Qin Xiao took the Tang sword with his left hand, and the Tang sword crossed a strange angle and slashed directly towards Thanos' stomach. As a result, Thanos' right hand shook, and the blade of the dead sky blade suddenly turned half a circle, from horizontal to vertical, just blocking Qin Xiao's attack. However, Qin Xiao had taken the initiative, so how could he return empty-handed? The Tang sword in his left hand was blocked, but he clenched his right fist again, rubbing the blade of the sky blade of the dead and punching Thanos hard in the stomach. Boom! Although Qin Xiao had been strengthened by the Infinity Stones one after another, he was quite confident in his strength. But after all, he was facing Thanos, so Qin Xiao naturally did not hold back. A punch was thrown out, just like a small missile exploding. There was an explosion directly on Thanos' stomach, and then Thanos was directly blown away by this punch 40 or 50 meters. Although Thanos was knocked out so far with one punch, Qin Xiao still shook his head slightly. When he shook his head and touched Thanos, Qin Xiao found that it was like a punch on old cowhide, and there were several layers of air cushion structure inside. In short, Qin Xiao felt that from the moment of contact, the force of this punch was reduced layer by layer, and finally the remaining force was directly applied to Thanos. Incredible defense, or shock absorption ability. If it is harder, it can be comparable to vibranium. Okay, I can only say that Thanos is indeed worthy of his reputation. In his heart, he was very sure of Thanos' strength, but on the surface, after Qin Xiao punched the purple potato spirit away, he put on a posture of a hermit. Crazy Titan, you are indeed more powerful than I thought. Now you are qualified to be my enemy. He directly returned the words that Thanos had not finished saying just now to the other party. The Avengers were naturally not too surprised to punch Thanos away. In their hearts, Qin Xiao had basically never lost. But in the eyes of many people who were secretly watching from a distance, and Thanos' men on Temple 3, it was like a thunderbolt directly struck their minds. Thanos' great reputation in the universe comes from his undefeated myth. It's not that he is undefeated, but that there are basically almost no people who can stop him. But the man in front of him not only blocked Thanos' sword at the beginning, but also knocked Thanos away in a few moves. A group of people from all walks of life in the universe hid in various buildings and sighed at Qin Xiao's strength. On Qin Xiao's side, after a preliminary test with Thanos, Qin Xiao immediately opened fire. Thanos was knocked away by a move, and before Qin Xiao could finish his unfinished words, he felt a little angry, but before he could get up, he suddenly felt a sense of danger from behind. Almost subconsciously, Thanos picked up the sky blade of the dead next to him and blocked it behind him. Dang! There was another crisp sound. Blocked the stab of the Tang sword from behind. In front of him, Qin Xiao, who was still far away from him, was making a move to retract his weapon. In front of him, a small space wormhole was slowly closing. Qin Xiao had almost reached the extreme of the use of space gems. Thanos just realized that Qin Xiao broke through the space and hit him. Qin Xiao casually threw a flame, and a wormhole was opening in front of the flame. Thanos was so scared that he quickly turned back, and sure enough, a wormhole opened behind him, and the flame surged. Fortunately, he had just recovered a little strength, and the sky blade of the dead was raised again, slashing the flames around. A wormhole appeared in front of him again, and this time a fist came out of the wormhole. Thanos turned around hastily and dodged the punch. While the wormhole was not closed, he was about to stab through the wormhole, but he didn't know that energy surged again behind him, and there was another flame. This time Thanos failed to completely dodge. This seemingly small flame was very powerful when it exploded, and directly blew Thanos up more than 10 meters high. What followed was Qin Xiao's continuous attacks, fists, Tang swords, and flames. Facing such attacks that could come out from any angle at any time, Thanos could only defend as much as possible, and most of the time he could only use the huge sky blade of the dead to cooperate with the armored parts around him for defense. Although he was in a hurry and looked extremely embarrassed, he did not suffer much substantial damage. What was defeated was only his undefeated myth and the confidence of his men on Temple 3 in Thanos' invincibility. Under the bombardment of flames, Thanos flew high up. While he was still in the air, a wormhole appeared beside him. Thanos, who was in midair, picked up the blade of the dead with difficulty to block it. He did block Qin Xiaotang's sword, but failed to block his fist. Therefore, every time Thanos has no time to fall, he always has to accept Qin Xiao's series of blows in the air. Tang Dao's attack is okay, but the flame attack and fist, even if he can defend it, but the accompanying explosion and impact always throwing Thanos high again and again. The Mad Titan, who dominates the universe, fell out of favor when he was hit back and forth by Qin Xiao like he was playing badminton. Until all Thanos generals came out, Qin Xiao didn't want anything to happen to Tony and others, so he stopped Tony and others who were about to take action, and then Thanos got out of that embarrassing situation. From venting his anger at the beginning, Qin Xiao has now figured it out. After all, this is not a real planet. There is no air and gravity on the surface of the god's skull. The so-called streets, buildings, and the entire city all exist in a metal shell similar to a large spaceship. If there is a fight and the place is destroyed, I really have no confidence. He can save everyone before they freeze to death. So in the face of Thanos' masters, Qin Xiao just stood in front of everyone, while Tony and others, under Qin Xiao's hint, led Natasha and Gamera towards the right ship slip away quietly. Want to leave? Ebony Throat was obviously the one who could see the situation clearly among the people present. From the moment they started, with Qin Xiao's elusive methods, the best way to defeat him, or hold him back, was his friends. While Ebony Throat spoke, he slowly raised his right hand. The metal on the ground seemed to have come to life, turning into a wall several meters high, blocking Tony and the others' path. Qin Xiao couldn't help laughing. You talk like you can stop it. Let everyone start the war on their own. Qin Xiao is not confident that everyone can be intact, but if everyone is determined to leave, he really doesn't think so when Thanos or most of them are stopped by Qin Xiao. They can stop their partners. As if to verify Qin Xiao's words, the god of thunder directly blasted the metal wall in front of him into pieces with a hammer. As for Ebony Throat, he didn't know whether it was due to a brain convulsion or because he was just used to being arrogant. He cursed angrily in front of Qin Xiao. You reptiles, we haven't agreed to let you go yet. Snapped. He was about to raise his arm again to activate his mental power and let the metal from all directions squeeze towards the group of people, but unexpectedly, Qin Xiao directly broke through the space and threw a big, crisp mouth on his thin face. Superior. Facts have proved that although civilizations and races are all different, there are some things that are common to all intelligent creatures. For example, there is a saying that slaps others in the face. Qin Xiao's slap directly shattered Wu Muhao's fragile self-esteem. As the leader of Thanos' 5 black generals, he was far behind the others in terms of wisdom and combat power. Before meeting Thanos, he felt that no one in the universe could convince him. For such a proud person, he was slapped in the face and his defense was immediately broken. Damn it, you actually used your palm to attack my face directly? You damn earthling, I'm going to. Snapped. There was another crisp sound. I said, don't attack my face, I. Snapped. Trio complete. However, Qin Xiao did not stop because of this. He directly opened a wormhole and pulled Ebony Ma directly to his side with one hand. Completely ignoring Wu Muhao's struggle, the pale blue light loomed around his body. The energy barrier of the space gem wrapped Qin Xiao in a set of the strongest defense in the universe. Qin Xiao, on the other hand, opened his bow from left to right and aimed at Wu Muhao with his mouth. A mouth fan started. Your master was beaten like a badminton by me. Who gave you the confidence to embarrass my friends in front of me and dare to call them reptiles? You are a garbage magician who can only retrieve objects from the air. Who? To your pride. Qin Xiao opened his bows from left to right and slapped more than 10 big mouths on Ebony Throat's withered face back and forth crazily. He didn't stop until Ebony Throat's withered face was as big as Thanos' big face. Qin Xiao threw Wu Muhao's head on the ground as if throwing garbage. Qin Xiao felt that it was not enough, and he kicked Wu Muhao's head directly into the ground, directly embedded in the metal floor. Qin Xiao then disdainfully said Tui, took a bite. Then he looked at Thanos and everyone with an expression that was 100 times more arrogant than Ebony Ma just now and said, who still has an opinion? Come forward. And his feet were still stepping on the slightly undulating chest of Ebony Throat. Everyone under Thanos swallowed a mouthful of saliva and took a big step back, which made Thanos who was already in front more obvious. Let him go. Thanos himself failed, so naturally he would not blame his men. He just looked at Qin Xiao and said lightly, his tone was very calm, but his face looked more and more purple. Let him go? Give me a reason. Qin Xiao was happy. If Tony and the others succeeded in carrying them away, he wouldn't mind killing Thanos and the others right here. Thanos didn't speak, but pointed directly at the sky. The top of this small square is made of transparent material, so you can completely see the outside. Qin Xiao looked up and saw that the right had not yet taken off, but in addition to Temple 3 above, there seemed to be more donut spaceships around, and they were so densely packed that they almost completely covered the entire land of nothingness. Surrounded. I know that the materials used in your spaceship are very different, but we are not stupid like Ronan. Do you really have confidence that your friends can break out? Or do you think your wormhole can save everyone in just a few seconds after the spacecraft is blown up? Some of your friends seem to have the physique of ordinary people. They are here. It only takes 1 second for the universe to completely freeze into a popsicle. Thanos' words are exactly what Qin Xiao is worried about. The safety of everyone. Even if Tony modified the materials around the bridge and used almost all vibranium, no one can guarantee it in the face of the planet-level weapons of Temple 3. It can definitely be blocked. Not to mention that there are so many lives in this land of nothingness, and there are even dozens of widows who come from the earth to help control the Dyphon group. I admit your strength. I failed this time, but I am injured. This is not my full strength. I will come to you again, but if you kill my people today, I swear, I will do my best. You will also leave all your friends here, in any form. Thanos' words silenced Qin Xiao. You mean, you're injured? You can't use your full strength. Qin Xiao was silent for a while, then slowly spoke. Nonsense, sir. If he hadn't been injured, do you think you could defeat him? Before Thanos could speak, Ebony Throat, who was slightly more awake, couldn't wait to speak for his master, but the second half of his sentence was directly stepped back by Qin Xiao. Yes, I am injured, but I admit that even if I am not injured, I will still have a headache when facing you who can open a wormhole at any time. I failed today, but I will come to you again, so, let us go, and your friends can leave safely. This place is left to you, and I will never let anyone come here to cause trouble. Thanos affirmed Wimuhao's words and even gave Qin Xiao a guarantee. Qin Xiao is extremely conflicted in his heart. Killing Thanos now is definitely not a bad thing, but it doesn't seem to be a good thing. After all, keeping such an enemy is a risk. But thinking about it on the other hand, my own strength has improved far beyond that of my enemies. Even if Thanos comes back in the future, I may already be so powerful by then that there is no need to risk everyone's lives. Thinking of this, Qin Xiao hooked his toes, lifted Ebony's limp body up and kicked him back to Thanos. Thanos will not lie, there is no doubt about this. They did not prevent the right from flying out of the encirclement, and Qin Xiao did not prevent Thanos and others from leaving. Thanos, who was like the ultimate boss in the early days of Qin Xiao's time travel, finally got rid of that shadow under Qin Xiao's personal efforts. Even though he knew before that Thanos would not be the ultimate obstacle to his peace in this world, Qin Xiao still subconsciously treated him as the final boss. Even though Qin Xiao got several gems and his own strength increased again and again, he never felt that one day it would be so easy to face Thanos. But now Qin Xiao understands that although he doesn't know how powerful Thanos with 6 gems is, he doesn't need to know. He has no chance to collect 6 infinite gems. The matter of Thanos has come to an end. This time, he not only got 2 infinite gems, but also met most of the people in the Guardians of the Galaxy. He also planted a stake deeply in the universe and had his own power. Gamera stayed at the Skull of the Gods, presided over the overall situation with the help of the Widows, and controlled the operation of the Dyphon group for the Avengers, or for Qin Xiao. Star-Lord stayed here with Yondu for Gamera. For this place with all kinds of people, the father and son should be able to handle it. Rocket and Groot also chose to stay here, but like Yondu, they couldn't stay idle in one place. They followed Yondu and asked for a spaceship to do their own business. Little Groot chose to stay with the big one temporarily. After all, they were the only 2 Groots in the universe. Anyway, Qin Xiao had the power of the space gem, so he let them stay there. Qin Xiao chose to return temporarily with the Avengers, but the first stop was not the Earth, but the Moon. On the dark side of the Moon, a metal base as big as 2 New York City is rising from the ground. Countless small spaceships are carrying some construction robots up and down. They transported ready-made materials from Xandar and pieced together the base of the Moon bit by bit. Part of the base has been formed. The Nova Corps has stationed dozens of designers, architects, and scientists involved in the construction of the Moon. In the future, this will also be the base for the transformation of Mars. In a conference room in the base, Qin Xiao sat at the head, with several executives stationed here from Xandar sitting on both sides. In front of him was a 3-dimensional projection, projecting the upper body of Nova Supreme who was far away on Xandar. Thank you very much for everything you have done. Ronan the Accuser is dead, and we heard that the Mad Titan was also defeated by you. Your reputation will spread throughout the universe along the starlight. We have also done everything we promised. The base on this satellite will be built according to everything you envision, and our people will be at your disposal. As a super empire in the universe, the Nova Empire has long been clear about what Qin Xiao and his team did in the Land of Nothingness, and their attitude towards Qin Xiao has become more respectful. I saw it, Nova Supreme, you kept your promise and built it very well. I am very satisfied. My friend, the Iron Man named Tony Stark, is on the 3 mineral planets. I hope your people can help us for a while and wait for the people of Dyphon Group to come and hand over to you. As you wish, powerful Mr. Qin. Qin Xiao waved his hand to close the projection. The supervisor beside him immediately opened a 3-dimensional rendering and told Qin Xiao about the future appearance and function of the base. The 3 mineral planets are all on the edge of the solar system. Tony, out of the instinct of a scientist, parted ways with Qin Xiao and went there to see what was produced. Qin Xiao came to the moon to see their progress. Although he has already looked at the universe, as an Earthling, he still needs to take into account the welfare of some Earthlings. Using the power of Xandar to develop Mars and create a second home for the Earthlings, in a sense, this can also be regarded as seeking benefits for the people in his hometown. However, everything is difficult at the beginning. The technology on Earth is not powerful enough for the time being. The base on the moon is easy to say. As for the development of the entire Mars, even with the power of Xandar, it has to be carried out step by step. This is not something that can be completed in a few days. Qin Xiao also listened to the expert's explanation of the general process and returned to Earth with peace of mind. In addition to getting a lot of benefits from going around outside this time, the most important point is that according to the timeline, the Scarlet Witch is almost born now, which is an important reason for Qin Xiao to come back. In the sky base, Qin Xiao and Peggy Carter sat opposite each other. Most of the Hydras under Alexander Pierce have been captured by us. Those who escaped are not a concern. All of them confessed that they had not seen Loki's scepter long after the New York incident. There may be some hidden hydras that have slipped through the net, but their scientific research institutions must have been fully mastered by us. If the scepter is in their hands, it is impossible that there is no record of research and transformation. So according to our speculation, they handed over the scepter shortly after the Battle of New York. Peggy Carter was one of the founders of SHIELD, and leading spies is her old job. Natasha gradually transformed from an agent to a combat role, although she is still the intelligence chief in the Avengers in name. But most of the matters are actually handled by Peggy Carter, including the earliest Red House forces and the agents who were incorporated after the dissolution of SHIELD. You mean, except for the Hydra in the United States, I remember that we have been hunting them down for the past few years, and they should have been almost wiped out. Qin Xiao asked knowingly. Yes, the Hydra organization must have been broken up by us, but I speculate that there is still a leader who is hiding with his loyal men. It may be that they are studying the scepter. They have 9 heads. Peggy Carter shrugged, smiled, and continued. But we are not without clues. After several years of continuous searches and narrowing down the scope, we have now determined that they should be operating in Eastern Europe, if there is such a branch. If there really is one, how long will it take to find them out? You know, Paige, those are infinite gems. God knows how many weird things they will research and come up with. A month at most. Okay, in 1 month, I hope there will be good news. If you find them, don't act rashly. I'm afraid they will use the gems to develop some kind of weapons. Qin Xiao warned that Peggy Carter's efficiency was faster than Qin Xiao thought. It might be that after Qin Xiao's explanation, resources were tilted, or because enough traps had been laid in the past few years. In short, after Qin Xiao came back and talked to her about this topic, only 9 days had passed, and Peggy Carter had the exact information about this possible Hydra branch. Baron Citrical, one of the leaders of Hydra, is the deepest hidden head. Long before we started to clear them out, he stopped all external activities, abandoned most of the members, and only brought his direct subordinates and several scientific teams, and has been lurking in Europe to conduct some scientific research. This is in line with the usual style of Hydra. This head was kept by them as a kind of fire, or perhaps the research they conducted is of great significance to them and is the guarantee of their comeback. That scepter. Qin Xiao took over Peggy Carter's words. That's right. Peggy Carter nodded. I thought so too, but there is no evidence. This base is in a small principality in Eastern Europe. The defenses near the base are very tight and there is no way to infiltrate it. Moreover, according to our intelligence, the technological level of this base far exceeds all previous Hydra bases. It should be him. Qin Xiao snapped his fingers. You have to go and see it to know. After all, there is no place in the world that you can't enter. Indeed, there is no place in the world that Qin Xiao can't enter. In fact, there is no need to enter. When Qin Xiao saw the castle that Baron Citric used as a base, Qin Xiao was sure that the events here were not deviated. The castle is still the same castle. I don't know if the people inside are the same as Qin Xiao thought. In order to prevent accidents, such as Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver have not been successfully tested, Qin Xiao specially chose a late night to sneak in. He was carrying a small interference device made by Tony for Qin Xiao. It could sense all the warning monitoring equipment within 100 meters and interfere with it. For example, within the 100 meters of Qin Xiao, all the monitoring showed the intercepted images of Qin Xiao before he entered. This made Qin Xiao's infiltration extremely easy. He knocked out a secret sentry, and the combat uniform simulated the appearance of their clothes. After entering, he knocked out 2 Hydra soldiers who were interrogating the password. Qin Xiao entered the castle smoothly all the way. After turning 2 corridors, Qin Xiao arrived at a place that should be used for scientific research. Sure enough, after knocking out 2 white-robed personnel who were not sure whether they were on duty or working overtime, Qin Xiao once again turned into a member of the scientific research team. In one of the rooms inside, he saw the twins who were imprisoned in 2 rooms alone. The first person Qin Xiao saw was Quicksilver wearing a quick-drying suit. Since the 2 of them were willing to be test subjects, Hydra provided them with 2 rooms with one side of glass for observation. With a head of yellow-white hair, he lay on the bed and his palms or other parts of his body would still vibrate involuntarily in his sleep. It seems that Hydra's experiment was indeed successful, but they seemed to be unable to master their abilities very well. Not only Quicksilver, but also Scarlet Witch on the other side, also in her sleep, she would emit pink energy from time to time, sometimes slightly lifting the quilt on her body, and sometimes hitting the wall and dissipating. Outside the 2 rooms was a row of display screens. As the 2 people fluctuated in their sleep, Qin Xiao saw various values and curves on the display screens constantly floating. It seems that the 2 people outside were on duty just now, in order to avoid any accidents. Having found the real owner, Qin Xiao was no longer in a hurry. According to his memory of the movie, he found the secret room where Tony entered and found a large number of remnants after the New York War, alien technology, and most importantly, Loki's scepter. This scepter not only created Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, but also created the big boss of Avengers 2, and turned Jarvis into Vision. But at this moment, Qin Xiao had no interest in letting things go on the original track. He crushed the shell without hesitation, and as soon as the gem touched Qin Xiao, it immediately resonated with the other gems in Qin Xiao's body. But this time was different from the other times. The mind gem did not turn into energy mist and directly enter Qin Xiao's body, but floated in the air, emitting an energy from the gem to connect Qin Xiao's body. Then, the soul gem that Qin Xiao had been carrying on his body also automatically floated in the air, and also emitted an energy to connect to Qin Xiao's body. Qin Xiao's body was shining brightly, and the three colors of blue, purple, and red kept changing on Qin Xiao's body. The speed was getting faster and faster. At the same time, with the injection of gem energy, Qin Xiao felt that his spirit seemed to be torn apart by someone. The direct effect was a headache, and he wanted to hit his head against the wall. But it seemed that a fixed energy field was formed between the gems, and Qin Xiao's body also left the ground and floated in the air. The gems in his body showed their own unique energy, forming a unique communication with the two gems outside. Qin Xiao really had no idea what the gems were communicating with each other. He just felt as if his head was violently split open by an axe, and then someone chopped down continuously on the gap. Finally, Qin Xiao couldn't stand the tearing pain anymore, and he raised his head and let out a scream that was extremely miserable but indescribable. Fortunately, the walls around the secret room here were thick enough to ensure defense while almost isolating the sound inside, otherwise Qin Xiao's scream would have woken up everyone in the castle. In the past, Qin Xiao never understood the pain of a torn soul when reading novels. This time, Qin Xiao thoroughly experienced it. From the beginning, he felt like he was split by an axe, and then he was directly torn into pieces. The whole person's perception began to become chaotic. At this time, the orange mind gem turned into energy mist and drilled into Qin Xiao's body. Qin Xiao once again experienced the feeling of being torn apart and then stitched again. The whole person felt like he was soaking in a bathtub, warm and comfortable to the extreme. This feeling was very short-lived. Once the short feeling passed, Qin Xiao's whole body shook, and his soul body was directly separated from his body. Qin Xiao's body was still shining with blue, purple, and red light, but his soul body was emitting a faint yellow light. Then the soul gem floated towards Qin Xiao. It slowly liquefied into energy mist and surrounded Qin Xiao's soul body. The system had told Qin Xiao before that if you want to fuse the soul gem, you must first fuse the mind gem. Only if the mind is strong can the upper limit of the soul strength be increased. Whether it was space, power, or reality before, most of them correspond to Qin Xiao's physical strength. In addition, Qin Xiao had strengthened his body when he first came to this world, so it is easier to absorb. But at this level of spirit and soul, Qin Xiao is the first undergoing such a drastic transformation for the first time. The process was inevitably painful. Although the process was painful, based on the original few infinity stones, the time was not very long. Only about half an hour passed, and the light in the secret room gradually dissipated. Qin Xiao's eyes, which were floating in midair, suddenly opened, and a pair of unfocused, lifeless eyes appeared on Qin Xiao's body. Then, just like the Big Bang of the universe, a singularity seemed to explode in Qin Xiao's pupils, which instantly spread to the entire pupils. Everything in the universe and the stars in the sky flashed past Qin Xiao's eyes. For just a moment, Qin Xiao slowly closed his eyes again. The 5 infinite gems have completely integrated with Qin Xiao, and the blue space gems have turned into countless small black holes, directly settling in the countless acupoints on Qin Xiao's body. As long as Qin Xiao makes a thought, these black holes can extract infinite energy from the universe and enter Qin Xiao's body at any time. The red reality gem has been integrated into every inch of Qin Xiao's body, skin, internal organs, and bones, making Qin Xiao's body the same as the reality gem, strong and resilient, unable to be destroyed by known forces, and allowing Qin Xiao to withstand the output. Infinite amplification of energy. The purple power gem turned into Qin Xiao's muscles and part of his bones, providing Qin Xiao with unimaginable physical strength. Now, as long as Qin Xiao is willing, he can use his body to explode planet-level energy. The yellow mind gem turned into Qin Xiao's spiritual power, allowing him to gain huge telekinesis and mind control abilities out of thin air. For example, how to lift a mountain with telekinesis. There is no doubt that the orange soul gem strengthens Qin Xiao's soul, making him closer to the universe. The more powerful calculation and understanding speed, from another perspective, strengthens Qin Xiao's CPU without limit. The 5 infinity stones are like accessories that perform their own duties, building Qin Xiao, a superhuman. Although there are still time stones that have not been obtained, the current Qin Xiao cannot be called a true god in the known universe. Not an exaggeration. Slowly feeling his current strength, Qin Xiao slowly opened his eyes again. Everything in the universe flashed by, and Qin Xiao returned to his normal eyes. With a thought, without any extra movements or energy fluctuations, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch appeared in front of Qin Xiao out of thin air. A mental shock directly acted on the minds of the two brothers and sisters, waking them up from their sleep. Before they could react, Qin Xiao stretched out his hands, pointed with 2 index fingers, and hit the two brothers and sisters directly. Ajna. A large amount of information followed Qin Xiao's fingers directly into the twins' heads, including the truth about Stark Industries' original secret sale of arms, the development of the original timeline, the fate of their twins, and so on. What entered their bodies along Qin Xiao's fingers was not just the large amount of information. There is also a large amount of energy unique to the Mind Stone. Unlike when it was forcibly transformed, the energy controlled by Qin Xiao was like the spring breeze blowing on the face, taming the energy that was not fully controlled in the twins' bodies. As for when the two of them can develop their abilities to the extreme and complete the so-called ultimate form, that depends on them. What magic did you use? Don't tell me that all of this will really happen. After the twins finished digesting Qin Xiao's information and ignored the changes in energy in their bodies, the Scarlet Witch was the first to ask. In the original story, Quicksilver died not long after he appeared, but Scarlet Witch has experienced much more than him. The images Qin Xiao passed on were not like just watching them on a horse. Although they were different from his personal experience, he experienced the whole process with his first sight. In comparison, Quicksilver is just a passerby, browsing all the things that happened after his death. Therefore, Scarlet Witch seems to be much more excited than Quicksilver at the moment. You should understand, Wanda, in this universe, the only one who can deceive you is yourself. Qin Xiao let go of his mental defense and placed himself naked in front of Wanda. You can feel it. Have I deceived you? Qin Xiao looked at the brother and sister sincerely. Obviously, the twins seemed to be led by Scarlet Witch. After digesting the extra information in his mind, Quicksilver just glanced at Scarlet Witch, and then put his body half between Scarlet Witch and Qin Xiao. The Scarlet Witch did not completely invade Qin Xiao's memory, but reached out and used her own energy to connect Qin Xiao's spirit, feeling whether Qin Xiao was lying when he spoke. Tell me now if all the information you just transmitted to me is true. The magical voice of the Scarlet Witch rang directly in Qin Xiao's mind. Of course, with Qin Xiao's current strength, he could easily resist it, but Qin Xiao did not deliberately exorcise it. Instead, he cooperated very well and put his mental fluctuations into the Scarlet Witch. In front of the witch. It's all true. These are things that would have happened. It's just that my appearance broke the timeline. My ultimate goal is to break this so-called fate and bring real freedom. Qin Xiao spoke every word with a touch of sanctity on his face, looking like a preacher. But Qin Xiao knew in his heart that he was extremely serious at this moment. If everything in this world is an arranged script, I am afraid that the system and his own entry are not accidental. This is what he wants to say, break all this and gain true freedom. Otherwise, even with his current near-godlike strength in this universe, there will still be a butcher's knife hanging over his head who doesn't know when it will fall. The open spirit is the best explanation. Qin Xiao does not need to explain anything. The expression on the Scarlet Witch's face has gradually relaxed. As twins who have been together since childhood, Quicksilver's trembling right hand slowly returned to normal along with Scarlet Witch's expression. We have the same goal, to break a certain restriction. Qin Xiao pointed upward, so your enemy is not Stark at all, or even Obadiah Stanislav who secretly sells weapons to terrorists, but someone who is hiding behind and watching all this secretly. Even the guy who arranged it all. The twins' abilities come from the Mind Stone, and Qin Xiao's opening up of his spiritual world at this moment is where the power of the Mind Stone lies. As soon as the Scarlet Witch's homologous power came in, before Qin Xiao could fully activate his own spiritual power, the spiritual power transformed from the Mind Stone wrapped itself around him. The energy of the Soul Gem in the Scarlet Witch, which is integrated with its own spiritual power, is directly integrated into Qin Xiao's spiritual power like a baby swallow returning to its nest. From Quicksilver's perspective outside, the Scarlet Witch's eyes suddenly changed, from calm and come to frightened, and then from frightened to admiration again. The two twins have been connected since childhood. Quicksilver noticed something was wrong from the change in his sister's eyes, and activated his superpower instantly. An after-image flashed by, and Kuei-yin instantly appeared between the two of them. He put his hands on the shoulders of Qin Xiao and Scarlet Witch respectively, trying to separate the two people directly. Who would have thought that his hand had just put on Qin Xiao's shoulder, and the power in his body was like meeting the beaming magic in a martial arts novel, flowing towards Qin Xiao's body in a steady stream. At this time, the expression on Kuei-yin's face was the same as that of his sister just now, which changed several times in an instant, and finally his eyes were full of admiration. The superheroes in Marvel who are influenced by the Infinity Stones and have their own superpowers. In fact, from the origin, it is a mutation of genes receiving radiation, but the external manifestations are different. For those whose source of power is infinite gems, Qin Xiao is definitely suppressed from the biological origin. Now let alone Qin Xiao who opened his mind and had no ill intentions towards the two of them. Even if Qin Xiao now let the two people kill each other, the twins would definitely not blink an eye. Even Qin Xiao himself had not thought of this. Looking at the two twins in front of him whose eyes were full of fanatical admiration for him, Qin Xiao thought, and the power of the soul gem in his body surged towards the two of them like a tide, turning the two who had just adapted to the energy in their bodies and were still the rookie, who was far from fully displaying his power, was directly promoted to the ultimate form. The Scarlet Witch was the first to change. In a flash of light, all her original clothes disappeared. She wore a dark red tight-fitting sleeveless combat uniform, black leather pants, a dark red cape, and a half-front half on her head. Helmet. It is the ultimate fighting form of Scarlet Witch. Quicksilver didn't have this method of creating something out of nothing, converting nothingness into substance. Instead, it was the energy of the Scarlet Witch that flashed, and he put a blue and silver tights on his younger brother. Qin Xiao slowly took back his energy. Owner. The twins said in unison, their eyes full of enthusiasm. Forward. This title caught Qin Xiao off guard, and he slowly spoke after a moment of silence. You should call me boss from now on. Master is a bit too exaggerated and I don't like it. Yes, boss. The two spoke in unison again. Qin Xiao scratched his head helplessly. Conquering the twins was something Qin Xiao had always wanted to do, but this method was a bit too much for Qin Xiao. Fortunately, both of them have retained their independent consciousness. Apart from being a little fanatical about their extreme loyalty and admiration for Qin Xiao, nothing else has changed. Otherwise, accepting two puppets would not be the result Qin Xiao wants. But the biggest gain this time was the perfect fusion of the infinite gems. Although Qin Xiao also knew the power of the infinite gems before, Qin Xiao only experienced it deeply when all the gems were completely integrated and transformed into his own energy. To the power of gems. Snap your fingers to destroy it. Even if there is no time gem now, Qin Xiao can do it now, but without the time gem, it consumes more energy. For Qin Xiao now, with every breath, the entire universe, all the energy is gone. You too, go somewhere with me. After subduing the twins, everything here was within reach for Qin Xiao. Ignoring the other people in the base, Qin Xiao broke through the space, stepped out, and brought the twins to Kamatage, Master Gu Yi's personal practice room. I don't know if Gu Yi expected it or sensed the movement of Qin Xiao absorbing gems. Gu Yi had already prepared himself as if he was waiting for customers to come. Qin Xiao had just walked in, and Master Gu Yi had just sat behind the tea table. He slowly put away the teapot in his hand and looked at the teacups on the table. There were exactly 4 teacups, no more, no less. Obviously, Master Gu Yi seemed to have really felt the changes in Qin Xiao's body, but the exception to Master Gu Yi was the Scarlet Witch. With just one glance, Ancient One could see the horror of the energy in Scarlet Witch. Oh, a mage catalyzed by infinite gems? I have practiced for thousands of years, but I am not as good as this little girl who mutated once. It seems that the universe has really changed. Ancient Yi sighed slightly, having seen everything including her 1,000-year lifespan. The moment he saw the Scarlet Witch, he still inevitably showed a trace of jealousy. You can do it at a glance if you want. Qin Xiao smiled and said to Gu Yi. Gu Yi shook her head non-committally. Without waiting for Qin Xiao to speak, she stretched out her hand and the green time gem floated towards Qin Xiao from her palm. 5 of the 6 infinity stones have become a part of Qin Xiao, and the remaining one is like a swallow returning to its nest. As soon as it left Gu Yi's hand, it automatically flew towards Qin Xiao with a whooshing sound. When it came to Qin Xiao, the green gem turned into a mist, surrounded Qin Xiao's body, and then submerged into Qin Xiao's body bit by bit. Qin Xiao didn't change at all this time. He was just stunned for a moment. Then he picked up a piece of tea leaf from the table. With a thought, the grey-brown tea leaf was reversed and slowly turned into emerald green and delicate, as if it had just been picked from the tree. The leaves are average. Although I felt before that one day you can fully control all the power in the universe, but I didn't expect that this day would come so quickly. It seems that everything is better than I imagined. Tell me, Qin Xiao, are you confident that you can completely protect this world now? Master Gu Yi asked slowly with an indescribable feeling on his face. Qin Xiao was silent for a moment and then said, you know that our world is cut off. I can protect our side of the universe from anyone's control. As long as I am within this side of the world, I can resist any invasion and interference, but I don't think it's enough. As soon as Qin Xiao finished speaking, without waiting for Gu Yi to say anything, he waved his hand. Master Gu Yi froze, and suddenly large plumes of black smoke came out of his body. For thousands of years, the Ancient One Master has used dark energy to extend his lifespan. However, he was afraid that the dark energy would darken his character, so he used most of his strength to suppress this power. Ancient One and Ao, who have been guarding the earth for thousands of years, ding, a strength used to shock the dark power in the body. The other one is even worse, struggling to use his original power to suppress his daughter, and neither of the 2 Heavenly Father-level figures who protect the earth can truly exert his own strength. Of course, this is also the so-called hero emerges from troubled times. It is precisely because of the internal and external crises that the small planet Earth has given birth to so many heroes with extraordinary abilities. Having said that, Qin Xiao completely ignored the magical power that she had cultivated for thousands of years, and a single look triggered the dark power in her body. Black energy spurted out from the top of Gu Yi's head. At a height of less than 1 meter above Gu Yi's head, there was a vague spatial fluctuation, and a small crack appeared in the space distortion, as if there is a powerful range hood on the opposite side, and all the dark energy rushes towards this crack. Qin Xiao could even feel that on the other side of the crack, in an unknown dark dimension, there was a powerful and terrifying dark creature coveting this world. Snort. Qin Xiao's expression changed, and he snorted coldly. He tightened his right fist slightly, and Gu Yi's body suddenly opened. The black energy on his body was at least 10 times more violent than before and surged upward. At the same time, Gu Yi's body suddenly changes towards aging. Until all the dark energy left, Gu Zhengran had turned into a mummy. Except for a trace of luster in his eyes, he was no different from a dead person in other places. Dormammu? I have no time to pay attention to you this time. I will find your dimension in the morning and destroy your lair. As for here, put away your coveting eyes. Qin Xiao waved his left hand towards the crack, and the space was instantly smoothed. At the same time, Dormammu's followers on the earth, led by Cassius, who had defected from Karmatage, were located all over the earth. It was also the coordinate of its dark power, all of which were instantly obliterated by Qin Xiao, and the dark power drifted away along the cracks. And those cracks were directly smoothed away by Qin Xiao's thought. Dormammu instantly lost the coordinates of the world, and a violent roar came from the void. However, these had no effect on Qin Xiao. After solving the matter of dark energy, Qin Xiao slapped his palm towards Gu Yi. The blue and green lights on his palm flashed at the same time, and the green light directly surrounded Gu Yi's body, and the blue light isolated Gu Yi's soul. The rules of time were activated, and Gu Yi's body visibly returned to the way it looked when the two met just now, and then changed again, from 40 or 50 years old to more than 30 years old, and then still changed in the direction of youth. Looking at Qin Xiao's appearance, he had the intention to directly adjust Master Gu Yi's body to the optimal age. That's enough, Qin Xiao, that's enough? It's good to be younger, but I can't meet people with a childish look. This is just right. Master Gu Yi spoke. He looks in his 30s, matches Gu Yi's own aura, is gorgeous yet steady, and is really just right for the current Gu Yi. Actually, I'm really curious about what you were like when you were 16 or 17 years old. Qin Xiao stopped his hand and joked with a smile. Gu Yi rolled his eyes. She didn't know whether it was because she had become younger, or because she had seen all Qin Xiao's operations just now. Without the dark energy in her body, and without the worry of Dormammu's invasion, Gu Yi was completely relaxed physically and mentally. What makes this person roll his eyes is full of charm and charm. Qin Xiao was stunned, then touched his nose awkwardly and said, "Don't discharge your electricity at me, I have a girlfriend." Roll. Gu Yi casually pulled out a golden energy whip from the void and swung it towards Qin Xiao. Pa! There was a crisp sound, and the blue light on Qin Xiao's body flashed out automatically, causing Gu Yi's blow to cause sparks to fly. However, he pressed his hands left and right to see that he was about to be attacked. The hands-on twin siblings. The Ancient One is my elder. She is joking with me. You are not allowed to move. As soon as Qin Xiao finished speaking, the twins' expressions softened. A good subordinate, because of the loyalty generated by the infinite stones. Gu Yi looked at the twins up and down, and immediately saw the problem with them. Yes, I don't know why it is like this. Once the energy is gathered, it automatically becomes like this. Qin Xiao was also a little helpless. Although it was good to conquer the two of them, this method was inevitably a little regretful. This is not your fault. Just like Dormammu's dark energy, it will make people fanatically loyal to him. That is its intentional control. No one can think of you. Protect this world well and don't let down what the universe has given you. The power of. Gu Yi became serious. Listen to your tone. Are you ready to retire? There are still many things waiting for you to deal with. Qin Xiao gave him a flattery. You are enough to protect this universe now. If there is a need in the future, I will appear. After so many years of exhaustion, I want to quickly pass on the title of Supreme Mage and go around the universe to see it. A rare happy light appeared on Gu Yi's face. In response, Qin Xiao smiled slightly and said nothing. Indeed, Qin Xiao's current strength is enough to be invincible in this universe. As for the enemies he will face in the future, Qin Xiao believes that Master Gu Yi will definitely appear when needed. Coming out of Karmatage, Qin Xiao thought, and 3 people had appeared in front of the Rainbow Bridge Temple in Asgard. Qin. The first moment Qin Xiao and the others appeared, Heimdall appeared behind them. Heimdall even picked up the divine sword in his hand with caution. The 3 people in front of him, especially Qin Xiao, felt extremely powerful and strange to him at this time. Even Odin in his heyday had never given Heimdall this feeling. Qin, you. Heimdall tightened his grip on the sword. There is no way, Heimdall's eyes can see the origin to a certain extent. When facing Odin in his heyday, Heimdall felt that he was facing a galaxy, but today when facing Qin Xiao, he felt that he was facing a galaxy. Facing a universe. The unparalleled pressure from the soul left Heimdall speechless. Heimdall, I don't mean any harm, I'm here to help you solve some problems. Qin Xiao shrugged his shoulders harmlessly and said, you'd better put away your ability to use your eyes. Sometimes it's not a good thing to see too clearly. Qin Xiao's thoughts moved, and the aura on his body surged back like a tide. Even in Heimdall's view, Qin Xiao was completely an ordinary human being on Earth at this moment. Ignoring Heimdall's alertness and surprise, Qin Xiao took a step towards the void. The next moment, the twins, and Heimdall who were not moving behind him appeared in the hall of the Golden Palace. At the same time, Odin, Frigg and his wife, and Thor, the god of thunder, appeared in the hall with them. Qin, what's going on? Aren't you here? Why did I suddenly? The god of thunder looked shocked. Not long after they separated, Qin Xiao suddenly appeared here. Moreover, there was no space fluctuation and no portal appeared. His eyes flashed and he appeared here. Well, it's a bit troublesome to explain each one. Qin Xiao scratched his head in embarrassment, and then his mental power exploded. A faint transparent wave in the air passed through everyone, and a memory appeared directly in everyone's minds, including everything that happened to Qin Xiao and what he wanted to do now. You mean Hela? Her power comes from the origin of Asgard. There was surprise and disbelief on Odin's face. Of course, you need to see the effect if you believe it or not. After half an hour, Odin and the Thor family looked at Hela and Loki lying on the ground in shock. The half-brothers of the evil gods each had a Qin Xiao on their heads, which was inspired by Eastern mythology. Golden Hoop. The Asgardian origin of Hela has been completely extracted by Qin Xiao, but the power of the goddess of death, one of the main gods, is still there. Together with Loki, Qin Xiao made 2 golden hoops out of thin air and put them on the 2 brothers and sisters. He also used his mental power to teach everyone present how to control them. What made the two siblings so painful just now was the demonstration given by the Scarlet Witch. Child, kid, why are you so bad? Ah, shut up, damn it, Thor. I will kill. Thor opened his mouth curiously and sang, and Loki and Hela, who had just recovered, cried out in pain at the same time. It works so well, I'm just curious to give it a try. Thor scratched his head slightly embarrassed. Odin and Ancient One have guarded the earth for more than 1,000 years, but unfortunately, each has its own fatal constraints, so Qin Xiao got rid of them both immediately after gaining the power of the entire universe. This problem, Earth, the planet that has always been at the center of turmoil in the Marvel Universe, has experienced many unimaginable things over tens of millions of years, but today, people all over the Earth will witness a great miracle. The first is light. A sudden burst of dazzling light in the night sky, illuminating the entire Western Hemisphere that should be at night. And unlike normal daytime, when there is a huge light source like the sun in the sky, this time a circular light suddenly lit up in the night sky like a nuclear bomb exploding. Immediately, the light exploded, and the entire Western Hemisphere was like day. When the light in the sky disappeared, the entire Western Hemisphere was still like day, as if the sun was not visible on a cloudy day, but the entire sky was bright anyway. In an instant, the entire Earth was in daylight. Then there are the wormholes. City-sized wormholes with blue-black energy rolling around them appear in the skies of major countries and regions around the world. Huge cosmic empires that lead to different galaxies in the universe have all appeared in China, the United States, Europe, and other places. Of course, Qin Xiao also hid a lot of tricks in this. For example, there is an energy shield on each wormhole, and only those who have Qin Xiao's permission to set it can open it. For example, the one in China corresponds to Xandar, the capital planet of the Nova Empire, and before opening the wormhole, Qin Xiao had already communicated with the officials of the Nova Corps and China, and gave the Chinese government permission to wormhole. Except for the Chinese one, all other wormhole permissions were given to Tony Stark Industries, except of course the smaller wormhole in Northern Europe, which leads directly to the source of Nordic mythology, Asgard. At the same time, the entire world, or rather the entire Earth and the cosmic empire corresponding to several wormholes, all had a voice in their hearts. This is the voice of Qin Xiao. He represents the Avengers and has made his own voice for the entire universe. It is the voice of the Avengers and the voice of the entire Earth. At this point, the Earth has fully opened the interstellar era. After settling the matter between Ancient Yi and Odin, and directly building the Earth into the largest trade and exchange center in the universe, Qin Xiao finally returned to the Avengers base. He quickly explained to everyone what happened to him, and with evasive eyes, he vaguely introduced the twin siblings who were following him closely. Ahem, Wanda, Pietro, you two don't need to follow me all the time. We are all our own people here. From now on, we will all be partners who live and fight together. You should try to get acquainted with everyone. Qin Xiao said to the siblings with some embarrassment that Thor had already met the two of them in Asgard. Upon seeing this, he took the initiative to meet Quayin as his guide to join the team, or in other words a familiar medium. And when Natasha also approached the Scarlet Witch didn't know what kind of temper she had. She looked at Qin Xiao and Natasha several times, snorted coldly, turned her head, and didn't feel anything at all. No sign of movement. Huh. Natasha looked at Qin Xiao with a half-smile. Well, Wanda, you stand in front first, I have something to tell everyone. Qin Xiao said bravely. Hearing what Qin Xiao said, Wanda reluctantly came out from behind Qin Xiao, but still did not pay attention to Natasha, but walked directly behind her and came to everyone. I'll settle the score with you later. You'd better explain your relationship to me. Damn it, I look like the third party. Natasha was smiling, but her words were full of murderous intent. After whispering a few words in Qin Xiao's ear, she retreated quietly. With so many big things happening today, she knew that Qin Xiao must have something serious to say. Sure enough, Qin Xiao calmed down his emotions slightly, and the first words he spoke surprised everyone. Today, I will become a god for this universe. Conferred god? The two fluttering words that came out of Qin Xiao's mouth caused huge waves in the entire universe. It was like the sound from the universe itself, resounding directly in the soul of every living being in the universe. Ancient, divine, and powerful. Immediately, a huge character appeared in the universe. This was a character that traveled through space. It was suspended in the void so quietly, but every planet could see it. Bright. Qin Xiao kissed his lips, and as soon as the word Guangming came out, the huge characters in the void changed, and then a huge Odin figure appeared in the void. Odin, the god of light, the lord of Asgard, rules the Asgard divine domain and is in charge of the Asgard Asa clan. As Qin Xiao finished speaking, the sky above Asgard shone brightly, and a huge ball of light as big as several stars sank into the Asgard divine domain, and the original power of Asgard surged. The original power of all the priests in Asgard also increased greatly, and Odin himself transformed into a small sun suspended in the midair. The power of 9 stars, this is the divine power given to Odin by Qin Xiao Lingkong. This is the true divine ministry in the universe. As for the priests in Asgard's domain, they can only be deputies in Odin's name, or pseudo-priests. Time. Qin Xiao opened his mouth again, but the first 2 positions were given to the 2 elders he met in this universe. The god of time, the supreme mage of Ancient One, Qin Xiao said something, and the power of the laws of time in the universe surged towards Ancient One. In the end, the green energy turned into a green bell and disappeared after Guyi. Hulk, the god of power, Qin Xiao used his magic skills to directly shake Hulk's soul out of Banner's body, and used the laws of power to directly build a body that was tens of millions of times more powerful than the original Hulk. Thor Odinson, god of thunder. This is the position that Qin Xiao gave Thor again, to be in charge of the thunder and punishment power in the universe. Steve Rogers, the god of peace. The divine power given by Qin Xiao recondensed a shield of Captain America. Qin Xiao gave this shield the power to defend against all attacks in the universe. This can be regarded as a complete confirmation that with the shield of Captain America, it can be 50-50 against anyone. Attributes. When Clint Barton, Hawkeye, the god of bows and arrows, bestowed power on Hawkeye, Qin Xiao had some evil intentions and used the soul gem to give Hawkeye special abilities, allowing Hawkeye's bow and arrow to directly lock onto the enemy's soul. The so-called shot into the soul is nothing more than that. The god of wisdom, Bruce Banner, is an honest man who loves science and is also one of the original members of the Avengers. Qin Xiao gave him various ancient scientific knowledge in the universe, and of course transformed his body to a certain extent. It's just that compared to others, he doesn't have many combat skills. Space god Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. Naturally, Qin Xiao couldn't be stingy about the person on his pillow. He not only spent great efforts to transform Natasha's body, but also gave her the power of space. Not only could she teleport flexibly, but she also had the invincible shield of the space gem, attributes, and even more powerful attack methods such as space slash. Finally, there is the first plot character Qin Xiao met in this world and his best friend, Iron Man Tony Stark. Qin Xiao not only gave him the same knowledge as Dr. Banner, but also gave him the power of the Reality Stone, which allows him to manipulate all matter in the real universe and change, create, and reorganize at will. His heart of steel, the arc reactor on his chest, was also modified by Qin Xiao using special means. He artificially created a black hole directly inside, which can directly convert various energies from the universe and use them for himself or others. On the armor. As for how much energy is converted and how much power is exerted, it depends on how much imagination Tony has and how powerful the armor can be transformed into. Anyway, with unlimited energy and the ability of the Reality Stone, he can instantly condense a battle armor the size of a planet can be used. God of machinery, Tony Stark. In addition to the above-mentioned people, there are of course Little Spider, Rhodes, Scarlet Witch, and even people around us like Aunt May or Pepper. Qin Xiao still gave them infinite lifespan and physical strength that is not weaker than Thanos. And the entire Avengers Alliance was given the label of God's domain in the name of the universe. Like Asgard before, it was the original power given by the rules of the universe, allowing them to stand proudly above the 9 realms. As for the current Avengers, Qin Xiao has been given the same mission as Asgard, but it is for the entire universe. In layman's terms, the current Avengers is the heaven in Chinese mythology, and Qin Xiao is equivalent to so the incarnation of the way of heaven, or Qin Xiao, has mastered the power of the way of heaven in this world. From now on, the Avengers will have a set of systems and methods for supervising the entire universe. Everyone who has a position in the Avengers will automatically be given the power that suits their position. After dealing with the internal affairs, Qin Xiao raised his head and glanced at the endless void. With a thought, his whole person had turned into nothingness and directly merged into the entire universe. If he stood outside the timeline and looked over now, he would be able to see where Qin Xiao was. This parallel universe was shaken violently, detached directly from the circulation line and drifted towards the chaos. In other words, from this moment on, the parallel universe where Qin Xiao lives is separated from the original world. Originally, these endless parallel universes all originated from one world, but Qin Xiao controlled a universe, which not only broke the time loop created by Conqueror Kong, but also broke away from the original world and became completely independent. Come. Avoid them from a distance, first make yourself invincible, and then find a way to slowly eat them up. This is what Qin Xiao is thinking now. There are too many people and things in this universe that he cannot let go of, and he is also Qin Xiao couldn't afford to lose his foothold, so he couldn't help but act cautiously. In fact, Qin Xiao's move is somewhat similar to Kong, the conqueror of the time administration, except that in order to avoid countless civil wars of his own, Kong used 3 parallel universes to cycle time end-to-end to disturb people's sight, while he hid in the timeline. In an abandoned world outside, it is still inextricably linked to those countless universes. Qin Xiao, on the other hand, has complete control over a universe. This is unmatched by anyone. Everyone has the possibility to manipulate the Infinity Stones or gain abilities from them, but by completely absorbing and mastering the 6 Infinity Stones with oneself, the only one who directly controls the entire universe, at least so far, is Qin Xiao. So, which one should we start with? In the chaos, Qin Xiao's shadow emerged on the light and shadow of the world. He looked at the infinite parallel universe with dense circles in front of him and murmured to himself. San Francisco is not a very important city in the Marvel universe, but in reality it is the most important financial center on the west coast of the United States and the city where Silicon Valley is located. A large number of American high-tech companies have settled here. If you have the habit of watching TV series, you will find that the name of an American city, San Francisco, appears in many TV series. It refers to San Francisco, But many people don't know that in the Marvel Universe, the story of Ant-Man takes place here. In the comics, Dr. Pym is a scientist no less than Tony Stark, and the villain Ultron in Avengers 2 was created by him. But in the movie, he is mainly positioned as the inventor of Pym particles and a generation of Ant-Man. The most important thing is that he led to the existence of quantum space. Qin Xiao came here this time for quantum space. The quantum realm has existences that transcend time and space and violate the physical laws of the universe. But after Qin Xiao mastered all the infinite gems, Qin Xiao felt that the most important attribute of the quantum realm was the channel that connected all the parallel universes in the source universe. Although Qin Xiao forcibly broke away from the connection with the parallel universe after mastering a universe, it was split from a source universe after all, and he could still travel to other universes through the quantum realm. This is also the purpose of Qin Xiao's visit this time, to take the quantum realm into his own hands and let Tony improve and invent a GPS locator that works in the quantum realm. In the movie Avengers Endgame, they call it time travel. In fact, through precise positioning in the quantum realm, precise positioning can be achieved in different parallel universes, different locations, and different time periods. In fact, Qin Xiao has all the knowledge within the rules of the universe in his mind at this moment, but most of Qin Xiao's spirit or soul is busy dealing with the increasingly powerful power in his body, or Qin Xiao is only preliminary integrated with the infinite gems, and once to it will take some time for it to be completely digested into its own thing. The same goes for the knowledge Qin Xiao imparted to Tony and Dr. Banner. Although it is in their brains, they still need to be searched and read by themselves. It can be understood that Qin Xiao has installed a library in their brains. But Dr. Pym is different. In order to save his wife, he has been studying the quantum field for many years. Many theoretical knowledge has been practiced and tested many times and can be used directly. In order to save time, of course, the main purpose is to see what abilities Dr. Pym's wife, the Wasp, has acquired in the quantum realm. Regarding matters in the quantum realm, even Qin Xiao's current abilities cannot be pried into. So Qin Xiao came directly to Dr. Pym and directly explained his purpose. Everyone who has watched the movie knows that Dr. Pym is a stubborn person, especially with deep-rooted prejudices against the Stark family, but as long as you promise to save his wife, everything will be easy. What's more, Qin Xiao also personally took down Darren Cross, Dr. Pym's apprentice and the villain in Ant-Man. New York, Avengers Sky Base, Tony Stark, Banner and Dr. Pym and his daughter gathered together. Are you ready? Everyone, this time should be the first time in this universe and this time and space that humans rely on technological means to explore the quantum realm. Jarvis's voice rang out across the huge room. This is a room specifically used to open tunnels in the quantum realm. In the past period of time, several of the top scientists on Earth in the Marvel Cinematic Universe worked together to conceive and build a computer and artificial intelligence program with unparalleled computing power. It is said to be built, but to be more precise, it should be upgraded, because its core still uses Jarvis's coding and procedures. In short, relying on God-level computing power, everyone completed the tunnel and positioning device for entering the quantum realm in a short time. Except for the enemies Tony and Dr. Pym, who had a fierce conflict over the issue of styling, the cooperation between several people was quite pleasant. The final quantum tunnel is not like the longitudinal tunnel invented by Dr. Pym in the movie, nor is it the ground tunnel Tony finally built, but the shape of a simple door the size of a normal room. Hearing Jarvis's voice, Qin Xiao, who was the first experimental subject this time, suddenly thought, and a white quantum field-specific nano-protective suit appeared directly on his body, and even a breathing device was put on his head. Helmet. It's not that Qin Xiao is timid, it's that his power comes from the infinite gems, the origin of the universe. In a place separated from the universe, the infinite gems may not be able to work, so Qin Xiao can't help but be careless. Get dressed and nod casually. Jarvis started a 10-second countdown. Qin, if there is any problem, start the return journey directly. As long as you are in our real universe, we still have a chance. Don't be too reluctant. There is a saying in China. As long as you keep the mountains, you are not afraid of not having trees for firewood. No. Tony looked at Qin Xiao worriedly and said. Qin Xiao nodded silently and extended his thumb towards everyone. 3, 2, 1. Activate. As Jarvis activated the word, Qin Xiao's figure suddenly became blurred, and then turned into a stream of light, entering the energy gate with strange colors flashing in front of him. This time Qin Xiao's mission is to go in and collect coordinates. It's different from the one in the movie. Tony is making a time GPS to find the exit of the time node in the quantum realm. But this time Qin Xiao's mission is to enter the quantum realm and collect the exit from the parallel universe. The GPS in your hand is not only a beacon that records the coordinates and time nodes of your own universe, but also a collector of parallel universes. Unlike Qin Xiao who stood outside the world barrier and looked at the endless world, in the quantum realm, the surroundings were full of twisted and colorful colors. Here, space and time have no special meaning. Completely unable to distinguish between east, west, and north, Qin Xiao allowed his body to be controlled by the nanosuit and walked through the seemingly endless passages. Tony set him 3 hours. Of course, this time unit is based on Qin Xiao's senses. To Tony and the others from the outside, whether Qin Xiao enters for a minute or 100 years, it is just a moment for them. The locator on his hand kept making beeps, and Qin Xiao knew that each sound represented the entrance to a parallel universe. Qin Xiao couldn't help but think of the movie companies Disney acquired before time travel. Almost all of Marvel's wandering copyrights were taken back by Disney. According to the content in the comics, there must be tens of thousands of parallel universes. With all these thoughts in his mind, the sound of the locator on his hand never stopped. Suddenly, there was a burst of suction on Qin Xiao's right side. Qin Xiao was caught off guard and instantly entered a parallel universe. Entrance. How is this possible? There is no plan to go to any parallel universe? This is it. Thoughts flashed through Qin Xiao's mind, and he appeared on a street. There are traditional Chinese characters on the surrounding street signs. Directly opposite is a triangular building at the street entrance, with a glass pattern design on the top. This is Hong Kong's sanctuary? Is the system your fault? Qin Xiao muttered to the system in his mind. Before he had time to think about which parallel universe this was, he saw a burst of dazzling light suddenly erupting from the sanctuary. The entire Hong Kong sanctuary erupted with powerful light. A blonde woman held a long sword made of golden energy. She opened the door of the sanctuary with one sword and rushed out towards Qin Xiao with shining golden energy all over her body. Everything in front of him seemed familiar, and a memory emerged in Qin Xiao's mind. That's right, because this is the host's initial journey through the world, and the world that the host has traveled through is one and the same. Only when this world is received and paid can the origin of the host's universe be considered complete. The voice of the system sounded in my mind. Thank you for your explanation. I already know where this is. Qin Xiao snorted angrily in his mind, but the last sentence of the system was still useful. Is the world he is in here two sides of the same body? Thinking of this, Qin Xiao smiled coldly and couldn't help but think of the powerlessness he felt when facing this eternal. But now, everything is different. Since there are two sides of one body, Qin Xiao can naturally use the power from the infinite gems. Reaching out unhurriedly to the Eternal who looked exactly like Angelina Jolie in front of him, Qin Xiao uttered one word, definitely. As if the whole time was fixed, the beauty of the Eternal clan saw that the tip of the sword was about to pierce Qin Xiao's eyebrows. Unexpectedly, Qin Xiao just raised his hand, and her whole body was stagnant in midair. What power is this? The Eternal had not yet realized what had happened. In her mind, Qin Xiao was still fighting her 1 second, and the next second he disappeared, and his breath appeared directly outside. She didn't think much and struck out with one strike of her sword. But before she could hit the man in front of her, she saw him wave his hand and be directly imprisoned in midair by an invisible force. Only then did the Eternals realize that the man in front of him had undergone earth-shaking changes in his clothing and aura. The costumes were okay, but the momentum, in less than a second, transformed a weak human being into a more stressful being than the Celestials. This Eternal was unwilling to give up and wanted to open her mouth to ask something, but this power directly imprisoned her whole body. Let alone speak, she could not even blink her eyes now. For the sake of your contributions to human civilization on Earth, and fortunately I met you, I was still a fan of Tomb Raider when I was a child, otherwise. She understood the first sentence of what the mysterious man in front of her said, but what did Tomb Raider mean in the second sentence? Before she could fully understand it, everything in front of her was completely beyond her imagination. I saw a few rays of light suddenly flashing in the sky, and then 6 infinity stones flew over from nowhere and sank directly into the body of the man in front of me like a swallow returning to its nest. Then the whole world began to collapse and disintegrate. Cut the original power of the infinite stones and directly forge an incomplete world. Conqueror Kong is worthy of being the genius scientist who caused the war in the parallel universe and created the Time Variation Administration. Not long after Qin Xiao entered this world, everything that happened here, including what happened to the Eternals, all appeared in Qin Xiao's mind, including whether this world would be cut off from the world he controlled if it was conquered. Unfortunately, after all, you are just a scientist. You can cut and use this power, but your body cannot fuse. You are only an advanced version of Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet. Qin Xiao smiled slightly. The pseudo-world created by Kong, the conquered man, with the infinite gems, or the shelter carefully built for the Eternals, completely collapsed. Like those cut infinite gems, one by one merged into Qin Xiao's body merged into the original universe. This is the power of the complete origin of the universe. Qin Xiao muttered and returned to his own universe in an instant. As for the Eternals, don't they like to seal their memories and hide them in human society? Qin Xiao simply sealed their memories, destroyed their power, and let them continue to be ordinary people in human society. Although this trip has yielded a lot of cosmic coordinates, it has not yet reached the initial expectations. But it doesn't matter. Regarding the Eternal Clan and the Celestial Clan in this universe, Qin Xiao initially thought that he was invincible in the universe and wanted to wait for them to bubble up before slowly dealing with them, but now that he thinks about it, he'd better deal with them all. He stretched out his right hand and lightly snapped his fingers. All the celestial gods in the universe, including Star-Lord's father Ego, and the celestial gods being nurtured on the earth, were all wiped out by Qin Xiao. In addition, there seems to be a foreign creature sealed on the earth. Originally, Qin Xiao also wanted to eliminate it directly, but the place where it was sealed, Taluo Village, was a Chinese superpower. Qin Xiao thought a little, and the next moment, Qin Xiao appeared in Luo Village. Luo Village, a village that claims to have sealed the Soul Eater for 4,000 years, has superpowers and dozens of creatures that only existed in legends in ancient times. Nine-tailed fox, Dijiang, Kailin, Swan Enai, and other mythical beasts that Qin Xiao had only seen in the classic of mountains and seas, and there was even a divine dragon. However, in this universe, the so-called divine dragon was not from China, a mythical creature, but a creature from another dimension. Putting aside the origins of the divine dragon and the soul-eating beast, Qin Xiao was quite curious about this Taro village. Because Taro village does not exist in this universe, but directly cuts a space in the universe and exists as a separate space. To enter, you need a specific path and time. Moreover, because he was wrapped in special energy, Qin Xiao could not fully understand what happened in this village. He could only understand some vague information through the connection with the origin of the universe. Unlike the creatures that exist in the universe, Qin Xiao just one look and you can tell what happened in his past and what every possibility in the future looks like. However, Qin Xiao only had some general knowledge of the past of Luo Village, and did not have a thorough understanding at all. The space independent of the universe not only blocks the control of the universe, but also has to rely on the original energy and matter of the universe. Although he did not know enough about Luo Village, it did not prevent Qin Xiao from finding the village. Although it was said that entering Luo Village required a specific time and path, for Qin Xiao, this did not exist at all. I explained the problem of parallel universes to everyone. Anyway, the existing entrance is enough for Qin Xiao to fiddle with to obtain the original power. Let's solve the internal problems first. In Luo Village, Qin Xiao appeared here with the Scarlet Witch. As for why he took her alone, that's because although Qin Xiao hasn't eaten the Scarlet Witch yet, from the perspective of her dependence, this woman will be Qin Xiao's dish sooner or later, leaving her in the Avengers. In the base, Natasha always had a bit of resentment in her eyes. In comparison, Kuei-yin quickly integrated into the Avengers. I don't know if it was destined by fate, but at least she and Hawkeye have become like brothers, but the Scarlet Witch is a woman after all. The twins' growth environment makes them a little socially anxious, and anyone with a discerning eye can see that the relationship between the two will become a family sooner or later. Who would risk offending Qin Xiao or Natasha? And now that the so-called Mr. Right of Vision is no longer around, the Scarlet Witch appears to be particularly alone in the Avengers. Wanda, actually you can take the initiative to make some friends. If you don't like staying in the base, I can let you go out, go to school or work, and have your own life. Qin Xiao hoped that the Scarlet Witch would have her own life. Anyway, because of the Infinity Stones, the Scarlet Witch was firmly locked to him and was not afraid to go out and follow others. I have no interest in the outside world. It's great to be able to stay by your side. The Scarlet Witch looked at Qin Xiao with admiration in her eyes and said, "Okay, as long as you're happy." Qin Xiao sighed. Even though he has now become the Lord of the Universe, he still feels guilty about having an extra woman. He doesn't know how to explain it to Natasha, although the two have not yet had a substantial relationship. Forget it, let's talk about the rest later. Now that we have become the Lord of the Universe, there is nothing we can't solve. Qin Xiao secretly cheered himself up and began to observe the beautiful small village in front of him. There are mountains and rivers, beautiful scenery, and spring-like weather all year round. It's a great place like a peach blossom garden. Wanda, what do you think about turning this place into our base? Qin Xiao raised his legs and walked towards the village, while talking to Wanda in a critical manner. It's nice here, I like this place. Wanda nodded and looked curiously at a big white nine-tailed fox with several cubs on the side of the road, looking at the two of them warily. Since they are divine beasts, their intelligence is certainly much higher than that of ordinary beasts. Qin Xiao can see that these so-called divine beasts have intelligence equivalent to that of ordinary people. After walking a few hundred meters further, another blue unicorn that looked quite divine appeared on the roadside. Unlike the nine-tailed fox, Kailin is an auspicious beast in Chinese legends. For every Chinese, seeing Kailin for the first time, even in another world, will be a little exciting. Qin Xiao was about to go up and say hello to this big guy that looked like a water unicorn, and then reach out and touch it. Suddenly, a woman's voice came to mind. If I were you, I would take my hand back. The Taro people don't welcome outsiders, and neither do the Taro animals. The person who made the sound was a woman, a middle-aged woman who looked familiar. It looked familiar because Qin Xiao knew this face, a famous action actress in her previous life, Yang Ziqiang. I didn't expect Marvel to find many Chinese stars. Qin Xiao muttered in a voice that he could only hear, then raised his head and looked at the Yang Ziqiang in front of him and asked lightly, "What did you just say? Say it again." I said, "You'd better take your hands back, this is the last police call." Snapped. A crisp sound directly interrupted Yang Ziqiang's words. Before he finished speaking, Qin Xiao slapped this familiar face mercilessly on the face. Of course, being merciless means that Qin Xiao slaps him directly, which is not without mercy. If Qin Xiao exerts his full strength, this slap will directly turn his whole person into a pulp, let alone his life. As a Chinese, when you see compatriots with black hair and yellow skin, why do you speak English first when you come up to them? Your mother tongue is English. Qin Xiao didn't see any movement. He took a step forward and crossed the space directly to the side of Yang Ziqiang, who was knocked away 7 or 8 meters. He asked condescendingly. It's not that Qin Xiao is unreasonable. Although there is no racial discrimination in this world, the pattern of great hatred between countries is completely different from the real world. But when faced with this familiar face who spoke in English, Qin Xiao was still a little angry. He remembered watching a movie when he was a child, The Mummy Returns 3. In it, Yang Ziqiang swore that he was the one who would prevent Qin Xiao. The awakened tombkeepers have been guarding the imperial mausoleum for thousands of years, just because they are afraid that the cruel Qin Xiao will wake up. But such a character actually used English when reciting a spell. Qin Xiao was a little angry when watching it. He likes many American movies, but when filming China, these Americans always have to follow their own understanding. Shooting like that made Qin Xiao very unhappy. Unexpectedly, Qin Xiao would still speak in English when they met, so Qin Xiao slapped him in the face without thinking. Qin Xiao didn't think much about it, but Yang Ziqiang was completely fooled. She also saw that there was a foreigner among the two, so she directly came up and used the common Western language. She didn't expect to take action directly because of this. The key is that this man just took this step in one step, ignoring the distance. For her who had only left the village a few decades ago and had no idea what was happening in the world recently, she had no idea what Qin Xiao was doing. What magic was used? He just turned around and shouted loudly towards the village, "Enemy attack, enemies have broken in." This Chinese dialect was standard, without the plastic smell of regional stars or foreign Chinese in movies. Qin Xiao smiled. That's pretty much it. Luo village reacted quickly. In just over 10 seconds, hundreds of people gathered around with special weapons made of dragon scales. Qin Xiao had no interest in this village and was too lazy to tangle with this group of people. He directly led the Scarlet Witch across space and appeared in the sealed gate on the opposite mountain. Qin Xiao, save me and let us out. In the huge cave sealed by dragon scales, Qin Xiao heard the voices of his parents from his previous life. Qin Xiao was happy. Of course he would not be bewitched by the soul-eating monster inside. Looking at the Scarlet Witch next to him, his eyes were blurred for a moment, and then he immediately regained his clarity. Her energy comes from the Mind Stone, and she is the ancestor of this universe when it comes to mental control and bewitchment. There is a monster inside that can control people's minds and souls. Scarlet Witch said as she looked at the cave in front of her. Yes, but since it wants to come up with it so much, then let's follow his wish. As Qin Xiao spoke, he punched Dragon Scale with a purple light punch. Boom. There was a loud noise, and the seal, which was composed of an unknown number of dragon scales, exploded with one punch from Qin Xiao. Ouch. A strange, soul-stirring cry came out. Immediately afterwards, hundreds of ugly little creatures that looked evil at first glance flew out from inside, screaming strangely. Everyone in Luo village was wondering where Qin and Xiao had gone. They didn't turn around until there was a loud noise from behind. Not good. It was the face of another old action star that Qin Xiao was familiar with. He was the village chief of his generation in Luo village. Their mission was to guard this place for generations to prevent the soul-eating beasts inside from escaping. When they heard the sound from behind, they shouted something bad and quickly turned around to look. But it was too late. The dragon scale seal in the cave they had guarded for generations had completely collapsed, and they saw many small soul-eating monsters flying out densely inside. Before the village chief could react, he saw the two people who had just broken into Luo village. The beautiful foreign girl among them had a pink light on her white and tender hands, and then she waved her hands towards the entrance of the cave. A burst of pink energy was born out of thin air, whizzing directly towards the entrance of the cave. The pink color looked ambiguous and gorgeous, but it was like fire. The little soul-eating monsters that were swept by the energy turned into fly ash and disappeared directly in the air. This is impossible. This is the common aspiration of all the Taro villagers. Only dragon scale weapons can deal with soul-eating monsters. This is their traditional understanding. Who are these two people in front of them? Not to mention the shocked expressions on the faces of the villagers who had been sealed off for thousands of years. Looking at Qin Xiao, after the Scarlet Witch took care of a group of little monsters, an even more angry and strange scream came from the cave again. The sound of breaking through the air sounded again, and the number of little soul eaters, at least 5 or 6 times more than before, once again charged towards the outside of the cave. This is a monster transformed by the big soul eater. It has been sealed for thousands of years. The soul eater has no strength to come out at all. It can only transform into some small monsters and absorb the souls of humans outside to strengthen itself. Unexpectedly, 2 people at the door. Individual humans are so powerful that there is no chance for the mobs to go out and absorb souls. The current Scarlet Witch's own power has almost been raised to the limit by Qin Xiao. With all her strength, she can directly change the material universe with her own power, let alone these little monsters. The violent pink energy poured into the cave entrance again, turning all the little soul-eating monsters into ashes. Give you a chance to look at the sky before you die. If you don't come out, I will bury you in this mountain, Qin Xiao said to the cave entrance with some teasing in his words. This time, there was indeed no sound coming from the cave. It took more than 10 seconds before an extremely angry scream came from the cave, plus the sound of falling gravel. Before the Soul Eater came out, there was an unpleasant smell. The fishy smell wafted out of the cave. A faint blue energy shield appeared in front of Qin Xiao, blocking the 2 of them, avoiding the splash of pebbles and blocking out the unpleasant smell. A flying dragon dozens of meters long, with wings and a head that looked like a zombie, crashed out of the cave. Although he has been sealed in the cave for thousands of years, the energy in his body is almost exhausted, and he uses the last bit of his original power to fly out of the cave. However, the impact brought by this size is at least tens or hundreds of tons, but this the huge force hit Qin Xiao's energy shield, just like a rolling ball of wool hitting a wall. Stopped abruptly. Ouch. Seeing that he was blocked by two tiny humans using weird energy, the Soul Eater opened his mouth and screamed again. It's so noisy. I want you to take a good look at the sky, and then go to hell. Qin Xiao spoke unhurriedly, while reaching out and grabbing a fleshy tendril on the head of the soul-eating monster. Under the incredulous eyes of the Toluo villagers behind him, he exerted a little force. That huge one had troubled the village for thousands of people. The year-old Soul Eater was just thrown hundreds of meters into the air. Then I saw the man extending his right hand towards the sky. Snapped. A snap of fingers. Although they were far away, they only saw the movement, but for some reason, everyone seemed to hear a clear snap of fingers in their heads. Immediately, the huge Soul Eater exploded directly in the sky, turning into a rain of blood all over the sky. Qin Xiao finally retained Toluo village, but he tamed the so-called divine dragon directly in front of the villagers. After all, so many divine beasts from China in his previous life were preserved here, so he should keep them as a souvenir for himself. Next, Qin Xiao sorted out almost the entire universe. Some ancient races were eliminated if they didn't like it, and they surrendered to the Avengers if they didn't like it. After eliminating all these small hidden dangers, Qin Xiao set his sights on the parallel world. Cosmically, outskirts of New York, Avengers base. The base has been blown to pieces. The purple potato demon Thanos is holding the blade of the dead in one hand. Behind him is a steady stream of troops coming off the spaceship. In front of him is Captain America, holding a broken weapon in his hand. Shield, panting heavily, looked at the densely packed army ahead. If you play with time, time will play with you. This is what Tony just said to him. Unexpectedly, he mastered time travel and finally saved half of the lives in the universe. But in the end, the result was ushered in. Tony and Thor were knocked unconscious by Thanos. On the ground. Only he was left, and his shield was chopped into pieces by Thanos. The captain had mixed feelings in his heart, and for a moment he was the only one left, but he could not give up the fight. Even if he was the only one standing in front of the earth, he could not escape and fall. He would either be crushed or crush the enemy. Thinking of this, the captain's eyes rekindled his fighting spirit, tightened the shield in his hand, and faced the Thanos army in front of him proudly. Captain, Captain. Suddenly, a long-lost voice came from the headphones. This voice had not been heard for at least 5 years. Sam. The captain tried to respond. Captain, on your left. Sam's teasing voice came from the headphones. Immediately behind the captain, a golden energy portal suddenly lit up, and the Falcon quickly flew out of the portal with metal wings. Behind him were Scarlet Witch, Groot, Black Panther, and Vulcan. Da's army. Then countless huge portals lit up, and Karmataj's mages, Asgard's army, and the Avengers members who had turned into ashes all came out from behind the portals. Tony and Thor also woke up from their coma and stood on the left and right sides of the captain. Everyone looked at the captain in unison. The captain nodded with moist eyes, tied the shield tightly with his left hand, stretched out his right hand. Mjolnir felt the call, and flew directly into the captain's hand from a corner of the battlefield. Avengers. The captain held Mjolnir in his hand, looked left and right, kissed his lips again, and highlighted a word. Assemble. As soon as the words fell, like a clarion call for attack, both sides began a collective charge. In an instant, magic, gunpowder weapons, and cold weapons were radiating with rays of light, and each stroke represented the death of someone on both sides. The war became more and more intense. In the end, the nano glove with 6 infinity stones became the center point of the war, and the main forces of both sides started fighting around the glove. It's just that Thanos' strength is too strong. Even Captain Marvel's full suppression still allowed Thanos to use the Power Stone to punch away and temporarily fainted. Seeing Thanos about to put on his gloves and snap his fingers, Doctor Strange stretched out a finger towards Tony Stark with tears in his eyes. Tony was stunned for a moment. With his intelligence, how could he not know what Doctor Strange meant? This was the only successful ending among the more than 16 million times Doctor Strange had seen. Iron Man no longer hesitated and rushed directly towards Thanos' right hand. Although he was kicked by Thanos in a few seconds, his nano armor had already taken off all 6 infinity stones from his gloves. I am destiny. Thanos watched Tony snap his fingers, but nothing happened. At this moment, Thanos discovered that the 6 gems had somehow ended up in Tony Stark's hands. I am. Tony's armor was slowly pushing the 6 gems towards his right hand under his control. Tony also began to feel that the energy of the gems was about to flow into his body. Suddenly he felt a lightness in his body and the gems in his hand actually detached. Without the control of the armor, it flew towards the sky. For a moment, everyone's eyes were focused in the air. A young Oriental man appeared in the air at some point, looking at Tony Stark with a smile. You're Iron Man, everyone knows it, right? As the man finished speaking, 6 infinity stones sank into his body. The young man grinned, showing his big white teeth and said, I am Qin Xiao. Snapped. With a snap of his fingers, everyone brought by Thanos, including weapons and battleships, turned into ashes. Immediately, the man disappeared. Well, Stephen, is this ending more than 16 million miles away? Tony Stark looked at the place where Qin Xiao disappeared with dull eyes and murmured. The same thing happened in different parallel universes, but the time period was slightly different. Some were the Scarlet Witch who appeared and took away the gems, and some were Captain Marvel. Anyway, these two were completely loyal to Qin Xiao's gem transformation, one law and one body. The strongest Avenger alternately traveled to various parallel universes to seize the Origin Stone. As he visited more and more parallel universes, Qin Xiao discovered that the Marvel Universe not only has the Avengers universe, but also the Fantastic Four, X-Men, etc., but no matter which universe it is, the manifestation of the original power is the same. It's 6 Infinity Stones. As Qin Xiao absorbed more and more Infinity Stones, his control over the Infinity Stones in other universes became more and more powerful. When Qin Xiao absorbed the origins of more than 300 parallel universes, Qin Xiao directly appeared in the world barrier. In addition, with a thought, all the infinite gems in the parallel universe left their own world and flew towards Qin Xiao like a meteor shower. All inherent timelines were broken by Qin Xiao, but the original power was completely locked by Qin Xiao. That is to say, from this moment on, there will no longer be a mess of parallel universes, but in this Marvel world, all parallel universes will no longer be born. The universe is no longer under any control and is free to develop. It was also at this moment that all the lucky creatures in the universe, whether they were heroes, ordinary people, or villains, as long as they were characters related to the plot, suddenly felt a sense of relief in themselves, as if an invisible imprisonment had been released. Same. The land of creation, this is a place created by Qin Xiao. Above the thousands of universes, there is a suspended continent hundreds of kilometers long and wide, with thousands of densely packed parallel universes underneath. On a white beach, Qin Xiao was lying lazily on a lounge chair in a pair of large flower pants and basking in the sun. Natasha was wearing a black bikini, and her white skin seemed to glow in the sun, with a seductive figure. Zi walked towards Qin Xiao. Natasha, why are you still so beautiful after all these years? Qin Xiao put on a smile and took the drink Natasha brought over. Oh, since I'm so beautiful, why do you always follow Tony to different parallel universes to hold pool parties? I heard that there are many beauties every time. Natasha smiled and sat down next to Qin Xiao, with a dangerous light shining in her eyes. Nonsense. Qin Xiao took a sip of the drink and almost spit it out. Nothing. I was patrolling various worlds to prevent invasion by creatures from other dimensions. Dark creatures like Dormammu are very dangerous. Qin Xiao quickly explained. You'd better not let me find out, otherwise, the three of us won't be able to spare you. After Natasha, Scarlet Witch, and Captain Marvel, who were influenced by gems, naturally joined Qin Xiao's harem. Natasha was depressed for a long time before accepting the two of them, but this was her limit. Don't worry, the only one I love most in my heart is you. Let's have a baby today while the sunshine is nice. Qin Xiao smiled and pulled Natasha into his arms. In a house not far away, Captain Marvel and Scarlet Witch looked at each other and strolled towards the beach.
Hello, everyone! As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500+ novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.